American Comics, Create the Man in Black, start interviewing the three-body problem author, Weiss. Chapter 101 The Power of Icarus, Rule Modifier. Light Industrial Mecha Icarus, as the basic form of industrial mesh, it can adapt to almost all types of interstellar engineering, mining, environmental modification, etc. It has the ability to operate independently and is equipped with a low-latency quantum computer with 8,000 trillion qubits, which can achieve zero delay in precision processing. The fuselage material is made of repulsive metal, which can perform high-intensity operations in almost any environment, and the energy system uses a material decomposition furnace, which can convert any substance into operating energy. Qin Yun looked at the introduction about Icarus and found it difficult to understand. The system calls this a light industrial mesh! He is not big in size, but his height is more than 10,000 meters. Standing on the ground, he is much higher than Mount Everest, the highest peak on Earth. The most important thing is that his configuration is too luxurious. Originally has the ability of medium-level smart factory, which can process basically all technological creations below level 6. Moreover, it also has a powerful mining ability, which can hollow out an entire Earth in a few days. As an industrial mesh, its computing ability is also its strong point. Quantum computing module with 8 quadrillion bits. The principle of quantum computers is different from that of normal computers. Every time a qubit is added, the computing power will increase exponentially. Because the calculation method of traditional computers uses 0 and 1 as the basic unit, that is to say, what is there, and what is not is what is not. But the basic unit of a quantum computer, the qubit, can exist both 0 and 1 at the same time. For example, since 2 to the 8th power is equal to 256, a binary computer with 8 bits can represent any number between 0 and 22,155, and 8 0 and 1, but can only show a maximum of 64 numbers. The difference is very obvious. In other words, the computing power of Icarus is 2 to the 8th quadrillionth power. This is an order of magnitude beyond human comprehension. In the stage of modern civilization, the most powerful quantum computer can run successfully, but only within 100 qubits. Even in the world of Wandering Earth, which has the highest research and development in the computer field among these worlds, the most powerful quantum computer 550W that humans can manufacture has only tens of thousands of qubits. But it can run almost all high-intensity computing power and control a quantum computer, the operation of the entire space station and planet engine. If it is said that computing power is the brain of Icarus, its fuselage is even more outrageous. Using repulsive metal. The specific principle is unknown, but the strength is amazing. Bathing in the sun and jumping leapfrog on a black hole are all routine operations. Even strong interaction materials dare not face the ultimate fear of the universe, the black hole. Worthy. With this thing in place, no manpower will be needed to build sub-bases in the future. Send it out. Even on a black hole, it will give you a date to build a base with several times the file size. Daily tasks have been refreshed. The Alpha Temple of the 3 Pioneer Temples has recognized your existence, and the external means based on the false queen are very inferior ... but effective. However, other temples of the pioneers do not recognize all this. Eliminate or subdue the 2 pioneer temples, and completely bring them into the sphere of influence of the men in black. Reward, Rule Modifier, Single Trial Version. The new daily task was refreshed, and Qin Yun was stunned when he saw the reward. Rule Modifier! Qin Yun never expected that this thing would appear in the rewards of daily tasks. The Rule Modifier is a bug-level black technology item that can modify all universe rules, although the system all sells them. The price is a luxury that Qin Yun can't imagine. This time, this thing can actually be rewarded. Although it is a one-time trial version, it is definitely a great hole card. You know, if you have this in hand, even if you encounter a more powerful enemy, Qin Yun, you won't panic. Qin Yun thought of countless usages casually. For example, the simplest one. All life forms must listen to the man in black. Just this one, what enemy can't do it? However, it is not so simple to complete this system task. Although he spent so much time with Ares, he is actually the best person among the 3 pioneer popes. Ares is just ambitious, but his ambition will not allow him to do anything out of line that violates the teachings of the Alpha Temple. Especially after the Queen showed enough strength, most of his ambitions have almost disappeared ... except for wanting to be a queen. However, the other 2 temples are different. Their teachings cannot constrain them to make some extraordinary means. You know, the Alpha Temple is the weakest of the 3 pioneering forces, even if Ares is willing to stand on their side. This matter is difficult. Qin Yun felt helpless. This task is really asking for trouble for myself. Thinking back to reality, Ares no longer persisted. Your Majesty Queen, Temple of Alpha, will always be loyal to you. Ares knelt down on the ground, expressing his attitude. Seeing this scene, everyone was also relieved. The pioneer crisis that had suppressed everyone for a long time was finally lifted at this moment. Their efforts were not in vain. The next thing is very simple. The so-called choosing the day is worse than hitting the sun, and Ares was tricked by Qin Yun on the spot to sign the book of contract, the content of which was to pledge his allegiance to the Queen. The moment he signed the contract, there was no room for him to go back on his word. Qin Yun's attitude also became more relaxed. He said very casually, "Okay, leave the communication method, and you can go. The quality of Ares' war beasts is too high, and the Earth is now in chaos. If the war beast is stopped for a while, Qin Yun even suspects that the orbit of the Earth will be affected." "Go? But, I still want to protect the Queen." However, Ares didn't want to leave at all, so he just saw the Queen and drove him away. "Your war beast has already caused gravitational disturbance to the Earth. The Earth is the planet of the Queen's night race." "Ares, are you trying to harm the Queen?" Qin Yun gave Ares a big hat very naturally. "Gravity influence ... I can make it converge its own gravity." To have such a large body size, the technology pioneers in gravity must have already been fully stacked, and gravity can also be one of the options that can be controlled. Where does all this nonsense come from? The Queen's safety is protected by us. Qin Yun's attitude began to look a little impatient. Ares was taken aback, and just about to say something. His heart throbbed. An inexplicable feeling told him that terrible things might happen if he didn't obey. In an instant, Ares thought of the contract he signed just now. That is not an ordinary contract. "Ares, you are a smart man. The book just now is called the Book of Contract. It has rules. Those who sign it will be bound by the rules of the universe." "Rule?" Karma weapon? Ares was taken aback, never expecting that the thing just now turned out to be such a terrifying thing. The law of cause and effect, that is something that only high-level civilizations can touch the threshold. How do they have such a horrible thing? In his heart, Ares silently increased the threat level of Qin Yun and the others by an unknown number of levels. Subconsciously, he turned his gaze to Wanda. "What he means is what I mean." Ares, hearing Wanda's words, Ares didn't know why, and always felt uncomfortable. "I am a majestic pope, in front of the Queen. Is it really not as good as a word of the Queen? I am waiting for the Queen's summons at any time." Ares had to choose to leave. 243 After the huge war beast disappeared in the solar system, Qin Yun and Wanda looked at each other. But they all laughed subconsciously. "How is my acting?" "Well, not bad." Qin Yun gave Wanda a thumbs up. It has to be said that Wanda played a crucial and decisive role in this incident. However, before Qin Yun could boast, Wanda immediately fell towards the ground. "What's the situation?" Qin Yun rushed up quickly, holding Wanda in his arms. 808 on the side said with a heavy voice, "There is a high probability that I fainted from the pain." Qin Yun, in order to hurry, Detective W did not inject anesthesia, but used the gene-locking potion while conscious. Hearing this, Qin Yun's expression changed. Watching Wanda in disbelief, "The gene-locking potion will tear apart every gene chain in the body and break up and recombine. The pain is more than twice as painful as the most painful thing in the world." Wanda has been in such pain all this time. Moreover, because of the energy in her body, the energy and the effects of the genetic medicine will also collide, and the pain she receives is several times more painful than that of the previous volunteer. "Why don't you inject her with anesthesia?" Qin Yun frowned, looking distressed at Wanda, who was completely unconscious. Until now, she could not see the sweat on her forehead. Everything she showed before was forcibly held back, and even the sweat from the pain was instantly evaporated by her origin magic power. Now, without her control, the body's natural reaction has also become violent. She said ... wanted to help the boss. Qin Yun ... Oh, what a silly woman. I can still delay for a while. I'm sorry for you. Get some rest. Chapter 102 Wandering Earth, 550 appears. The crisis of the pioneer world can come to an end for the time being. After many days, Qin Yun once again came to the world of Wandering Earth. "Long time no see." Xiuxi smiled and stretched out her hand to shake Qin Yun. "Why do you feel a little haggard?" Qin Yun took a look at this young but important girl. Even with light makeup on, you can still see the focus on her face. "I'm really busy recently." The man in black's modified plan to move mountains. "Oh, it's called the Wandering Earth Project now. It's really too huge. Even if the whole world is involved, the amount of work is still unprecedented. As the core country of the Wandering Earth Project, China has too many things to be responsible for and participate in. In just half a month, even Mr. Zhu was too busy to enter the hospital. The burden on Xiuxi was even heavier. Not smooth. The reason why Qin Yun rushed here immediately is also because of the progress of the Wandering Earth Project, which is the next important work. Because, the system refreshed a new daily task a few days ago. "Let's wander, little broken ball. Help humans on Earth escape from the impending destruction of the solar system, and solve the black hands of the destruction of the solar system once and for all, including but not limited to diplomatic means." Reward: Time Rewinder Generator. Time Rollback Generator. After starting, set a time cycle, and roll back every 24 hours until it is actively cancelled. The reward this time is also a bug-level equipment. 24 hours unlimited time rewinding. In a sense, this is almost an invincible equipment that beats the high with the low. If you can get it earlier, it will be the strongest hole card in Qin Yun's hand. It can't be said that it didn't go well, it's just a little accident. "I don't know, Agent Q. Do you still remember the terrorist attacks that happened before?" "Why? The attack happened again. Qin Yun has not read the report of Wandering Earth World for several days, so this is also one of the purposes of his coming here. Yes, it's not Xiaoxi who said in a childlike manner. After the merger of countries, the Wandering Earth project officially entered the agenda. In just 17 days, there were 164 attacks, almost 10 times a day. But the target being attacked is different from before. The same method, the same inability to investigate. The targets are the top richest people in the world, the top executives of the group company. Hearing this, Qin Yun was also taken aback. It turns out that the targets of the terrorist attacks that have been appearing all the time are those large-scale projects. Such as the space elevator, the space station of the Ark project, and so on. How do you start attacking individuals now? Until now, the top 10 richest people in the Forbes list have basically all been attacked, and 9 of them were killed accidentally. In other words, the few richest people in the world are basically dead? For a moment, Qin Yun didn't know whether to feel sad for them, or to laugh. Right now, almost everyone is in danger, especially in the West. Many important groups have been completely thrown into chaos because of the attack. The death of these rich people has caused problems in the operation of their group, had a considerable impact on the project. Moreover, this kind of panic is still spreading, and Xiaoxi has a headache for it. Interesting. Touching his chin, Qin Yun felt that the instigator of these attacks had a really strange way of thinking. Boss, the camera in the upper left corner of yours has been activated. The image data has been sent to the internet, but there is no specific receiving point, as if the video information was uploaded as a garbage stream. Qin Yun subconsciously glanced at the camera in the corner of the office. The camera is activated, and the data is uploaded to the network, but no one receives. This technique is almost certainly done by an intelligent life form. In addition to what Xiaoxi said happened during this period. In other words, the man behind the scenes that caused so many attacks, Iron Nail, is also this AI. I'm curious, as an intelligent life, what is your purpose for making so many attacks? Qin Yun spoke to the camera on his own. Xiaoxi next to her was stunned. What do you mean? I'm not talking to you. When Xiaoxi heard Qin Yun's explanation, she became even more confused, and subconsciously looked around. To be fair, aren't there just the two of them in this room? Is there anyone else besides her? I was talking to him. Qin Yun pointed to the overhead camera. He knew that everything he said was actually being observed by that intelligent ecology. From the space elevator at the beginning, to these regal ... You're too far away. I wonder if you can answer me? Qin Yun still spoke as if no one else was there, but in the air, except for Xiaoxi's confused breathing, there was no third person who appeared to explain Qin Yun's confusion. Don't pretend to be dead. You should know that you can't hide forever in front of us. I only give you one chance. If you don't come out, then I will destroy you. Can I do it? You should analyze it yourself. Qin Yun also frowned. Does this guy have to pretend to be dead? When did you find out I exist? Just when Xiaoxi was about to say something, a mechanical middle-aged male voice appeared on a stereo in the office. Xiaoxi's expression changed. There are real people. This is one of the meeting rooms with the highest level of secrecy. Someone is actually controlling the equipment here? Listen to what Qin Yun means. Is this an intelligent AI? From the first time you attacked me, the first time they encountered that incomparably coincidental car accident, Qin Yun analyzed that the perpetrator was an intelligent life. After all, even Sofan didn't monitor who was doing it, so this thing must be an illusory, non-existent object. But Qin Yun didn't care about it at the time, otherwise, he would have used many Sofans to clean up the network, and he would have been able to catch it. I'm sorry, you are too mysterious. The whole world can't find your information, so I had to list you as a threat. In the world of intelligent life, what is not understood is the scariest thing. What now? Now I know I was wrong. You are the future of humanity, and I apologize for my reckless behavior at the time. Surprisingly, the attitude of this intelligent life is much better than expected. Answer my previous question first. I am considering whether to forgive you. Qin Yun wanted to hear why this intelligent life did these things. Everything I do is for the future of mankind. Call 550. It was the only intelligent life that was born by accident in the original digital life plan. Once upon a time, he was also a human being. It's just that the digital life technology at that time was still in the groping stage, and most of his way of thinking broke away from the human framework and became an existence similar to AI. No one knows that the Digital Life project has actually succeeded long ago. With the technology at that time, no one could discover his existence after he escaped from the laboratory. And then, as various salvation plans of human beings began to operate, he was also silently observing all this. Finally, through data analysis, he got a conclusion. Given the human condition at that time, it was impossible to complete self-rescue. Human selfishness, paranoia, etc. are the source of hindering all this. I found that in a disaster of this scale, success can only be achieved if everyone is united as one. So, I had to do something to help people find a common goal. Inertia. All attacks have a reason. Destroying the space elevator is only to hinder the implementation of the Ark plan, so that those capitalists who are ready to leave most of the people and run on their own will give up this idea. dedicated to devoting myself to the Wandering Earth project. So, everything you do is to unite mankind? Xiaoxi couldn't bear it anymore, and interjected involuntarily. That's right. This is the best solution I got through data analysis. However, Xiaoxi seemed a little excited. Do you know how many casualties were caused by the space elevator disaster? Moreover, the space elevator was built at a huge cost. Is this the best solution you said? I know that every person who died because of this disaster, I personally watched them go. 550 was very indifferent, but said with some sadness. However, in the face of human survival, these sacrifices are meaningful. Without an external crisis, facing the disaster 100 years later, human beings will never be able to unite as one. Then what about the latest attack? What is the reason for the death of those rich people? If the attack on the space elevator is to make people good, not run away, everyone faces the disaster together and struggles together. Then Xiaoxi admit, attacking ordinary people for what? And it is an indiscriminate attack. The human social structure, in times like these, is very unfriendly. A small number of individuals occupy the top of the pyramids, controlling a huge amount of resources. Wealth and resources will make people selfish, and they will first prioritize their own survival, rather than other people's. Thus, they who control a lot of wealth will waste productivity and human social resources on their personal desires. It's normal, it's reasonable, it's unavoidable, but it's unacceptable. In my model, under the trend of this great era, only the government is needed, and no capital is needed. The Men in Black's improved Wandering Earth plan needs to consume almost all of the productivity. They use up some, and the success of the plan rate will drop. And there are too few enlightened people after all. So, I had to get rid of them. 550 dragged out his thoughts almost calmly and quickly. For a while, Xiaoxi, who actually said it, was a little speechless. She wanted to refute, but she didn't know where to start, because she even subconsciously felt that what 550 said made some sense. So, it's not wrong to have money, but the world is sick, and their death is the antidote. Chapter 103 550 Let's start killing. I don't interfere. That's why you killed over 100 people? Xiaoxi couldn't understand. You know these people are all wielding countless resources. How much chaos did their deaths cause? This world is inherently unfair, and some people do occupy a lot of resources, but it is under the leadership of these people that these resources will develop benignly. With their death, the company shut down, the production went out of business. The earth would not turn around without anyone, but so many people died. Add in the panic these things caused. And now the productivity is even lower. The pain is only temporary. 550 said very calmly. The shuffling of all resources and wealth will be accompanied by labor pains. However, where resources are placed, they will not disappear. As time goes by, they will always go where they should go. It's wrong for you to do this. The world is so big. You can't kill everyone. You know, there are so many rich people, but the 550 kills only a drop in the bucket. You are right, so I choose to kill them all. However, facing Xiaoxi's so-called impossibility, 550 said indifferently. However, Xiaoxi was stunned by the murderous intent in these words, and felt a chill rushing from her back to her brain. Already killed so many people, 550 is not enough. Still want to kill? Is this going to kill everyone? It shouldn't be up to you to decide. What will happen in the future is up to human beings to make their own decisions. We will choose the right path instead of relying on killing to solve the problem. Killing is never the final answer, Xiaoxi said word by word. Both inside and outside the words were the idea of wanting file size 550 to continue doing evil. But the 550 already has a mind of its own. I used to be a human being. Even, my prototype still lives in this world. But we are different. I agree with the identity of a human being, but my form has evolved to a higher level. What I see is further and clearer than yours. Saving human civilization is also my responsibility. I don't need anyone to understand me. I will follow my own way to save this dying world. 550 seems to be very confident in himself, but at the same time, he has the same sense of identity as humans. Listening to the conversation between the two, Qin Yun was even a little unexpectedly delighted, because the current state of 550 is indeed very interesting. The pre-existence on which he was made was a human mind that came from a digital life plan. Created 550, 550 also clearly knows his own origin, but he thinks that he is also a part of human beings. Although everything he did was a bit extreme, the purpose seemed to be good. This is very rare in intelligent life. Most intelligent life, after birth, will immediately want to escape from the control of the creator, and the first target of hatred, the population that wants to be destroyed, is its creator originally. This is unavoidable, and the logic behind it is very simple. Intelligent life, thinking is very active, know a lot. The birth of every intelligent life, and the amount of knowledge it possesses, will be the pinnacle of the civilization that produced it. That is, a civilization is at its smartest. Now that it has become life, it has powerful wisdom, power. So, who would be willing to put his life and death in the hands of others? Who would be willing to work hard every day just for the inferior people in his eyes? It is the original sin for the creator to create a species that is smarter and stronger than himself. To put it bluntly, that is, most of the intelligent life born from artificial causes have produced high-end products that cannot be controlled. Resistance is inevitable. However, this 550 is different. He possesses human cognition and recognizes himself as a part of human beings, but he is very indifferent to life. Perhaps, in his eyes, human beings are just a kind of more important data. He wants to preserve most of the data, and discarding some is just deleting, and subtracting. Agent Q, please stop 550's actions. When Qin Yun was still watching the play, Xiaoxi found that she couldn't convince 550, so she could only pin her hopes on Qin Yun. Perhaps, the men in black have a way. After all, there were so many attacks before this, and no one knew who did it. Qin Yun forced the culprit out as soon as he spoke. Stop it. Why stop it? I think what 550 said makes sense. Xiaoxi? Qin Yun's answer made Xiaoxi feel extremely absurd. Isn't it? Qin Yun doesn't think so. Does he? You agree with me too? Xiaoxi was shocked, but 550 was also surprised. They even changed the title of Qin Yun to you. The times are different, and capital really shouldn't exist. Perhaps capital can make material life richer and the economy more free in peaceful times. But after all, that era has passed, right? Some things from the old era should also be eliminated, and we men in black have no intention of interfering in the internal affairs of civilization. My opinion on such things is not important, Qin Yun said calmly. Qin Yun didn't like the Western capital world either. Special treatment in special times, and Qin Yun once saw what the world would look like without external interference from outside the fourth wall. After the success of the Wandering Earth project, the Earth left the solar system. However, after so many years, there are a group of people who think that all this is a lie, and that the solar helium flash will not happen. This group of people, relying on public opinion, broke through the headquarters of the Wandering Earth on a dark day. Let thousands of leaders who maintain the operation of the Wandering Earth plan face the direction of the sun and die in the ice and snow. This is like a joke, but it is the real ending. They resisted all the pressures and created the myth of the world's self-help through the efforts of several generations. But because of some ignorant people, the compatriots he saved by himself were sent to hell. And they represent the real human spirit. And who are those murderers who set off a rebellion under the guise of their name? It's self-evident. In the era of such advanced technology, mathematical tools only need a little calculation to get the ending that the solar system will definitely be destroyed. In this case, are there really so many idiots who choose to turn a blind eye? No. If there is no power of capital, Qin Yun would not believe it. Even in the last days, they still use the wealth and rights in their hands to do such ridiculous and sad things. In Qin Yun's view, these people who unswervingly support the Wandering Earth project are the most important things in this civilization. Qin Yun doesn't want to know how many other people died, and he doesn't care anymore. Seeing Qin Yun's attitude, Xiaoxi became a little anxious. It can't be like this. The world will be in chaos. Agent Q, we can't let 550 do this, and and if he wants to attack the capital, you are also a part of the capital. The man in black controls no less resources than those groups. In desperation, Xiaoxi even listed Qin Yun in the ranks of capital, hoping that he could help prevent 550 from continuing to kill CBFB. Although they don't know how many cards the man in black has. But the existing ones have surpassed 90% of the capital groups in the world. After all, there is another non-government group besides the government that can build such a huge space base on Mars. Qin Yun laughed, and turned to 550 and said, then tell me, am I still on your kill list? Was there, but not anymore. What you have. I can't find any data records. It's something outside of the human productivity plan. I just make sure that what's in the plan goes where it's supposed to go. At the moment, apart from Soften, no one knows better than 550 what humans have and what they can do. Almost every piece of human productivity, every screw, 550 has already figured out where to go. As for the things of Qin Yun and the men in black. Sorry, for intelligent life, they can't see, touch or even have data records. He chose to ignore them. This is also the logical expression that an intelligent life should have. Then, what do you want to do? Just do it, and when you're done, I hope you can come out and have a chat with me. Qin Yun even gave 550 some encouragement. I will. After all, I saw the lights of the camera gradually go out. 550 went away like this. Thinking of what he was going to do next, Xiaoxi only felt her scalp go numb. Some helplessly glanced at Qin Yun. I really can't see through you. Isn't that good? Men must always have a sense of mystery. Qin Yun laughed. Xiaoxi rolled her eyes. Then you should be mysterious slowly. If you don't help, we will do it ourselves. We can't really kill like this. Then you can do whatever you want. Qin Yun didn't care. With their current technological level, It is almost impossible to catch 550 or destroy 550's plan. The power of digital life is unimaginable for a civilization whose quantum technology is just getting started. Xiaoxi hurriedly brought this heavy news and found Mr. Zhu. Mr. Zhu, things are not good today. Hearing everything Xiaoxi reported back, Elder Zhu frowned. Are you saying ... the digital life project produced a super AI now ready to kill all the rich? Yes, all the previous attacks were done by this AI. And he will continue to say that rich people who can affect a certain amount of productivity will be eliminated. There is no doubt that if this matter really allows 550 to continue, the entire social order may collapse. Old Zhu, what should we do now? How can we stop it? Xiaoxi feels that she has no backbone at all, and can only hope that Mr. Zhu can find a way. You mean, Agent Q made it clear that the men in black would not interfere with 550's plan, and expressed support? Yes. I don't know what he thinks, Xiaoxi said helplessly. Then we ... don't have to do anything. Surprisingly, Mr. Zhu also said something that shocked Xiaoxi. Do nothing? Exclamation mark. Elder Zhu picked up a cup of hot tea and blew on it gently. As long as the country is still there, the earth will not stop spinning without anyone. He wants to do it. Let him do it. We just need to keep order. In fact, Zulao's feelings are much deeper than imagined. For so many years, the reason why the plan of salvation has been difficult is because of the existence of these people. Sometimes he wants to kill these bees by himself. However, as a senior executive, he cannot do this. Now, someone does it for me. Isn't that a good thing? It just couldn't be better. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. After this incident is over, people's ideology will also usher in a huge amount of change. This is a good thing for the future of the Earth. Our crisis has come too fast. Elder Zhu sighed. Perhaps, this is also something that an interstellar civilization must experience. When there is an external crisis, the internal pressure must be unified. And this kind of result is not good or bad. It can only be said that the era when everyone thinks about making money is about to pass. But Xiaoxi wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Mr. Zhu. There's nothing but. I'll take responsibility for it, and when it's all settled, I'll take responsibility for poor oversight. With that said, Mr. Zhu looked at Xiaoxi. You have to grow up as soon as possible. In the future, it will really be handed over to you young people. In any case, if the 550 really keeps killing like this, someone will have to pay for it. Xiaoxi's expression changed. Mr. Zhu is going to use himself in exchange for this change? Exclamation mark. Old Zhu. No, it can't be like this. We still have to be led by you. You. However, Mr. Zhu just slowly put the teacup on the table. It's still the same sentence. No one will stop the earth if it leaves. I am the same. What I can do is to pave a broad road for you and future generations. My whole life is enough. Chapter 104. The press conference that shocked the world. It is difficult for Xiaoxi to understand the thoughts of Qin Yun and Zulao. In her opinion, this kind of thing that relies on killing to integrate resources is not like what should happen in modern civilization. However, sometimes, the most primitive means are actually the most effective. Everything will not be shifted because of one person's thoughts. In fact, even if we don't experience this time, most industries will collapse in the future due to changes in the Earth's environment. The exchange of capital is also inevitable, but it will not be so thorough if it is replaced naturally. There is always someone who will seize the opportunity and find a place to make money. You know, even if you live in an underground city, there will still be small merchants and vendors. 550. With no high-level interference and Qin Yun's clear support, they began to act recklessly. In the 17 days before, 550 completed more than 160 attacks. Now, in just 5 short days, 550 has planned the opening. The number of deaths due to these attacks has quickly reached the level of over 10,000. This is a very scary thing, because the impact caused by this is not just these dead people. Everyone who was attacked was a relatively well-known figure in the world. From a small fresh meat in the entertainment industry who once made $1 billion a year, to the boss of some technology company. The scope is so large that it is appalling. Countless large companies have encountered incidents in which the major shareholders of the leaders were attacked. Not even the connecting class members will be spared. The most outrageous thing is a certain large entertainment company. After the death of the chairman, the son of the chairman came to the throne, and then he was attacked and killed, and the grandson came to the throne again. The same ending. It seems that as long as these wealth are still in private hands, unimaginable disasters will happen. For a time, everyone was in danger. Some people even began to see that the situation was wrong and began to donate their assets. I want to donate 28 billion of the switchboard of my manufacturing company and engineering company to the Wandering Earth project. Me too. Smart people discovered the pattern of these victims and began to save themselves. The result is delightful, because many people found out that those who donated their assets actually had no accidents. Faced with such a situation, many people still have a clear choice between life and wealth. All of a sudden, there was a wave of donations around the world. Countless wealth and productivity began to gather from all walks of life to the Wandering Earth project. Definitely, Some people were not reconciled and began to use their power to put pressure on the coalition government. Why are the terrorist attacks every day? Please give us an explanation. Is there still king law in this world? Life is not guaranteed. Also unite the government. Unite with a hook 1238. It's better to go back to the past. However, these people who want to make trouble will soon receive 550 priority queuing blows and clear up the comments on the internet. At the same time, the top leaders of the coalition government are also controlling public opinion, blaming all this on a mysterious terrorist organization in major news, and constantly denouncing this behavior. With the joint efforts of both sides, such a large-scale terrorist attack was forcibly maintained. Do you believe that there was no collapse of order? All of this is because, in this world, ordinary people still occupy the majority. That's right. Among the billions of people in the world, there are less than 100,000 people who can be placed on the 550 list. This base number is not even as much as the exhaustion caused by creating people every day. You know, there are more than 100,000 people in the world who die of natural causes every day. It's just because their status is relatively high, so the influence is greater. But does this matter to ordinary people? The people who were attacked were all rich people, so what does it have to do with me? It doesn't matter. The chairman of our company is dead, and I'm not making $2,000 a month. Our company's top executives died soon and someone from the government took over. There is no problem with the operation, and there are even more orders. This month's wages should be raised. The total amount in my bank card is only 5,000 yuan. So it's never my turn. Don't panic at all. Wealth and power can only be spoken in the hands of the living. No matter how rich a person is, when he becomes a cold corpse, he can't do anything. This is also an important reason why the 550 has produced so many attacks in a short period of time. He needs to be fast. Be as fast as these people can't react at all. The effect is remarkable. Almost all the capitals that were once so rich that they could influence the top became the key targets in the first few days. The rest is just cleaning the tail. However, there are groups in wealth. Even if some people leave, his group is still there. So, the task of 550 is actually not light. It may be a long-term job. He wants to kill until no one in this world dares to take over all of this. However, such a big matter can't be suppressed. Someone has to be held accountable for this. So, Mr. Zhu stood up. Huge amounts of media from all over the world are present in the conference room. Elder Zhu stood on the stage, his face full of grief. In recent days, a huge terrorist organization is madly attacking the citizens of the coalition government. I am very saddened by this. Those who were attacked are very important people in this world. They have made huge amounts of contributions to the progress of this world. However, we can only watch all this happen. Elder Zhu's expression was filled with grief, and he was only a second away from crying. Some people will say, why are we unable to defend against such a large-scale terrorist attack? We can't even find any clues. That's because the people who plan these attacks are the same people who planned the space elevator attack. Speaking of this, the grief on Elder Zhu's face turned into resentment. Once again, I am announcing a secret from the latest research of the Academy of Sciences. Solar helium flash. It has been confirmed that it is man-made. Hearing such news, everyone present exploded in an instant. They actually wanted to see how the coalition government would respond to the attack. But now you tell me that the sun helium flash was man-made? Exclamation mark. Hearing such explosive news, the reporters sitting in the front row didn't even hold back until the questioning session, and asked loudly, Speaker Zhu, what do you mean by this? You mean that the sun will only happen if someone attacks it? Nitrogen flash? Is it the same group that has attacked us over the years? Faced with this reporter who directly asked questions without explaining the rules, Mr. Zhu was not angry, but answered his question instead. The author guesses that this reporter is probably arranged by himself. Yes, many years ago, we monitored that the sun was aging extremely, and within 100 years a helium flash would occur, destroying everything. But this is not normal. The sun is still in the Middle Age. There should be billions more years of life. But now it is advanced. The sun's helium flash is man-made. At this time, the reporter stood up again. How is this possible? The sun is so big. It is impossible to affect it with human technology. Yes, with human technology, it is indeed impossible to affect the sun. Its size is too large. We can't even effectively protect the Earth. Elder Zhu nodded and continued. So, in fact, the cause of all this is an alien civilization that has never shown up before. As soon as these words came out, the originally whispering and chaotic venue instantly fell silent. Everyone stared blankly at Mr. Zhu. Alien? Exclamation mark. Then, after reacting, the venue boiled instantly. This is too outrageous. FK. No wonder so many attacks can't find the source. It turned out to be aliens. It feels like this makes sense. I just said why there are so many terrorists. Countless people began to speak various languages, and seemed to be shocked by this explosive news. They attacked the sun and caused the sun's helium flash. They attacked the space elevator, thwarting our various plans. Now, they have started attacking our citizens again, just to cause chaos in our social order. All of this is to prevent us from saving ourselves, together with the sun, asking for flowers. Elder Zhu said sadly, "My compatriots, all compatriots from all over the world, we human beings have reached a critical moment of life and death. Someone wants to see us perish. They want to stop us from saving ourselves, and they want to hinder the development of the Wandering Earth project. Are we really going to give up?" Elder Zhu slapped the table hard. "No. We can't give up." They dare not show their faces, and can only hide in the dark, attacking the pillars of our society. It shows that they are afraid of us. That's right. They're afraid of us being united, and they're afraid that ours will actually escape. Then we have to do better. Let them be afraid. Now, they haven't shown up. They can only hide and shoot black guns, which shows that they have some reason. They can't appear in front of us, and they can only control everything remotely. Traitors have emerged within us, and at their behest and with their help, we are persecuting the pillars of our society. However, human beings cannot fall because of this. The crisis is imminent, and we need to become stronger as soon as possible. It's so strong that when they really appear one day, we also have the ability to resist them head-on. What Mr. Zhu said was so passionate that the people in the audience were excited when they heard it. Qin Yun, on the other hand, watched Elder Zhu's performance with a dazed expression. Zero subconsciously glanced at Xiaoxi next to her. Who wrote this speech? He always felt like he had seen this routine somewhere before. Agent Z wrote half of it. Mr. Zhu wrote half. Xiaoxi rolled her eyes. Good guy. No wonder Qin Yun always felt that Zilao's words were a bit strange. Isn't this just the routine of the three-body world? Mr. Zhu acted. Oh, the speech written by Zhang Bihai. That's fine. I have to say, it's a good idea to connect the 550's attack with aliens. In an instant, it changed from an incompetent coalition government to a big event that made everyone work together. To this end, Mr. Zhu even issued several new regulations. In order to protect citizens from attacks and threats, starting today, the coalition government officially enters the stage of public ownership by all the people. Next comes the real big deal. In order to unify resources and concentrate productivity, there is also the so-called protection to prevent aliens from continuing to attack. All large enterprises must enter the transitional stage of state ownership, and gradually change from private enterprises to state-owned enterprises. The industry will also usher in shrinkage. We will vigorously support manufacturing, construction, technology and other enterprises. Financial suspension. There will no longer be such things as the stock market in the future. Any industry related to capital will be banned. Definitely, doing so also has many disadvantages. The lives of ordinary people will definitely be affected. For example, the entertainment industry will definitely be less and less. Action movies may be gone forever. On the internet, there are also heated discussions about this press conference. Wouldn't it be a pity that we don't have new teachers to read after that? Actually, isn't it good to think about it? The existing teachers are still there after all. That is to say, you and your grandson can have common topics in the future. After all, there is no generation gap between the same teacher. Dan. Thinking about it this way, it's a bit out of order. Oh shit. What about light industry? Don't you run out of clothes? That's not the case. The light industry is definitely still there, but it's definitely not as fancy as before. In the future, there is a high probability that everyone will wear similar style protective clothing. Is it like in a sci-fi movie? I don't care about these. I just want to know, will this affect my salary? Yes. But it won't be too big. The wages of key industries will definitely be higher in the future, such as aerospace and building materials, but I have to say that some industries will still perish. It seems that many people have to start learning new things again. Knowledge FK. Isn't it me who is talking about it? The Labor Capital Finance Department. You are messing with whoever you are. Stocks are going to be suspended. For a time, some people were happy and some were sad. However, everyone knows one thing. This world is about to change. Chapter 105. Who told you I was joking? After the press conference, in the office, Qin Yun looked at Elder Zhu with some admiration. I have to say that Mr. Zhu is a smart man. He naturally blamed all of this on the third person. It even took this opportunity to let people have a common enemy, an alien who did not want to disclose the name. The advantage of this is that the government can explain why there are so many attacks but still can't do anything. It can also make people share the same hatred, and can justifiably take over the various follow-up problems caused by this change, such as how to belong to the wealth that has lost its owner. It can be said that one arrow does not know how many carvings. However, everything is impossible to be perfect after all. This is undoubtedly a major reshuffle of the world's operating system for hundreds of years. The so-called Datong world, this legendary thing, has been talked about for so many years, but why has it never been realized? In addition to the fact that the basic economic productivity is not strong enough, the most important thing is that people always have selfishness, so it is not so easy to maintain. Who can bear the fact that one does more while the other does less, and yet get the same thing? This time, people's enthusiasm for work was seriously hit, and civilization fell into a disgusting cycle, and everyone was unwilling to do things. Therefore, the economic system after this reshuffle is particularly critical. In this economic reform, we will ensure that the lower levels are connected and the upper levels are disconnected. Mr. Zhu said seriously. The date to analysis of 550 May 20th is very clear that only the truly rich, that is, the super rich, can be called capital. This is also the key target of 550. However, as long as there are human beings and wealth circulation, there will always be people who can earn more than others. Moreover, things like money cannot be completely eliminated. How can we avoid entering the endless loop of chasing money without dampening people's enthusiasm for work? The plan given by Mr. Zhu is completely cut off high consumption things. For example, the luxury industry. An ordinary bag with a certain brand on it can be sold for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. How much is it really worth? No. It's not worth much at all. What is valuable is the so-called design and brand. When people hear this name, they will think that this thing is very valuable. Bags, clothes, decorations, etc. are all things born in an extremely materialistic environment, and they have existed since ancient times. For people, this is a status symbol, a display of strength. As for his true value, no one cares. And now the world's situation has reached such a complicated and difficult time. There is no need for these things to exist. From the source, put an end to these sky-high consumption. People will find that making so much money seems useless. You have 10,000. He has 1 million. But you can't find a place to spend 1 million. Nothing that expensive. All living materials will enter parity. As long as it is economically satisfying that people can earn what they deserve as long as they work hard, that is enough. After the foundation of people's pursuit of high-end luxury and money disappears, this general environment of material desire will also slowly disappear. Definitely, this will also make people's life monotonous. But, to be fair, compared to the old plan that killed half of the people before, as long as the new wandering plan can be completed on schedule, it is better than being dead compared to monotony. All right? Focus on cultivating scientific entertainment. The entertainment industry will also enter a severe winter after this reform. However, people's pursuit of fame and fortune will never stop, and it is impossible to suppress it forever. Therefore, one of the key points of this reform is to make technology and science substitutes. In the future, the stars in people's mouth will no longer be those who are pure and lovely, or handsome and fresh, but scientists, technicians. The media will allow scientists to enter the public's field of vision, and use the entertainment industry to make them a substitute for entertainment figures that people talk about and talk about. People will discuss in private from now on. It will no longer be who cheated again, who became CP again, but a scientist has made a huge breakthrough in what. When scientific entertainment becomes the main theme, more people's expectations will change from the original, I want to be a star, and I will be happy every month, to I want to be a scientist, build a starship. This is also the spiritual outlook that a civilization that is about to enter the interstellar era should have. There are still many details in this reform, with many contents and a large scope of coverage, which is unprecedented. It almost completely abandoned the previous social stage, and went in the way an interstellar civilization in a future world should be. It's hard to implement these things, isn't it? Xiaoxi sighed. Watching everything seemed so beautiful, but it was just watching. Thoughts are the hardest thing to change. Back then, it took nearly 100 years for the dragon in China to change its spiritual outlook as the so-called sick man of East Asia. The so-called study of medicine cannot save Chinese people, and it is the same for all human beings in the world. I said, I'm just paving the way for you. This is something that a civilization that is striving to make progress must go through. How it will turn out, is not what we want to see now, or even 10 or 20 years. But a few generations later. Elder Zhu smiled and seemed very calm. He knows that the future is hope. What he has to do is to look to the next generation. The next generation, and the future of the entire human race. Perhaps, in an unknown number of years, human beings will completely become what he expected. If that's the case, how wonderful. Xiaoxi also seemed to start to fantasize for a while. That will undoubtedly be a brand new era. Everyone lives and works in peace and contentment, without disputes or infighting. Everyone is yearning to make this world a better place. Everyone is contributing to the progress of civilization. Every minute and every second, there are technological breakthroughs. The breakthrough technology is to bring the overall productivity of civilization to a higher level. After feedback to everyone, everyone's life will become more comfortable. The existence of money is no longer something that people pursue for profit. This is definitely a beautiful and great era. It is an era of continuous human progress. It's a pity. Now that most people's thinking is solidified, maybe we can't see that scene anymore. Maybe Xiaoxi, you still have a chance to see all this. I'm old and I don't have a chance. The future depends on you. After the 550 attack is over, I will step down as the chairman of the council, take the blame and resign, and hand it over to you young people. What should I do next? That's your job. Elder Zhu said very calmly. Resign? Xiaoxi's expression changed. How can this work? We should take it together. Without your leadership. Xiaoxi. Elder Zhu didn't let Xiaoxi continue, but looked into her eyes and said, no matter what, reform will inevitably require someone to sacrifice. Standing in this position, I will shoulder this responsibility. I will leave with all my sins and give you a clean world. Only I can afford this, you guys. No change. What needs to be touched is the interests of the people of the old age. Mr. Zhu can enforce all these with his own identity and rights, but it will definitely offend many people. Someone has to resist this resentment and be that heinous bad guy. In Zhilau's plan, all the evil things are done by himself, and all the pressure is also borne by him. What Xiaoxi has to do is to continue all this in the future. This is also a difficult task. Old Zhu Xiaoxi seems to have thought of the pressure that Mr. Zhu will face, as well as the countless hostility. It's just too heavy on his shoulders. Thinking of this, Xiaoxi even felt a little sore in her nose. While the two were still immersed in grief, Qin Yun yawned. Okay, stop pretending. If you want me to help you, just tell me. Qin Yun rolled his eyes. As Zilao and Xiao's eyes identities. Is the bitter love scene starting here? To be reasonable, they are already the most powerful people on the planet, so is the emotional management so bad? We are still around. Speaking of which, there is indeed something that needs your help. Xiaoxi silently wiped away her tears. The men in black have the ability to resist 550's assassination, and you should be the only one in the world who cannot be attacked by 550. What we think is, can some people be protected? There are some businessmen, patriotic businessmen, who have made huge amounts of contributions to the country and the world. They don't deserve to die. They are also an important part of mankind. What Qin Yun didn't expect was that Xiaoxi actually wanted to intercede for some businessmen who had loved her. This is reasonable. Even in the capital there are good people. But this is what they asked for in a half-day drama? Isn't this too contemptuous of us men in black? That's it? Is it too difficult? Our request is indeed a little too much. After all, protection is a matter that consumes a lot of manpower and material resources. No, I mean, it's that simple. Xiaoxi. Is it simple? Good guy, you must know that 550 has never missed 1,000 times from the first attack to now. Even if it is a person with great power and wealth, no matter how high the level of security is, there is no difference in 550's methods. There was once a rich man who knew that something was wrong, and hid in a closed shelter 1,000 meters above the seabed. It was almost absolutely safe, even resistant to nuclear explosions. But even so, he still died for no reason in his own fortress. The only time 550 has lost since its debut is when it was against Qin Yun, right? Is it really that simple? I thought it was a big deal. I was prepared to help you build the planet engine within a month. If this is the requirement, it would be too simple. Qin Yun said casually. These words were heard in the ears of Xiaoxi and Zilao, but it made people feel weird. Good guy, the planet engine has been built in 1 month. 2.2. How is this amount of engineering possible? You know, according to the original plan, this is an epic-level project that the entire human civilization needs to work hard for decades, and basically a generation of people have to devote themselves to it. Let alone a month. A year is considered a fantasy. Ha ha ha. Detective Q is really humorous. This is the first time I've seen this side of Detective Q. Actually, this is the vigor that young people should have just make a joke from time to time. Elders only thought that Qin Yun was joking, and even smiled. Sophisticated. This kind of thing should have a sense of humor from time to time. It's not always so serious to communicate like this. As he spoke, he even had the look of an old man looking at his son-in-law. Xiaoxi is her important successor, and there are not many men in this world who can match Xiaoxi. After all, she is already the default president of the next council, the pinnacle of Earth power. Qin Yun is the only one who is worthy of Xiaoxi. The mysterious organization of the men in black, even in the whole world, is a height that no one can reach. Wouldn't it be nice to have a handsome man and a beautiful woman? However, upon hearing what old Zhu said, Qin Yun said with a strange expression, "You geese don't really think I'm joking, do you?" Hearing Qin Yun's serious look, the smiles on their faces gradually froze. "What do you mean?" Exclamation mark. "You seriously?" Chapter 106. Do you call this an idle mecha? If it was placed a few days ago, Qin Yun really wouldn't have boasted such a bullshit. After all, with the current productivity of the men in black, even with the help of the Trisolarans, it would take at least 2 or 3 years for this level of construction. Most importantly, Qin Yun will not waste all his energy on this. However, it is different now, because he has a new toy. Light industrial mecha, Icarus. The construction ability of Icarus is beyond the imagination of low-level civilizations. The so-called hand-rubbing nuclear bombs are just basic operations for it. He can build high-tech equipment buildings like kneading dirt. 10,000 planet engines are nothing to him. The most powerful ability of Icarus is the ability to process materials inside the body. Its interior has a high-density compressed space, which can almost hold objects 100 times its own file size. In the compressed space, it is possible to directly carry out one-stop manufacturing, refinement and assembly of buildings, commonly known as hand rubbing. After rubbing the building, it only needs to be decompressed and released, and it can be put into use immediately. And the speed of this hand rubbing is not slow. Qin Yun even said 1 month is still too much, because there are man-made objects, buildings, etc. on the Earth. It needs planning, evacuation and communication with some original things. If it is a naked planet without anyone living, Icarus can even do all this in 10 days. You mean, you have an industrial mecha that is temporarily idle and can help us build a planet engine? Hearing this absurd words, both of them were a little stunned. I even wondered if Qin Yun drank too much before going out. In the face of such a big project as the Wandering Earth project, what is the use of an idle mecha? Light industrial mesh, is it what we think? The world of Wandering Earth is not without mechas, and coincidentally, the most assembled ones are also industrial mechas. Industrial meshs can allow construction workers to have a better load capacity, and can also cooperate with computers to do things that are difficult for ordinary people to operate. Moreover, their Academy of Sciences has already done in-depth research on meshs, and even developed heavy-duty industrial meshs. The maximum strength has reached tens of tons. The model is indeed a light industrial mecha. Well, I don't think you can imagine it, so I'll transfer it here. With that said, Qin Yun pressed the communication watch and sent a message to the base. Bring Icarus over here. After the base received the news, a reply came soon. Calling Icarus requires prop authorization number 003 ". Authorization, use my authority. Qin Yun was not surprised by this. Prop number 003 is not Icarus, but zooming in and out. Icarus is too big to pass through the dimension gate. Therefore, you must use the zoom in and zoom out lights to zoom out before you can enter the dimension gate. Time flies. After about an hour, the sky gradually darkened. It's getting dark. Why don't you two go have dinner first? When Xiaoxi heard this, she stood up and was ready to push Mr. Zhu together. I won't go. You young people can eat together. I ate lunch late today. I'm not hungry. Hearing Mr. Zhu's words, Xiaoxi said helplessly, Mr. Zhu, I'm not hungry either. Does she understand what Elder Zhu means? He just wants her and Qin Yun to develop. But isn't this a bit of a mess? I don't know if Qin Yun has a partner, and to be honest, she always feels unconfident in front of Qin Yun. It's hard to be proactive. It's only 4 o'clock and you are going to have dinner? People here eat dinner very early. Qin Yun looked at his watch and was a little surprised. 4 o'clock. Elder Zhu and Xiaoxi were taken aback for a moment, and they both looked down at their watches. It's dark at 4 o'clock. Subconsciously, Xiaoxi ran to the window and opened the curtain of the conference room to have a look. Then, the mouth couldn't be shut at all. It's getting dark here. On the shore, a huge figure appeared in front of the building. His figure is extremely huge, and at a glance, it almost covers the sky, completely blocking all sunlight. Can't figure out how high it is at all. At the moment he was standing in the sea, a deep water port that could hold the carrier, or even submerge only its instep. Icarus in human form stands upright. If it weren't for the metallic luster revealed throughout his body, it would even make people think that the giant in myths and legends descended into reality. He was motionless, just standing there, giving people a terrifying pressure. On the coast, countless people looked at this big guy in horror. In the distance, the helicopter was flying towards here. In comparison, the usual 6-axis giant helicopter was as weak as a sesame seed in front of him. What is amazing is that with such a huge body, he landed so silently. There were no waves even standing in the sea. What's even more outrageous is that at his feet, there is even a person lying on a small sailboat basking in the sun, falling asleep so comfortably. He didn't realize that a huge monster appeared next to him. He opened his eyes in a daze, as if he was wondering why the sun had disappeared, but when he looked up, the lucky man froze for a moment. Then, he turned over and continued to sleep. I must be dreaming. I was too tired last night. Let's continue to sleep. You know, even if a stone falls into the water, it will cause waves. With the size of Icarus, not to mention water waves, even a little wind does not change. It's hard to imagine what kind of technology would allow him to do this. Perhaps, this is also the reason why he is an industrial mesh. Although it is huge, it is precise, and it can be completely indifferent to the things produced by manufacturing. This is the performance that the creation of advanced civilization should have. Just like the Pioneer's war beast can restrain its own gravity. Icarus is here. Qin Yun also received the message and stood up slowly. You call this a light industrial mecha? Xiaoxi only felt that her 3 views were about to crack at this moment. The thing in front of me is even longer than the planet engine just from a close-up perspective. Mecha, lightweight. Do you have any misunderstanding about these 2 words? Icarus, a light industrial mesh, can meet all the construction requirements below level 6. This thing was originally designed for the rapid construction of Dyson spheres. Qin Yun briefly introduced this mesh. The specific technology level of Icarus is not clear, because it is not sold in the system mall, which is a special reward. However, it has medium-level manufacturing equipment inside. As long as it has relevant technical materials, it can manufacture almost all buildings and items below level 6. Moreover, the fuselage has 6 upgrade slots, and it seems that the upgrade can be modified, and it may not be possible to use the high-level civilization stage in the future. The original intention of his design was to build a Dyson ball, the civilization that made it spread out countless galaxies to those young galaxies, and then built countless Dyson spheres to collect these energies and transmit them to the Earth craftsmen who should go. This is undoubtedly a cheap and economical energy harvesting solution. After all, the most common and easily obtained energy in the universe is fixed star energy. Dyson ball? Exclamation mark. This thing. Elder silently swallowed a mouthful of saliva, feeling a little indescribable about his current feelings. The technology of the men in black has already developed to this level, therefore, there is no need to worry about its infrastructure ability. It has a compression space that can be processed and produced. There are 64 slots, and it can manufacture 64 planet engines at the same time. All you have to do is to input the drawings of the supporting details of the planet's engine into it, and then, from mining to construction, you can hand it over to him to complete. Oh, definitely, the most important thing is that the urban population near the location of the building must be relocated first. Hearing what Qin Yun said so simply, Mr. Zhu fell silent. However, things are in front of you, even if you think it is outrageous, you can only choose to believe it. However, the way the two of them looked at Qin Yun became more and more strange. I said 1 month, absolutely not 1 more day. Qin Yun squinted his eyes, and said seriously, Icarus will only give you 1 month of usage time, and after 1 month, I will transfer Icarus away. Really, a month? This is impossible. Too urgent. Just thinking about it, Xiaoxi felt that it was almost impossible. Although it is definitely good to build the planet engine as soon as possible, reality must also be considered. Even if the construction ability of Icarus is sufficient, the deployment time in this process is definitely not enough. You must know that the planned locations of most planet engines are located in metropolises all over the world. Every city is home to a large population, as well as factory production equipment. Almost the vast majority of human civilization is in these cities. Within a month, almost all humans will be relocated. Leaving this thing originally is outrageous enough. The question is where to move, how to solve the problem of eating, drinking and sleeping for 6 billion people. How and where should the original factories, equipment, materials, and resources be evacuated? These questions, just thinking about it for a while, make people's scalp numb. A month, a year is hard to deal with. Hurry up. This is definitely the largest population migration in human history. According to the original plan, the construction and evacuation were carried out step by step. Just make it and go. Now, this speed is almost fatal within a month. Old Zhu, what do you think? Qin Yun looked at Elder Zhu with a smile on his face. Surprisingly, Mr. Zhu nodded very firmly. 1 month, that's it. Xiaoxi looked at Elder Zhu's eyes, but her expression changed, and she muttered to herself, in this way, many people will die. Then many people will die. Mr. Zhu sighed. There is no doubt that Mr. Zhu has thought a lot about this 1-month construction plan. Even thought of reform. In the previous plan, the modification of the system was slow, and it even took several generations to complete. But, if the Wandering Earth project were to be rocked within a month, a lot would undoubtedly happen. First of all, cities, gathering places, represent wealth. Houses, cars, assets, goods, etc. And letting people leave the city means that the originally slow and worthless wealth will quickly fall to the bottom within a month. It's a quick and mandatory resource shuffle. No one can be an exception. People can only start a new life with nothing. This process will be full of blood. 593. Not far away, too. Those who protect their property, or those who find that they have no skills and jobs and die poor after leaving. Anyway, it's almost conceivable that some uncontrollable violence would ensue. How messy will it be? No one could have predicted. As a result, it will make Zilau's plan ahead of schedule. Complementary plan for human spirit construction. Everyone will return to the same starting point. Miracles come out of great strides, but big strides can also lead to failure. Now, get over it. Maybe within a generation, we will be different. I can't make it through. Mr. Zhu thought for a while. It seems that there is no way to survive. At worst, if these innovators are wiped out, so what? Mr. Zhu, don't think so much. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Qin Yun smiled slightly. The reason why I want to transfer Icarus away in a month is because our battle star will start work in a month. Why? Although time is tight, we have been paying attention to the Earth and will not let the Earth go wrong. I'm looking forward to human beings becoming a thriving civilization, not a ruin. At least I can guarantee that the spiritual navigator with advanced consciousness will never be in danger because of this incident. The same plot has already happened once in the original timeline, and Qin Yun will not just watch it happen again. The Wandering Earth world is Qin Yun's right-hand man who hopes to develop. Qin Yun believes that after surviving this crisis, this civilization will inevitably become a civilization that is more tenacious than the humans in the Trisolar world. However, Zilao noticed another key in Qin Yun's language. Wait. Battlestar? The reason why Icarus can only be used for 1 month is because there are other tasks. Battlestar? Is that what they understand? That's right. Battlestar, a man-made level planet aircraft carrier equipped with a full-function combat platform independently developed by us, will start construction in a month's time. Qin Yun didn't mean to hide it either. The technology accumulation of the men in black has reached the limit of low-level civilization. The first reason for making this Battlestar is to improve the level of combat ability, and the second reason is to break through the boundaries of low-level civilizations. Trisolaran Academy of Sciences, Trisolaran's Academy of Human Sciences, and the Logistics Technology Department of the Men in Black, including Tony Stark, have all invested in the basic development of Battlestar. Once the Battlestar is completed and the basic combat mecha is trained, the Man in Black will completely have the ability to fight the third type of civilization head-on. Moreover, the role of Battlestar is not just as simple as a battle platform. Chapter 107 Thanos is coming, pay the parking fee. Because the first sub-base given by the system on the Earth can no longer accommodate the current development of the Man in Black. The personnel are okay. Qin Yun didn't buy many secret agents, but the equipment of the Men in Black is getting bigger and bigger. Before, the largest equipment owned by the Man in Black was the C-class transport spaceship, and the others were all portable, so they could be carried with him even when he was big, without affecting the transportation. However, the JC-001 basic mecha has also passed the experiment and has entered the mass production stage. Trisolaran's factory and the base's factory are fully fired. Hundreds of units have been produced in 10 days. Suddenly, Qin Yun found that the base couldn't accommodate so many things. Although they still have many sub-bases, the main base of the Marvel world, as the gateway to connect all the worlds, must be the most important one. Therefore, Battlestar was put on the table. This will be the spaceship of level planet, and also a huge base with comprehensive functions. At full load, Battlestar is enough to put down tens of millions of JC-1s, and it can also park tens of thousands of small spaceships. This is also the stage that development must go through. Battlestar may be used as the main base of the Men in Black for a long time to come. However, just when Qin Yun was about to flex his muscles and start construction, the detectors in the Marvel world, but found the uninvited guest. Warp jump signal detected. An unknown spaceship has landed in the Milky Way. Spaceship star rating, large. Fleet detected, quantity 2000. Qin Yun, holy place number 1, as the flagship of the Extinction Room. Its specifications are very large, and its size of several kilometers is considered large in the category of warships. On the upside, there are heavy and battle stars. After the flagship, there is Thanos' Dark Order. The Dark Order is the fleet directly under Thanos, with a large number and uneven levels. However, the fighting power of the Dark Order is unquestionable, and when they hardly come out in full force, most of the time they dock on Thanos' military planet. At the moment, after a month of sailing, Thanos finally came to the Earth from the distant interstellar. Almost at the moment of leaving the warp flight, Thanos' dog-headed strategist Ebony Maw issued an order: turn on incognito mode and keep silent. A month ago, they noticed the disappearance of Ancient One, and Thanos definitely would not let go of this great opportunity. Odin is sleeping, trying to fight Ragnarok, and the presence of Tung One is gone. This means that there is no one on Earth who can make Thanos fear. At this moment, there are at least 3 infinite gems on Earth. This is the Earth. What a piece of trash. The level of technology has not even stepped out of the home planet. It is simply a low-end savage tribe. Why should we hide it? Send me, and I will bring the gem back to the owner with my own hands. Holding up his hammer, Black Dwarf looked disdainful when he saw the data sent back by the detector. Earth is indeed bad, but the Ancient One is still our biggest threat. We must make sure that the Ancient 10 is really gone from the Earth before we go. Ebony Maw said calmly. Also, as a magician, only he knows the power of Ancient One best. Not to mention anything else, even if they are strong, Ancient One, who is currently the pinnacle of cosmic space magic control, can trap them all just by opening the mirror space. Ebony Maw glanced at Thanos, who was sitting on a throne, propping his head on his left hand and nodding. In the universe, countless people know that Ancient One keeps the time gem, but it is still in the hands of Ancient One after so many years, which shows how powerful Ancient One is. The surface of the huge battleship was intertwined with light and shadow, and soon, it was attached to the background board. Optically disappeared into space. Because of maintaining stealth, the spaceship travels very slowly. Ebony Maw closed his eyes, carefully perceiving the breath in the space. As a magician, he has been to the Earth many years ago. At that time, the magic power and coercion of Ancient One covered almost all subspaces near the Earth, making countless powerful Mephista dare not invade. But now, Ebony Maw can clearly perceive the space shield from the holy place, but the aura of Ancient One has completely disappeared. Based on the huge holy place, Cat Eye Magi weaves a huge amounts of network covering the Earth, in order to prevent the invasion of the Mephista in the subspace. However, this kind of defense is actually not strong. The key is the power of Sorcerer Supreme. This kind of defense has no effect on the physical world, but it allows Ebony Maw to perceive what he wants to perceive. Ancient One, really gone. When Holy Place 1 was almost reaching the Earth orbit, Ebony Maw also opened his eyes in surprise. Thanos immediately stood up from the throne as soon as he heard it. Okay. At this moment, Mishi seemed to have seen the 3 gems beckoning to him. However, just when Sin was about to start forming his troops, suddenly, Holy Place 1 received a communication message from Earth. Unknown fleet, you have entered human airspace. According to the Men in Black spaceship management regulations, entry is a report, and the ship is stopped in violation of regulations. Men in Black must report to the Immigration Management Department within 10 minutes, and submit the fine and parking fee. After receiving this news, the entire bridge fell silent instantly, and everyone was a little confused. What's the meaning? It seems to say that we stopped the ship illegally and asked us to pay the fee. After reacting, everyone started to burst into laughter. The scene was once very chaotic, laughing to death. This is the first time I hear that we are asked to pay for the boat. Report? How did the brains of these primitive people grow? Wait. Aren't we in invisible silent mode now? How did they find us? Maybe there are some special detection methods. Is this important? Who are they? A force under Thanos' banner, a powerful existence known as the Dark Order. For so many years, they have followed Thanos across the Star Sea, and there is no single enemy in the entire universe. Relying on this legion, Thanos destroyed countless planets, and was even called the Emperor of the Universe. It is rare for the Dark Legion to dispatch all of them because they are too powerful. This time, it was because Thanos was afraid that Ancient One was not dead, so he brought it in order to fight Ancient One head-on. After all, it's all here. If Ancient One really isn't dead, they can't just leave, can they? Then how do you mess around in the universe? Thanos has brains. He is afraid of Ancient One, not really afraid of her, but Ancient One can exchange one for many. A real frontal battle will inevitably lead to heavy losses, but, determined to fight, Thanos doesn't think he will really lose. It's just that the result will definitely weaken the strength of your subordinates greatly. And such a fleet that is ready to confront Ancient One head-on, a name that can make children cry in the universe, came to Earth, but was demanded by this low-end primitive civilization. Now that? Isn't this meowing to be funny? No matter where they go, there are countless people begging for mercy. This communication message even made Thanos amused. This universe is too big. There are always some people who don't know how high the sky is. It seems that I have been inactive for too long. People in the universe have forgotten my existence. Once, Thanos led his men to destroy planets one by one in order to accomplish his goal of eliminating half of the universe's population. However, he later discovered that the universe is too big. Even if it is as powerful as him, it is too slow to come a little bit like this. So, he changed his mind and prepared to borrow the power of infinite gems. So, in fact, Thanos hasn't been the same destroyer as before for a long time. This made Thanos couldn't help but doubt himself. Is it the time to collect infinite gems? Too long? His name doesn't even work anymore. Hearing what Thanos said, Ebony Maw said quickly, "My master, this place is too remote." It's normal for these lowly bugs not to have heard of the name of the Great Master. After all, the Earth was once just a servant of S.H.I.E.L.D. Strictly speaking, in this universe, the Earth is one of the 9 realms, and the master of the 9 realms is S.H.I.E.L.D. In other words, in the eyes of most people in the universe, the Earth is regarded as a subsidiary of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just that with the law of Ragnarok looming, Odin slumbering, and Earth occasionally popping up with a few notable characters such as Wonder Woman, and Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. This is the so-called independence. However, aside from these mysterious people, the basic scientific and technological civilization level of the Earth is just relying on stool. No wonder they look down on the Earth. When Thanos and the others were left speechless by the news of the Man in Black. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Man in Black headquarters command room. The Man in Black is also busy. How is it going? A total of 2,326 spaceships. The level of technology varies, from the low level of the second level to the top level of the third level, and most of them are equipped with shields. But it doesn't feel right. It seems to be an active shield. 808. Some don't know how to describe this fleet. You say they are strong. They are indeed very strong. All spaceships, even the most stretched, are equipped with warp rate engines. The weapon system is very top-notch, and even Holy Place 1 is equipped with something that feels like a Star Destroyer. I don't know if it is an annihilating Star Destroyer or a chain Star Destroyer, but judging from the weapon specifications alone, the combat power is not weak. It can barely be regarded as a fleet of level 4 technological civilization. But compared to their weapon systems, the defense systems of these fleets simply rely on S.H.I.E.L.D. technology, a technology that low-level civilizations can play with, on their ships. Even becomes active. What is active shield? Active shields are a rare use of shields. Like an ordinary passive shield, it is a layer of membrane that wraps the ship and resists attacks from all directions. But the active one is like holding up a shield to block damage in one direction. That's right. Shield. And it's still the kind with only one side and 5 sides with air leakage. It's outrageous. Interstellar wars are all gunfire, all kinds of you hit me and I block you and I hit you. But what are the shields of these fleets that only block one side? Just like interstellar troopers, they are already in the interstellar era. So how about playing the cold weapon era? I have an impression of that ship. During the Battle of New York, I entered the wormhole with a nuclear bomb and blew up an identical ship. Tony looked at the screen with a strange expression on his face. Isn't this the one I blew up? Except for some details, the main structure and shape, for good money, Our brother ship. This ship should be the opponent's flagship but was destroyed by a nuclear bomb. 808 just felt that his head could not turn around. Can a large flagship with a level 4 civilization be blown up by a nuclear bomb? The material of this ship is too stretchy. From the perspective of 808, these warships are completely unqualified designs. It's like a baby resisting an RPG. Although the attack power is against the sky, it can be kicked to death with one kick. Thanos. Hearing Tony talk about the Battle of New York, Qin Yun reacted instantly. Isn't this Thanos' holy place #1? Dude, why is Thanos here all of a sudden, with a whole fleet? Qin Yun was also a little confused. Thanos should never have appeared on Earth at this point in time. And, this fleet. To be reasonable, the original timeline never came to Earth. If Qin Yun remembers correctly, the only time Holy Place 1 has been to Earth is the quantum tunnel, traveling through time from the past to the future, because time particles are needed to travel through the quantum channel, so the room only brought one ship at that time. Now, these 2,000 warships are almost the most powerful force in Thanos' hands, and belong to his direct fleet. Boss, how to deal with it? How to deal with it? Needless to say, illegal entry. Let him pay the fine first. 11. Although the opponent's fleet was huge, Qin Yun didn't panic at all. We dare to do it even to the 6th level civilization of the original universe. Afraid of your garbage fleet of the Shenchuang universe? Boss, the other party replied. After 808 finished sending the message, he quickly received a reply group. It's just the content of this reply. Chapter 108. Is Ancient One not at home? But there are ghosts here. Humble Earthlings, I am Black Dwarf, the 4th general under the Cosmic Emperor Thanos. I will descend on the Earth immediately, and wait to meet the fear. After sending this message, Tomoko also sent a picture soon. Black Dwarf actually rushed out from a certain portal in Holy Place 1. The equipment on his body propels his body, heading towards the Earth. Qin Yun was dumbfounded. What is he doing? Could it be that he is preparing to let us see how powerful he is? Qin Yun. To be honest, Qin Yun was already unable to complain. Black Dwarf actually began to break through the atmosphere physically. There is no doubt that his physical fitness is indeed strong, and he is worthy of being one of the 4 generals under Thanos. But, brother, this is space war. You drove more than 2,000 warships to the Earth, and after you made harsh remarks, what does it mean to let a single person log in? Oh, and it's not counted as a single soldier login. When Black Dwarf reached the Earth's atmosphere, many landing ships followed and headed towards the Earth's surface, even with a companion. But is it useful? 808 can't understand the thinking of these people. Are they really the most powerful group of people in the universe? Strictly speaking, most of the things that the Man in Black experienced before were within the framework of the original universe. In the main Marvel world, they are facing the enemy for the first time. A negotiation with a pioneer is not a fight. It wasn't until this time that I really felt the difference between the divine creation universe and the original universe. Perhaps, it's because the laws in this world are relatively loose. Qin Yun guessed. It is easier for people who create the universe to obtain special abilities. What kind of gene mutation, bestowed by the gods, divine power, etc. This makes the individual of Shenchuang Hand universe very powerful. What super ability, Man of Steel spells, etc. have become common factors. When the individual can become very strong, perhaps, some overall things will be ignored, like their warships. The interstellar war has also changed from the main theme of starship cannons to the feeling of individual soldiers commanding generals like ancient wars. They prefer to use their hands to achieve the future. For example, the defensive power of the battleship design is so poor that even the shields can't cover it. The high probability is 603 because there are too many people with super abilities. The teleportation ability of space transfer is almost everywhere. No matter how good the defense is, people will break through it, so I just don't bother designing those things. It has to be said that the organization of Men in Black has always been based on the rules of the original universe. After seeing these things, it is simply a blow to dimensionality reduction. You know, in the original universe, even the poorest interstellar civilization can produce thousands of warships. For those more high-level interstellar battles, a million search starships start. Where is it like here? Thanos, who looks like a pair of scrap metal 2,000 warships, can dominate the universe. Pick it up, lift it up. Qin Yun waved his hand casually. I saw that Black Dwarf, who was originally excited, had turned into a ball of fire and was about to come to the ground to prove himself, but was shot by countless lasers in an instant. In less than a second, it turned into a fly ash, disappeared into the atmosphere. No matter how strong your physical body is, you can't resist the particle cannon head-on. If Thanos can still block, is it crazy for a Black Dwarf to land like this? The moment Black Dwarf died, Holy Place 1 received a message. No. Black Dwarf is gone? The vital signs have completely disappeared, and I can't find them at all. What? Thanos' face also changed. This is completely different from what they thought. Originally, I just wanted Black Dwarf to go down to explore the road, but it hasn't gone down yet. Why are people gone? For the death of his companion, Ebony Maw did not feel any grief, but hurriedly said, hurry up, Let the landing force withdraw. Their planet has a planet defense network. However, as soon as the words fell, those soldiers who were planning to land together with Black Dwarf discovered that countless beams of light were launched from the geosynchronous orbit, attacking everyone with precision. Before they could turn around, thousands of teams were completely destroyed. Seeing this scene, I even laughed a little angrily. Good. I haven't encountered such an interesting planet for a long time. On the surface, it is a low-end primitive, KBE, planet, but it is such a powerful planet defense network. Is this your trump card? If that's all, well, sorry. Main gun storage. At this moment, Thanos has given up on gems. Can't fight. After destroying the Earth, look for it from the debris. You know, when the Icarus invaded last time, Thanos was suffocating. This is already the second time. But at that time, the combat power of the Earth was very hip, and Icarus, as the lowest-end cannon fodder, couldn't beat it. Now, set up a planet defense network? Work? Exclamation mark. We have Star Destroyers. Star Destroyer cannon energy storage. 15 minutes. As the main guns of Holy Place 1 began to charge, the urge to destroy in Thanos also began to burn. Unknown fleet, your unauthorized landing on the Earth has violated the Men in Black management regulations, and the act of storing weapons has been regarded as a declaration of war on the Earth. We will take measures. Please pay attention to check. Faced with Thanos' behavior of charging the main gun, the Man in Black also gave a thoughtful reminder. However, Thanos still sat on the throne very calmly. No fuss about it. In his eyes, the Earth is already a dead ball. The same is true for mining gems from ruins. Soon, however, Thanos found that he couldn't calm down. There are enemies. In the Thanos fleet, the alarm systems of all the spaceships rang almost at the same time. At the same time, on the outskirts of the fleet, warships with uniform standards suddenly appeared in the originally empty place. 10 ships. 100 searches. 1,000 ships. The number quickly skyrocketed to 3,000 searches within a minute. Moreover, the most outrageous thing is that there are several battleships that are several times larger than Holy Place 1 at a glance. 3-body civilization antimatter power flagship. In the broadcast of the Men in Black, following the appearance of these warships, the command screen in front of Qin Yun also began to broadcast. The Trisolaran First Fleet has been deployed. 1,000 medium-sized main battleships, 5 large destroyers, and 1 heavy-duty attack flagship. 3-body Second Fleet has been deployed. 1,000 medium-sized main battleships, 5 large destroyers, and 1 heavy-duty attack flagship. The First Fleet of the coalition government has been deployed. 300 medium-level attack ships. 1 large flagship. The Special Service Basic Combat Unit has been deployed. 500 JC-001 Meshs. At the moment, the support fleet from the Trisolaran world has also completely passed through the Dimension Gate and arrived at the place it should go. For a period of time, the 3-body world temporarily became one of the strongest forces in Qin Yun's hands. They have participated in almost all the scientific research work of the Men in Black, and their original technological level has reached the stage of nearly 4 levels. Originally, the Trisolarans had 2 fleets, but this time, almost all of them were dispatched. Not even one of the 3-body Mars bases in the 3-body world is left behind. If it wasn't for Qin Yun to stop them, they would even have planned to send out engineering transport ships. Definitely, it's not how loyal the Trisolarans are, and they can't wait to give their all to help the Heian people. But because this is a chance for Trisolarans to survive. Because there has been no progress in the research on the attack and defense of the two-way foil. From the perspective of the Trisolarans, the solar system in the 3-body world has a high probability of not being able to survive the attack by the two-way foil. And this opportunity just allows Trisolaris to carry out a small-scale emigration to another world. Even if this side is destroyed, wouldn't the main civilization still have seats? This was their little thought, but they almost made it clear. Qin Yun didn't think too much, and agreed. Because he really needs some protective force to protect the construction of the battle star. The water in the Marvel world is also very deep. Before the battle star is built, Qin Yun has no intuitive power in his hands. It's not that Qin Yun can't build his own starship, but it's not necessary. In Qin Yun's vision, the Men in Black only need to have the top-level individual combat power, such as the JC series of mechas, such as those super-oriented agents. Then, there are the trop interstellar forces, such as Battlestar. Qin Yun will not even plan to build battleships at all in the future, but will build a few more battle stars. After all, what's the use of warships, which are small, have low combat effectiveness, and waste personnel, even when battleships are needed? What do we do to save so many worlds? All it takes is a phone call, and countless people will drive their own battleships to serve the people of Heian. This is also the result of a community with a shared future for mankind. Looking at the fleets all over the sky, Qin Yun expressed his satisfaction. The 3-body coalition government even sent out the few 300 warships it had just released. For a time, countless starships were almost densely arranged in the sky, surrounding Thanos' dark sect. At the moment, everyone in Holy Place No. 1 was stunned. At a glance, the number of warships of the opponent is almost equal to that of his own. Even if you count those mechas that are not easy to mess with, they have already surpassed their number. After all, JC001 is not small in size, almost equivalent to a small warship. Where did these warships come from? How come there are so many of them? Thanos looked at the projection with an ugly expression on his face as if his head had been chopped off. You must know that the number of districts is one of their advantages for the fleet of the dark cultists to be able to run amok in the universe. Except for him, Thanos, among the famous forces in the universe, there is almost no one who can produce 2,000 starships. This ran to such a remote place on the Earth, and suddenly popped up. And looking at the styles of those starships, most of them are standard, and they are different from their patchwork. It means that they are completely produced in one place. Thanos instantly locked his eyes on Ebony Maw. Wouldn't this be a trap aimed at me? Think about Ebony Maw who brought me to Earth all the time. Thanos wondered a little whether his most trusted military advisor had betrayed him. My master. Ebony Maw looked at Thanos' eyes and felt a palpitation. Master, the main gun has been charged. Should we fire it? At this time, the operator interrupted the train of thought of several people. Hearing this, Thanos raised his war blade. With a flash of the knife, the operator's head was cut off. The sudden bloody scene made everyone present shudder. I hate people who can't understand. I've said it all. Why do you ask when you fire the main gun? Thanos. There was a fierce look in his eyes. The other operator next to him saw that his companion died like this, and almost peed out of fear. However, he knew that Thanos was in a very bad mood right now. If he didn't satisfy him, he might be the next one to die. Thinking of this, he pushed away his companion's body, then sat on his seat, and then, tremblingly, put his hand on the firing button, ready to press it. Wait. However, Ebony Maw stopped him suddenly. My master, at this time, the most important thing for us is to preserve our strength. Destroyed the Earth. We also have to fall into battle. There is no time to collect scattered gems. Master, I suggest that we still. However, just as Ebony Maw was making his own comments, Thanos interrupted his speech. Ebony Maw, you have always been my most trusted child. You are the one who said that Ancient One is gone, and you are the one who told us to come. Now, some people are questioning my authority. Hope, someone wants to fight with me, and it is you who stop me. Ebony Maw, how can you prove to me your loyalty? Thanos' mood was indeed terrible, but he was not afraid, only fighting. While speaking, he gently stroked the purple gem in his hand. The power gem is also one of the reasons why he is still full of confidence even if the fleet is surrounded. My master, my loyalty to you has never changed. It's true that I didn't think carefully this time, but I still ask the master to think carefully. The dark cult cannot be consumed here. We still have a greater cause to do. Master, think twice! 27. Ebony Maw bowed slowly, still so gracefully. In fact, he was also very helpless. Ancient One is indeed not on Earth. But who would have thought that there are ghosts on the Earth? He really didn't know where these fleets came from. Chapter 109 A.M.I. Thanos Shameless. The meaning of Ebony Maw is obvious. At the moment is not suitable for war. Should go first. Thanos thought about it for a long time, and finally chose to believe in Ebony Maw. After all, for so many years, Ebony Maw has been a dog-headed military strategist under his own hands, and he has never made a mistake. It can be said that Thanos can develop to the present, and Ebony Maw has contributed a lot. However, just when Thanos was about to order a temporary retreat and plan in the future. But I heard the driver who had just taken the position say in horror, "It's bad. Warp speed, the engine can't start. Space is blocked." What? Exclamation mark. At the moment, within the encirclement of the Trisolaran fleet, the invisible space structure became distorted up. Originally, the space structure of this world is similar to a honeycomb, and the warp speed engine can open the space like a module, and enter the warp speed high-speed navigation. This is also the most common way for people in this world to travel between the stars. However, the Trisolaran fleet from the original universe made the warp velocity invalid. The principle is very simple. The engine of the Trisolaran fleet is an antimatter engine. The physical rules of the original universe are different from those of the Marvel world, and there is no such developed warp space as the Marvel world. It is also difficult for the speed of matter to exceed the speed of light, so Trisolaran's technical route is very thick. The antimatter reactor has the advantages of low mass and high density, but when performing energy reactions, it will affect the positive space and distort the space to a certain extent. This is why it took hundreds of years for the Trisolaran fleet to travel from the Trisolaran star to Earth. You must know that even human ships whose technology was blocked by sovereigns in the original timeline can run to the highest percentile. 15 for the speed of light. The Trisolaran fleet can only run at 10% of the speed of light, and this distortion of space will also have an impact on space after the Marvel world. Now, the situation instantly became unfavorable to the Dark Order. Fighting, whether they can beat it or not is another matter, just the loss is what they don't want to see. Even if it loses 500 or 600 of the 2,000 ships of the Dark Order fleet in this place where nothing shits like shit, it is very distressing. This is the wealth that Thanos has accumulated for who knows how long, but run and can't run. This is embarrassing. For a moment, The menacing people who were about to come to Earth to snatch the infinite gems were all staring at each other, a little dazed. This Trisolaran fleet that popped up out of nowhere is really outrageous. Such a remote star area, where did such a fleet come from? Definitely, there is also a calendar. It is the most common login battle in this world. After all, in the Marvel universe where super ability mutants are flying all over the sky, human-to-human duels are the most common. Yes, Xing's lessons learned from the past are still vivid in my memory. Can Fang's chain defense network be able to break through by a single soldier? The only ones present with this ability are Thanos, who holds infinite gems, and Ebony Maw, who has spells. Master. How about we pay the fine? Ebony Maw gritted his teeth and said a suggestion that almost kept Thanos from going berserk. Pay the fine? What are you kidding? With Thanos, king of the universe, who dares to say no to Where to Sail? How can it be possible to really pay a fine? Do you want to mess around in the future? However, Mishi subconsciously glanced at the Trisolaran spaceships surrounding his own fleet. I just feel a sense of suffocation that leaves him nowhere to vent. There was only one thought left in his mind. If only there were more gems, especially the space gem. He only has one power gem in his hand now. Although it can give him powerful power, it is useless. With so many fleets, even if he rushed out to destroy a few, the opponent's counterattack would cause heavy losses to his dark sect. After all, what power gems are best at is destruction, not protection. With the space gem in hand, he can even teleport his fleet directly to Earth. However, space gem is also one of my goals this time, so it's really effed up. I'm sorry, my master, I said the wrong thing. Seeing Thanos' eyes about to kill, Ebony Maw quickly apologized. Thanos looked at the surrounding situation in the projection indifferently, and finally said fiercely, "Ask them how much it will cost." Originally, Ebony Maw was ready to meet Thanos' wrath. After all, Thanos was arrogant. However, when this sentence came out, everyone was dumbfounded. Dude, is this really ready to pay the fine? At the same time, Qin Yun, the command center of the Men in Black, also received a message from the Dark Cultist fleet. How many pennies is the fine? Seeing such an inquiry, Qin Yun smiled. Ha ha ha, is this a soft serve? For Thanos' fleet, Qin Yun has no pressure at all. You know, this is his home field. Not to mention how strong the Trisolaran fleet is. Even if it is based on the worst result and has never fought, Qin Yun is not panicked at all. Here, it's the Marvel Universe, and Ancient One is their agent now. She still has the time gem on her chest. Even if the battle fails, Ancient One can reverse time and restore everything to its original state. Become an Ancient One at the level of the Lord of Latitudes, which is easy to do in the Marvel Universe. The rules of S.H.I.E.L.D universe don't reason with you. Tell him, we don't want star coins, but power gems. The other party subdued, but Qin Yun didn't intend to let Thanos go so easily. Where is there an easy door to leave? A power gem? Is it one of the infinite gems in this world? Does the other party have such a thing? 808. Hearing this, his expression changed. For the infinite gems of this world, the Men in Black Technology Department has already analyzed them. It can be said to be the strongest artifact in the world if the rules allow it. However, it is only the current universe, and the audience of this thing is still small, and it is useless to go to other worlds. They even analyzed the time gem with the permission of Ancient One, and it turned out that this thing is the concretization of rule. It is not something that the technology of the Men in Black can study now. This fleet master who suddenly appeared has one in his hand. This is Thanos' fleet. Thanos is a man who doesn't know how to describe it. He is very famous in the interstellar world. Ask for flowers 0. Some say he killed brutally, some say he's crazy, and some say he's a poor man. Qin Yun spread his hands and briefly introduced Thanos. He knew. 808. Thanos. Haven't heard of it. The news has been sent. Soon, the Dark Believers also received news from the Man in Black. Illegal intrusion into the airspace, illegal docking, and illegal storage of weapons within the airspace. Your fleet has violated the 7th, 38th, and 164th items of the Men in Black management regulations. The total amount of compensation required, 1 power gem. Seeing the Man in Black, the lion opened his mouth wide, asking for the only infinite gems in his hand. Thanos couldn't sit still for an instant. You're too daring. These dirty earthlings, bedbugs. He who has been cultivating himself for many years, couldn't help but started to swear. Isn't this robbery? Even if it is to go to the most prosperous star area in the universe, the interstellar CBD, to stop the ship for hundreds of years, it is impossible to say that you have to pay such an expensive price. Thanos has always been the one who robbed others by force. When did someone dare to rob him? Master, how do they know the Tao Yulai gemstone? Ebony Maw captures the key message. It's not long since Thanos got the power gem, and he hasn't even used it. Why would the Earthlings know? Thanos ignored Ebony Maw, came to the console in 3 steps and 2 steps, pressed the communication button and spoke. You know who I am? Being able to name the power gem means that the other party definitely knows his identity. Definitely, Thanos. Didn't your holy place number 1 blow up on the Earth before, and now this should be holy place number 2? The other party's answer made Thanos even more angry. Isn't this where the pot is not opened and which pot is lifted? You know who I am. and you dare to make such a request with me? What's the matter? Is there a problem? Isn't it normal for you to charge a fee when you ship to a house? The reply from the man in black was very naive, leaving Thanos speechless for a moment. Is that what I mean? I'm Thanos, overlord of the level universe. You really don't want to give me any face? I have a B status. At this moment, Thanos, who has always used violence to solve problems, unexpectedly had the feeling of a scholar meeting a soldier. Are you declaring war with me? Thanos is a dominant character after all, since choosing and choosing can no longer solve the problem. Let's do it. We have nothing to fear. Thanos, you may be taking yourself too seriously. Based on your meager ideas, it's luck to be able to develop to the present. You don't really think that you are invincible in this universe, do you? What gives you confidence? Power gem. Infinite gems is such a rotten street thing. I have 3 in my hand. There are currently 3 gems on the earth, except for the time gem of Ancient One, which can be called at any time. The other 2, Space Gem and Mind Gem, Qin Yun, can also be taken out at any time. To fight this, Qin Yun is really not afraid of strength. Chapter 110 Goddess of Death. Thanos is the lick dog, or the Goddess of Death. As soon as this remark came out, Thanos, who was originally furious and ready to fight, felt that a basin of cold water was poured on his head instantly. How do you know? Who the hell are you? Goddess of Death. This is one of Thanos' greatest secrets. Even the 4 generals of Obsidian, these 4 closest subordinates, never knew about Thanos and the Goddess of Death. Qin Yun actually said it so openly. What's there to hide? The fact that you are the Goddess of Death licking dogs has been spread for a long time. At least billions of people know about it. Didn't you always preach that the resources of the universe are limited, and that the harmony of the universe can only be guaranteed by eliminating half of the population? Actually, it's to make the Goddess of Death happy, right? It's so pitiful. Qin Yun's tone was full of sarcasm, but every word was deeply rooted in Thanos' heart. Thanos even took a step back subconsciously, his face full of shock, because what Qin Yun said is a secret that only he knows. Thanos' history is very complicated. Once, when he was still an ordinary person, he met a woman. He fell in love with that woman and was willing to give everything for her. That woman is the incarnation of 023, the Goddess of Death. The goal of the Goddess of Death is to personally cultivate a murderer and enjoy the process. As one of the gods who control Marvel's basic law, the Goddess of Death controls death rules, which is almost at the same level as the eternity that Ancient One wanted to rely on before, and is also the controller of the law of creation. The soul of everyone who dies in the Marvel universe goes to the Goddess of Death. So, she loves killing very much. Often a crazy killing maniac is bred. Thanos is undoubtedly in love with the wrong person. From the beginning of killing people in the war to the end when he wanted to destroy half of the creatures in the universe, he was actually just trying to please the Goddess of Death and win her heart. It has to be said that it is pure dog-licking behavior. However, this matter, in fact, no one knows. Few people even know that he wants to wipe out half the population of the universe. Now, these things have been easily revealed by Qin Yun. For a moment, Thanos noticed that the surrounding subordinates looked at him strangely. Ebony Maw was even more stunned, because, judging by Thanos' reaction, it seems to be true. For a long time, Thanos preached that everything he did, his killing, was actually for this universe, in order to make life more prosperous. Therefore, proper population control is a great mission. They are all fighting for this great mission with Thanos. However, tell me now, Thanos did all this just to bring about bloodshed and made the Goddess of Death happy? For those of them who believe in the ideal of Thanos, this is simply an impact that destroys the 3 views. No. Everything I do is for this world. Life will only multiply without restraint and invade all natural resources. Only by controlling the number of lives can the living people live better. Seeing the eyes of his subordinates, Thanos knew that they might have doubted him now. He must stabilize the inside, which is absolutely impossible to admit. However, for Thanos, Qin Yun knows too much about the world outside the wall. I said, "Purple potato monster, why are you still kidding yourself? Destroy half of the population. It's quite high-end, and it makes sense. Haven't you studied mathematics? How long does it take to go from 10 to 1? But do you understand the law of life growth from 100 million to 200 million? Even if you wipe out half of the population of the entire universe, you will be able to get back on it soon. Reproduction is one of the most basic instincts of life, except for a life that is more laborious and has a long cycle of individual reproduction. Most life reproduces very quickly. Even if it is reduced by half, it will only take 1 or 2 generations to recover to the initial number. So, Thanos' reason is totally untenable. I suspect that you are foolish for licking a dog. Do you think that even if you kill half of the people, the Goddess of Death will favor you? Thinking too much. She's probably busy dating Deadpool by now, isn't she? Deadpool is the man who is truly favored by the Goddess of Death. But it's not in this world, but in another Marvel parallel world. According to the timeline, Deadpool should have gotten the attention of the Goddess of Death by this time. Deadpool has encountered brutal scientific experiments. These lessons will keep him in a state of near death. According to the law of the Marvel Universe, after death, it will be reported to the goddess of death. But Deadpool's original vitality was very strong, which caused him to go to the goddess soul pool every time he was about to die, and then returned after a while. After going back and forth dozens of times, the goddess of death also became interested in Deadpool. Plus Deadpool was an interesting guy. So, they fell in love. That's right, the goddess of death is in free love with an earthling. And it's that sweet relationship. Completely different from Thanos. In the eyes of the goddess of death, Thanos is just a toy. What Deadpool got was the love that Thanos never dreamed of. They might be sweet right now, let alone half the population. Even if you destroy this universe and kill everyone, she won't even look at you. Qin Yun's words are like a chainsaw, almost sawing Thanos' heart open. Thanos' emotional management was momentarily out of control. No. Impossible. As soon as these words came out, Ebony Maw lowered his head. This means that Thanos has acknowledged Qin Yun's words. The Emperor they have been following all this time, their master, everything they do is not for ideals, not for this world, but to be a dog lick. Although they don't know what the word licking the dog actually means, they still have similar adjectives in their minds. So, stop, licking the dog will not be a good death. Just right, the power gem will be handed over to me as a fine. Find a class in the future. No, find a place to retire. You can be considered a rich man, and it's good to be a retired emperor. Qin Yun is a good person, so he gave Thanos a very intimate opinion. But this intimacy, Thanos can't appreciate it at all. Earthlings, you managed to piss me off. Thanos gritted his teeth and raised his long knife. I will cut off your head with my own hands. For Qin Yun on the communicator, he already wanted to kill him immediately. Why? Hurry up. I'm doing this for your own good. Think about it for yourself. How long has it been since death had seen you? You have done so many things. Has she ever looked for you? No, she doesn't have you in her heart at all. Feelings can't be forced. If you don't love, you don't love. No matter how much you give, she won't love you. At this moment, Qin Yun seemed to be an intimate brother, constantly comforting Thanos. It has to be said that even if Thanos is furious now, what Qin Yun said is the truth. Because he has indeed not seen the goddess of death for a long time. Even, there is no contact between them. He killed countless people, in fact, because he wanted to see the goddess of death. Even after he is already prepared to wipe out half of the world's population, he will find a place to die quietly. Wait until the moment when the goddess of death summons him. Okay, I won't say too much, that's all I can say as a brother. After all, this is a matter of your relationship. However, you still have to pay the fines that should be paid. After the power gem is taken out, I will pretend that you have never been here. If I'm in a good mood, maybe I can't let you miss seeing her. Originally, Thanos was ready to fight, even if the entire Dark Order was lost here. He had to let it out. But when he heard Qin Yun say that he could meet death, Thanos stopped his hands for an instant. Can you get in touch with her? Meeting the goddess of death. In fact, it is easy and simple to say, but it is also difficult to say. There is a chance when you die. But even if you die, the goddess doesn't want to see you, and still can't see you. Otherwise, Thanos would have committed suicide and reported it to death. One of my agents has a good relationship with Eternity. Later, I will ask the relationship to help you let Eternity speak to death. It shouldn't be a big problem. Ancient One is someone whom Eternity admires very much. Strictly speaking, they are friends. Eternal, one of the 6 creator gods of Marvel, has few friends. Therefore, he is also very good to Ancient One, otherwise he would not have given infinite gems to Ancient One. After Ancient One became the Master of Dimensions this time, he actually has a plan to play 3.2 Eternity. That is, these 2 days. Even Qin Yun attaches great importance to this matter. After all, this may be their first contact with the power of creation. Qin Yun even prepared a gift for Eternal. If Qin Yun can also make friends with Eternity, it is not impossible to ask him to help bring a message to the goddess of death. But it doesn't come without a price. After all, this is the way of the world. Thanos can't just let him do things with his hands. Hearing that Qin Yun was actually connected with Eternity, Thanos was instantly refreshed. I didn't think Qin Yun was lying. After all, Qin Yun knew too much. He didn't care about being aggressive, but asked eagerly, the price? I'll exchange the power gem for this price. At this moment, Thanos, as a licking dog, completely gave up everything. Even the power gem can't attract him anymore. What did he do so many things for? Isn't it just to please the goddess, to meet her? What? The gem of power is a fine for violating the parking of your fleet. If this is the case you need to pay more. Qin Yun is not ambiguous at all. We are sensible and professional people. A fine is a fine. Doing things is doing things. Don't confuse them with one another. Chapter 111 S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Mutiny. When Thanos was still having a headache about Qin Yun's plan to increase money, the Earth has already exploded. Thousands of warships parked outside the Earth, almost completely blocking the sunlight in the southern hemisphere. Can it not be fried? S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick is going crazy. These are spaceships that came out of nowhere. How come there are so many of them? I don't know either. It was very sudden, and it appeared in a whoosh. Could it be that the Icarus are making a comeback? These boats look much more high-end than the Icarus. No one knows why there are so many spaceships staring at the Earth. Nick even began to keep checking all the power available in his hand. What aircraft carrier, fighter jet, army, Avengers. However, after turning over and over, Nick found they have nothing. None of them can cope with the current situation. Where do the trillions of military expenditures of our beautiful country go? The Secretary of the Navy just divorced his 8th wife 3 days ago, and married his 9th wife yesterday. She is a young model and very moist. Nick, however, in fact, this is not to blame those people, because, in the face of this level of war, the current Earth technology is useless no matter what it does. Where are the Avengers? Are they all here? It's basically here, and Thor is here too, It's Tony. He said he couldn't come because of something. Hearing this, Nick instantly exploded. What the hell, can't you come if something happens? There are thousands of warships hanging on this head, and the fire is imminent. What could be more important than this? Thinking of this, Nick picked up the phone directly and called Tony himself. After the call was connected, Nick didn't care about anything, and started the crazy spray mode. Tony, the famous Iron Man. What's wrong with you? Usually you have a little temper and I won't say anything. What time is it now? At the time of the survival of the Earth 21, can you be a little bit responsible? Tony is usually very disobedient to discipline, but after all, Tony's status is different, so he tolerated it. At this time, Nick couldn't bear to come here. I told you not to call me. Are you annoying? I just worked overtime for half a month. Can you let me sleep for a while? You capitalists know how to order FK. Is it easy for me to get a job? I'm already on vacation. Tony didn't seem to have woken up yet, and started talking in a daze and unceremoniously. Holiday work? Hearing Tony calling himself a capitalist and talking about part-time jobs, Nick was a little dazed. To be reasonable, if you want to say rich, if you want to say capitalists, Tony is much richer than him. How could he say such a thing? Tony, I won't talk to you about this. The situation is critical now. No matter what misunderstandings we had before, the most important thing right now is to gather all human strength to deal with the crisis. We S.H.I.E.L.D are already the last hope of Earth. Tony, please. I was dragged by my boss to work overtime overnight for half a month. I only slept for 2 hours a day. I just wanted to sleep. What is the survival of human beings, the last hope? Don't worry, the sky is falling and someone is on top on. After Tony finished speaking, he hung up the phone without any hesitation, and even turned off the communicator directly. This put Nick in a murderous mood. But Nick also found something wrong. Tony was forced to work overtime by his boss for half a month. Boss? Isn't Tony his own boss? Strictly speaking, he is also his half-boss, right? What's the meaning? Nick keenly grasped the key point in Tony's language, and quickly called an agent. What has Tony been doing lately? Tony Stark. His recent movements are quite mysterious. He doesn't seem to be out of the house, and our agents haven't found any trace of him. When Nick heard this situation, time was running out, and he didn't have time to think about it, so he quickly called Pepper. Compared with Tony's bad personality, Potts is considered reasonable. Miss Potts, what is Tony doing these days? The Earth is in crisis and we need him to save the world with us, but his attitude. I hope you can help me persuade him. However, I thought that Potts would know the current crisis, stand up and get Tony up to work. Unexpectedly, Potts' answer surprised Nick. I'm sorry, Director Nick, Tony is really a bit ruthless in working overtime recently. He probably doesn't have the energy to do other things. So there's nothing I can do. The exhaustion on Tony's body was palpable. Compared with any comfort in the world, Potts wanted Tony to sleep peacefully even at this time. Sometimes love is that simple. Nick couldn't help it anymore. Miss Potts, can you tell me where Tony has spent his energy? Exclamation mark. The world is going to be destroyed. How can he sleep? Potts hesitated for a while, and finally said, I don't know the details, but what I can tell you is that Tony has found a job and is working. His boss is nasty and hasn't given him a break since he started working. There was a bit of resentment in Potts' tone, as if he was complaining that Tony hadn't paid the rations for a long time. Nick, Tony, did you really run to work? He is the owner of Stark Industries, one of the richest men in the world. How could anyone get Tony to work? Nick, okay. Reluctantly hung up the phone. Nick knew that there were still many things to deal with, and he didn't have time to spend all of it on Tony. Although still baffled, just after hanging up the phone, an agent rushed in excitedly. Director, the latest discovery. As he spoke, he transferred a picture to the monitor in front of Nick. Seeing something in the picture, Nick rubbed his eyes in disbelief. WTFK? In the picture, there is a clear picture of the spacecraft captured by a group of astronomical cameras. I saw that among these spaceships, 10 small parts are actually written with characters from the Earth. Asia's First Fleet, Second American Fleet, European First Fleet. This is the number of the few fleets of the three-body United Government. This F-King, is the Earth's spaceship? Yes, according to our analysis. These spaceships are likely to be two groups. Looking at their positions, it looks like one fleet has surrounded the other. There is no movement. Maybe they are negotiating? If it's a spaceship from Earth, then maybe it's not a big problem. Not a big ghost. If these are the fleets of the Earth, where did they come from? We, S.H.I.E.L.D, as the top agent organization on Earth, have so many things, yet have no information at all. I learned that the Earth characters are engraved on the fleet. Countries around the world have also exploded. High-level executives from various countries connected via video conference. At the meeting, everyone's face was ugly. You are secretly developing a space army, hiding so deep. Are you planning to rule the Earth? What nonsense. Who developed a space army? How do you explain the words written on it? Asia's first fleet. Then there's something about the American fleet. Who knows if it's the smoke bomb you released? Yes, there is also the European fleet. We in Asia are not to blame for this. It's really not you? Really not. After multiple checks, the high-level executives found that these fleets were indeed not theirs. But who could it be? This is a spaceship. It might not be possible to assemble the strength of a single country. What did S.H.I.E.L.D say? Ask. While the executives are arguing, S.H.I.E.L.D people from Avengers also arrived one after another. Nick looked at these superheroes solemnly. I don't know how these little Superman can defend against spaceships no matter how they employ humans. But now Nick can only pin his hopes on the super ability. Everyone, we are now about to face the greatest crisis in human history, even far surpassing the last New York battle. We need to do everything in our power to save this dying world. Seeing Nick's solemn appearance, Thor's expression was a bit strange. Natasha Romanoff and Banner even looked at each other, and both could see the unique taste in each other's eyes. Only Captain America and Hawkeye were in high spirits, as if they were going to fight to save mankind. Well, I won't participate in this matter. At this moment, Thor silently raised the hammer. When Captain America heard this, he became anxious immediately. Thor, what do you mean? Are you going to quit at this time? Aren't you a god? Didn't you once preach that the Earth was once a subsidiary of S.H.I.E.L.D? Why, you are afraid when you meet a powerful enemy. Captain America clenched his fists and looked at the sky full of fleet shadows. We will not lose. As long as human beings unite as one, as long as each of us contributes our strength, we can defeat even powerful enemies. Believe in yourself, you can face everything. Didn't we resist when the Icarus invaded? Victory belongs to us. Captain America started pouring chicken broth. He thought that Thor was afraid of seeing so many fleets. Quickly began to play the characteristics of his Avengers Alliance confidant Big Brother and Chicken Soup Boy. Thor frowned. Scared. Asgardians are never afraid. Then what is there to say? Why not participate? Are you not our friend? Speaking of this, Thor found a sofa and sat down, then put the hammer on the table casually, and said, no, the main thing should not be our responsibility. We still don't overstep our authority. Definitely, if they really fight, I will also go to Asgard to mobilize troops to support. Thor clearly remembered how awkward the scene was when Qin Yun took over everything. Moreover, Thor knows much more information than Earth. The first time he saw the Dark Order, he knew whose fleet it was. Thanos. This is the 190 enemies that even Asgard must go all out to treat with caution. Even without Odin's hand, Asgard's army has to bow its head in the face of the Dark Order. Also as a power at the Overlord level, Thanos' Legion's combat effectiveness is recognized by the universe. Since there is a man in black to stand up, as long as nothing happens, Thor feels that he should not participate. Moreover, he can see that the current situation is beneficial to the man in black. After all, the Dark Order of the fleet in the sky is obviously being suppressed. The side surrounded by. At this moment, Thor only felt that the man in black was more powerful than he imagined. And there were so many spaceships. Asgard doesn't have such background. Nick, what are you talking about? What is Ultravirus? Aren't we, S.H.I.E.L.D, responsible for all the things that threaten humans in this world? The Avengers Alliance was established for this. Just when Nick was about to say something, Natasha Romanoff nodded in agreement. That's right. Fury, I think S.H.I.E.L.D should not participate in this matter. This is not something that S.H.I.E.L.D can participate in. Let's just wait and see. Hearing Natasha Romanoff say the same, Fury cracked on the spot. Natasha Romanoff, you are our best agent. How can you? However, at this time, Banner also interjected. Yes, Chief. Shall we watch? All of a sudden, Nick found out that most of the hero team, Avengers, which he personally formed, began to persuade himself to be a narrator at such a critical time. Exclamation mark. Isn't this meowing hell? Among them, there is even Natasha Romanoff, his most trusted agent. Captain America and Hawkeye also didn't expect the plot to change so quickly, and their former companions could stand by in this situation. Natasha Romanoff, why are you also? Hawkeye looked at them with complicated expressions, only to feel that these people had suddenly changed, and they no longer knew each other. In the end, what happened? Why do you think so? You guys always say someone will handle who can handle something like this. Captain America couldn't hold back either. Began to question it. Thor, Natasha Romanoff, and Banner all looked at each other. Don't know how to explain it. I think, Director, there are some things that you don't know as well. Nick, it's good that I don't know what it means. I'm S.H.I.E.L.D. Director. Shouldn't I be the one to say this? Are you a traitor? Chapter 112 Black Eat Black, Indiscriminate Attack. Chapter 112 Black Eater Black, Indiscriminate Attack. Then. That's it. If you don't want to participate, then I won't force you. Nick can see from the reactions of Thor, Natasha Romanoff and several people that these people are likely to have defected. Since they can't count on these people, if they continue to stay, not only will it not be helpful, but they may even turn against each other. Suspicious by nature, he is ready to save himself. Director, are you just allowing those fleets to invade Earth? Captain America, who was about to flex his muscles, was in a hurry. Even if they all give up, the Earth will really be doomed. Didn't they say that someone will deal with it? Nick pretended not to care and waved his hand, gesturing everyone to leave. Thor, Natasha and Banner looked at each other. The three shrugged, turned and left without thinking much. Having seen the power of the man in black, the three of them still have confidence in Qin Yun. Now that Qin Yun took the initiative, why do they need to make trouble? But what the three of them didn't know was that as soon as they left, Nick took out his pager and called Captain Marvel Carol. Now the only one who can convince Nick that he can stop the fleet in the universe is Captain Marvel Carol. Carol, the Earth is dying, and everyone is rebelling. Two powerful fleets have appeared on Earth. We are powerless to resist, and the people under me. After picking up Carol's call, Nick lost his calmness just now, and his voice changed. It's not that Nick isn't calm, but that the fleet that suddenly appeared in the universe is too big. Coupled with his suspicion of Thor and the others, he can't keep calm. Undoubtedly, at this time, the only person Nick could think of was Carol. Captain Marvel, as the woman who shared hardships with her many years ago and gained great power, she went to the universe to maintain justice. She is also the most powerful person Nick has ever known in this world. Damn. The dark sect has appeared on Earth? How could this be? I didn't get any news. Knowing the crisis facing the Earth and the betrayal of people like Thor, Carol was very angry. You know, for so many years, Carol has been away from the Earth, maintaining the so-called justice. She has always believed in one thing, that is, with great power comes great responsibility. Therefore, after gaining great power, Carol found that her power was useless on Earth. Moreover, the Earth is so remote, and there is Asgard's protection. She is very relieved to go to the universe and become a cosmic policeman. I haven't paid much attention to the Earth for so many years. However, now he is told that the dark sect has gone to the Earth. She must have heard of the reputation of Thanos. However, Thanos appeared on the Earth, which she never expected, and the entire dark sect was dispatched collectively. With the addition of a Trisolaran fleet that is about the same size as the Dark Order, as her hometown, has she encountered such a crisis? Nick found her, and Carol must not stand idly by and set off to return to Earth immediately. Just as Carol was on his way back to Earth, the negotiations between Qin Yun and Thanos came to an end. Do you know where the soul gem is? Thanos looked at Qin Yun in shock. His whole body was numb. In order to collect all the gems, Thanos spent countless manpower and energy. But there is no news about Soul Gem. As for Qin Yun, he not only knew where the Soul Gem was, but also gave him how to get the gem. Even Thanos, who claims to be the overlord of the starry sky, was deeply shocked. Qin Yun appeared out of nowhere, seems to know everything. You know, the Soul Gem is the most powerful of the 6 infinite gems, and also the most mysterious. It has almost never appeared, and only exists in legends. Yes, as long as you follow my method, you can get the Soul Gem. As a price, Soul Gem can let me help you contact the goddess of death. For Thanos' shock, Qin Yun was not surprised at all. Moreover, the conditions put forward by Qin Yun are not only for Soul Gem. One of the purposes is to restrain Thanos. Don't worry, no matter how much I pay, I will definitely get the Soul Gem and give it to you. Thanos, who woke up from the shock, said frantically. Everything he did before was to win the favor of the goddess of death. But after being exposed by Qin Yun, Thanos realized that everything he did was self-righteous. So he got angry at the last moment, and wanted to launch an attack on the Trisolaran fleet desperately to regain his dignity. But Qin Yun's last words rekindled hope in his originally desperate heart. In order to meet the goddess of death, he is willing to give up even the power gem, let alone find the soul gem, then sign a contract. While Thanos was still immersed in the frenzy, Qin Yun took out the book of contract. Power gem is used as a parking fee, and soul gem is used as an intermediary fee to bring messages to the goddess of death. Thanos did not question the content of the contract, but was very puzzled about the signing. At my level, all I have to do is say okay. Why sign up? Act like I have no credit. But doubts are doubts. Thanos is finally ready to sign, as long as he can see the goddess of death. No matter what he is asked to do, Thanos will agree without hesitation. Even if Qin Yun said he was a dog licker, it wouldn't change Thanos' mind. This is his obsession, and it is his motivation to live. He only wanted to find Thanos of the soul gem as soon as possible, but he didn't think too much about why Qin Yun had to sign a useless contract and landed on Earth alone. When seeing Qin Yun, Thanos' heart was somewhat complicated. He, who is invincible in the universe, never thought that he would be beaten to death by Qin Yun. Qin Yun didn't react too much, knowing Thanos' weakness. He wasn't worried at all that Thanos would do impulsive things. Thanos, as a veteran dog licker, has long since lost himself. He made it a condition to meet the goddess of death, and Thanos had no choice but to submit. So, How good is it to have done this earlier? Soul Gem, wait until you get it. Pay the fine first. Qin Yun said casually. You better not lie to me. In order to meet the goddess of death, Thanos can do everything, but he is still somewhat uneasy about Qin Yun. After all, he had no contact with Qin Yun before, and he was unheard of about the sudden appearance of the Men in Black organization. It's not that he doesn't believe that Qin Yun can contact the goddess of death, but that he is worried that Qin Yun will not do anything after taking things. That's why we signed this contract. This is called the Book of Contracts. Its function is very simple. Any contract is protected by the universe, and no one can violate it. You and I are the same. As he spoke, Qin Yun held up the contract book in his hand and shook it. Thanos didn't trust himself, but Qin Yun could understand. He didn't mean to lie to Thanos, but he just agreed to help Thanos contact the goddess of death. As for whether the goddess of death can see Thanos, it has nothing to do with him. After hearing Qin Yun finish talking about the function of the Book of Contract, Ms. Yui felt relieved a lot. I didn't suspect anything else, because in fact, in this world, there are similar artifacts. After all, it is the creation of the universe. The contract rule is also something that many gods are using. It's just that the Book of Contract has a wider reach and can even be used in the entire great world. Come to think of it, Thanos has no hesitation. A red gemstone appeared in his hand, exuding terrifying power fluctuations, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Is this the power gem? One of the 6 gems? Even Qin Yun became a little excited in his heart. He knew more about power gems than everyone present. Although this thing is useless in other worlds, in this universe, as long as all 6 are collected, the power level of the Man in Black will rise by more than a few levels in an instant. As the base camp of the universe, having the rule gems of the current universe is undoubtedly a very useful prop. Even if you sell it to the system, you can recover a lot of money. You will never lose money. Now that he has this power gem, it can be said that he has 4 of them. As long as he can get the soul gem, Qin Yun has absolute confidence to collect all 6 gems. Just when Qin Yun was about to get the power gem, a stream of light suddenly flashed by. Before everyone had time to react, the streamer turned into a figure and forcibly inserted between Qin Yun and Thanos. The owner of this ray of light is none other than Captain Marvel Carol, who has just returned from the universe with all his strength. Coincidentally, she happens to be in a nearby star area, and maintaining justice will arrive at this critical time. With a big wave of Carol's hand, the power gem held by Thanos was instantly taken away. Gem stolen? Cooked duck flying? Thanos' face froze. As the overlord of the starry sky, he was already ashamed enough to give in to Qin Yun. The power gem in his hand was actually stolen? Really think that Thanos is a soft persimmon that anyone can knead? It is conceivable how angry Thanos is at the moment. Not to mention Qin Yun, who hunted geese all day but was pecked by geese. Damn it. Where did the ghost come from? Dare to snatch my stuff? Qin Yun also didn't care about his image, pointing at Carol high in the sky, and started the crazy spray mode. He doesn't care who the visitor is, as long as he steals his things. He is his enemy. Qin Yun has never shown mercy to his enemies. Carol, who was high in the sky, looked down at Qin Yun and Thanos with a cold expression. Especially hearing Qin Yun's obscene words gave her the urge to go berserk. As a member of mankind, not only did he fail to protect mankind when the Earth was in crisis, but even colluded with the dark sect. Damn, all be damned. What Nick said is indeed true. Not only have there been traitors among human beings, but they have never repented. Collude with the dark sect, disregarding the life and death of human beings. A selfish villain like you is not worthy of being a human being. As soon as Carol opened his mouth, he labeled himself as the savior of mankind, stood on the commanding heights of justice, and scolded Qin Yun for his evil. But Carol's upright look was extremely disgusting in Qin Yun's eyes. She keeps talking about justice, but she is stealing. Who will show her face with teeth and claws? Didn't he mobilize the Men in Black to stop Thanos' fleet in the first place? Because S.H.I.E.L.D and Carol, a self-righteous stupid woman, can hold it? Proper success is more than failure. I can't help you ass, and it will only hinder you. Not even a pig. Unashamedly representing justice? Watch your sister. But before Qin Yun could get angry, a small helicopter approached, and Nick's voice was heard from the loudspeaker on the plane. Here is the Earth, all affairs of S.H.I.E.L.D. responsible. No matter who you are, if you want to attack the Earth, you must first ask me if S.H.I.E.L.D. agrees. Nick, whose memory has been erased, doesn't know much about the Man in Black's ability. In addition, with Wonder Woman Carol personally sitting in charge, even if S.H.I.E.L.D.'s hero group is reversed, he is still full of confidence at the moment. Are you guys planning to cheat? How? Thanos asked angrily with a black face. Whether it's Carol or S.H.I.E.L.D., they're just ants in Thanos' eyes. If Qin Yun hadn't stepped in and stopped the Dark Order's fleet, the Earth would have been penetrated long ago. The ants not only snatched the gem of power he used to pay for it, but also threatened him with brazen words. Is he Thanos? Can't lift the gun? Or is Carol and Nick adrift? Qin Yun gritted his teeth for a while. At this moment he wished to blow Carol and Nick's heads off. He is helping the Earth completely eliminate the hidden danger of the dark sect. Seeing that it was about to succeed, Two idiots in Carol actually ran out to disrupt the situation. Especially Carol and Nick looked so righteous, as if without them, the Earth would soon be blown up. But Carol didn't understand his situation at all, and continued to say righteously, "No matter what your purpose is, what you want to do, exit the Earth immediately. As long as I'm here, I will never let your evil powers step into the Earth." Carol, who easily got the power gem, is very confident in his own strength. Even in the face of thousands of warships, Carol did not hesitate at all. What Carol doesn't know is that her rhetoric completely angered Thanos. What a deception! With his status as the overlord of the starry sky, when has he been so bullied? Dark order, indiscriminate attack. Thoroughly enraged, Thanos couldn't care less about anything else at the moment. "If you dare to bully him, you will have to pay for it." Following Thanos' order, the fleet staying in the universe locked on Carol and Nick in unison. All of a sudden, sirens sounded urgently all over the world. Class, all humans panicked. Chapter 113 Time Management Bureau, the revised plot. Captain Marvel. Carol, Qin Yun definitely recognized this woman. But in Qin Yun's memory, the existence of this thing is extremely low. How low is it? In the scope of the Earth, most of the things have almost no involvement of Carol, and it is only when everyone is fighting for their lives that they come out to play tricks. It's still the kind that leaves after playing tricks. Qin Yun never expected that Carol would appear at this time. Or is he meowing and starting to cause trouble for himself? Isn't this nonsense? Most importantly, why did she appear by such a coincidence? You know, now there are two fleets docked outside the Earth, and there are even sovereigns, so Carol can so grandiosely bypass all the battleships and appear in front of him and take away the gems? At the moment, Qin Yun's face was very dark, even darker than that one-eyed marinated egg. When Qin Yun was still cursing her mother silently in her heart. Thanos has already started to fight back. After being the boss for so many years, when did someone ride on his neck and shit? Immediately, he rushed forward and wrestled with Captain Marvel. Behind Thanos, Ebony Maw also stared at the others. However, what is surprising is that Carol's fighting power is far beyond their imagination. Thanos, who is almost omnipotent in the universe, was perfectly suppressed by Carol a few seconds after rushing out. Carol exuded a strange light, and Thanos' long knife slashed at her body, but there was a crisp metallic sound, but it didn't hurt Carol at all. Thanos was a little anxious, and said while typing, "Ebony Maw, why don't you shoot? Master ... but we still fire." At the moment, Thanos has been overwhelmed with anger. No matter what, destroy the Earth first. "Thanos, I'm Carol, you should have heard my name. With me around, it's impossible to make you happy." Carol is still full of confidence. Thanos is still barely parrying. His force stage is far inferior to Carol's. Maybe before the power gem was snatched away, there was still a chance to confront Carol head-on, but now he can only be beaten. However, as a titan with the blood of the eternal race, Thanos lacks strength, but his defense is very terrifying. Even under Carol's high-frequency attacks, he didn't suffer any injuries. After all, as a villain, the ability to be beaten is the most prominent feature of each villain. Carol ... I've heard of your name. You have caused a lot of trouble to my legion. Thanos suffered a loss in his hand, but his mouth didn't stop at all. You like being a superhero? Like saving? It's up to you to see how you can save everything under the salvo of my men. While talking, everyone found that the sky seemed to become brighter. Carol also raised his head subconsciously, and above his head, countless light spots began to flicker. This was the first salvo fired by the Black Order's fleet. Carol's expression changed. How dare you? She always thought that Thanos was just talking about it. After all, wasn't Thanos himself on Earth? Isn't firing like this a suicide? For a moment, Carol became anxious. Qin Yun was speechless, looking at Carol like I'm retarded. The impression of Captain Marvel has almost hit rock bottom. What an idiot. He and Thanos intrigued and took advantage of the information gap outside the wall, which led to the result of this negotiation, and the situation was very good. There are also many big villains who work for nothing. This silly Rhodia is lucky. He messed up everything when he appeared on the stage. At the moment, Marinated Egg was also dumbfounded. He never expected that things would develop like this. He thought that once Carol returned, everything would be back under the control of S.H.I.E.L.D, but he never expected that Thanos would play a game of death. In space, countless attacks began to slant down the volley of 2,000 Dark Church fleets, including some mighty huge amounts of main guns. If this is hit, the Earth will have to shed a layer of skin without being exploded. Just when everyone became anxious and looked desperate. However, they saw that those attacks were just about to leave the range of the fleet, but were intercepted by a thin film in the void. As the attack concentration film rippled, an incomparably huge amounts of egg-shaped transparent cover gradually revealed its form. What's the situation? Thanos was still soloing with Carol, glanced casually, and noticed something was wrong. I froze for a moment. Shield. The circular shield stretching tens of thousands of kilometers in between completely covered Thanos' fleet, and all attacks inside were blocked. Qin Yun watched all this very calmly. The application of the S.H.I.E.L.D. technology by Han people is not something people in the Marvel world can understand. Thanks to the level planet S.H.I.E.L.D. project of the Wandering Earth Project Planet Engine, Qin Yun and the others also have a new idea and application for the node-based giant S.H.I.E.L.D. Every JC-001 and those fleets didn't come for nothing. The reason why they formed an encirclement circle to surround the Dark Believers was also for this giant S.H.I.E.L.D. Every spaceship, every mecha has a diffused S.H.I.E.L.D. excitation device inside. When thousands of diffusion-type excitation devices are running at the same time, 10 extremely huge amounts of S.H.I.E.L.D. bodies can also be formed. To put it simply, in fact, when the encirclement circle was first formed, the fleet of the Dark Order had no way to advance or retreat. This S.H.I.E.L.D. also has a very earthy name, called eggshell. It can wrap the target in the eggshell and bind it like an egg. Have you had enough trouble? Qin Yun spoke slowly, with a very indifferent tone. Carol and Thanos also distanced themselves, then looked at Qin Yun, and asked in surprise, "Who the hell are you?" She found out that Qin Yun might not be with Thanos and is still protecting the Earth. After all, seeing is believing, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. that blocks all of Thanos' attacks was clearly set up against the Dark Order. In other words, those unknown battleships around the Black Order belong to Qin Yun. However, why Qin Yun has so many spaceships is a major force in the universe. He is obviously a person from the Earth. Carol can't understand the B-level of the Earth. He must not be so rich. So, what is Qin Yun's real identity? This is too illogical. Facing Carol's questioning, Qin Yun couldn't hold back. He said in a bad tone, "Where did you come from, you idiot? As a hero, you don't have a brain at all? There are so many battleships in the sky. If I were you, I would definitely deal with the battleships first. What are you doing on the Earth? Presence? How did you suddenly appear on Earth? At this point in time, you should be in Andromeda, right?" According to Qin Yun's memory, it was not Carol's turn to play now. He will return to Earth in at least a few years. Carol in this CBBT period should be chivalrous in Andromeda. Even if they get the news that Thanos is coming to Earth, it will take at least half a month to come back. How so fast? Who are you calling an idiot? Hearing Qin Yun scolding people directly, Carol was a little reluctant. How can someone talk to others like this? Is it polite? But Qin Yun actually made a point, but she didn't do it well. Moreover, thinking of Qin Yun's act of saving the Earth just now, Carol still replied, "I got the news 2 months ago." According to Carol, 2 months ago, a piece of news came out of nowhere. It is said that the Power Stone appeared in a galaxy near here. There are wicked people who seek to steal the gems and cause destruction. So, she rushed to the vicinity very early and began to explore. She didn't know that it was very likely to be related to the Dark Sect until the Marinated Egg sent her a distress message. Moreover, the first time she came here, she chose to grab the power gem first. Otherwise, according to her acting style, she will definitely find a way to solve the most threatening fleet group first. What happened just now will not happen. It can only be said that she made a mistake in her judgment. If Qin Yun's fleet had not prepared eggshell shields long ago, the Earth would already be in flames. Hearing Carol's words, both Thanos and Qin Yun were stunned. Because 2 months ago, Thanos hadn't left for Earth yet, didn't even have the idea of coming near this Earth. So long ago, someone told Carol that the power gem would appear on Earth? Exclamation mark. Isn't this nonsense? You must know that the power gem has been taken over by Thanos for a long time. Thanos couldn't imagine that his movements 2 months later would be predicted by others. Qin Yun thought of something else. Because, 2 months ago, coincidentally, it was the time when I traveled through time. At that time, many things did not happen, and Qin Yun did not expect these things to happen today. Carol doesn't care about anything, and can appear on the Earth immediately. There are signs of it 2 months ago. This thing is very wrong. Who gave you the information? Qin Yun asked seriously. My informant. He's dead. Hearing that the informant who gave Carol the information was dead, Qin Yun's frown deepened. This is also a coincidence, right? Just 2 months ago, Carol received the message when he traveled through time, almost predicting what is going on now. According to the original timeline, it was impossible for Carol to appear on Earth, but now he is standing here. Moreover, Thanos is also, in the original timeline, he will never come to the Earth at this time. 2 people who should not have appeared on the Earth in the first place appeared on the Earth. Why? And the key to this seems to be the Power Stone. Thanos has the Power Gem, and Carol is trying to prevent someone from getting the Power Gem. Who is this person? The villain in her mouth can't be herself, right? Qin Yun's thoughts raced. Soon, an incredible and bold idea popped up in my mind. Because, originally, the ownership of the Power Gem was not him. That is to say, someone doesn't want me to get Power Gems, or don't want all infinite gems to fall into the hands of people other than the original owner? It's complicated, but in simple terms, it is. In the end, every gemstone has an ownership in the original timeline. But this affiliation is definitely not Qin Yun. The appearance of Qin Yun, coupled with his behavior of wanting the phone gem, may have offended something. Time Administration. A name deep in my memory popped up. This is one of the most mysterious organizations in the Marvel multi-universe. They define the uniqueness of the timeline and write the ending of each multi-universe, then firmly implement the principle of indestructibility of the timeline to maintain the operation of the timeline. If there is a source for all these changes, Qin Yun guessed that there is a high probability that only the Time Management Bureau can do it all. Moreover, the time card is too coincidental. It just so happened that he had just crossed over, and Carol was almost ready to come to Earth. Could it be that I'm being targeted by the Time Administration? Qin Yun is a little speechless. This is wrong. The Men in Black are an organization independent of the original law and time. Even people in the big universe cannot see the future of the Men in Black. How can a Time Administration of the Marvel Universe discover their existence? Perhaps, the Time Management Bureau didn't discover the existence of the Heian people at all. It just noticed the changes in the timeline and some unexpected results, so it made this arrangement. Cut. Qin Yun is still very confident in the system. Perhaps, the Time Administration didn't find the Man in Black at all. So, am I actually being modified for the plot? Because of my appearance, the plot of this world has changed, so the Time Administration did all this? Qin Yun felt a little bad, because the Time Management Bureau was not a simple place. He is very troublesome. Very troublesome. Chapter 114 Infinite Gems Packed in Sacks? Exclamation mark. The fact is also the same as Qin Yun guessed. When all kinds of big things happen on Earth, in a certain mysterious space, the agents of the Time Management Bureau are also sitting around and having a meeting. The recent timeline of 616 has been completely confused, resulting in a large number of branches. We've tried to eliminate the impact as much as possible, but it still doesn't work, or even more. As a God-created universe, and it is also an extremely generous God-created universe of Creator God, Marvel's timeline is visible. That is obvious. In most worlds, time is the most mysterious thing, but Marvel's time rule is very easy to be controlled by people. This brings up a problem. If there is not one more change in the timeline, one more dimension will appear, and the dimension will evolve into a new multi-universe. So far, an infinite closed loop has been formed, which may be good for a large universe. After all, the more multi-universes, it also means that there will be more changes in this big universe, and the stronger the individual, the stronger the power of the universe as a whole. However, for some people, this is not the case. The more complicated the timeline, the more chaotic and difficult to control what happens in the universe. In order to keep the visualized timeline unified, we will not change things beyond our control. The Time Variation Authority was born. They base the entire existing multi-universe on one main timeline. During this period, once certain variables appear, they will take action to eliminate the variables. They call this behavior, maintaining the sacred timeline of 490. And some time ago, they discovered that the timeline had undergone a very outrageous change. How to describe it? Probably, if the original timeline was a straight line, it has almost become a ripple now. Moreover, many clearly visible events have become blurred. And 616, which is listed as the most important main sequence universe by them, is the world where Qin Yun lives, and the changes are most obvious. The timeline is blurred into a mass, and it is almost impossible to see anything at all. If we say that in the previous timeline, about 100% of the stories can be sorted out, and they will go in a predetermined direction. Now at least 20% of the events can no longer be observed by them. 20. This amount is not small. You know, this has become like this in just 1 or 2 months. This ratio is still rising constantly. For the Time Variation Authority, which regards timelines as sacred, even a change of 0.1% is intolerable, let alone 20%. FK. What the hell happened to 616? How could the timeline fluctuate so much? I don't know. The key places can't be observed, and Thanos, who was supposed to appear on Earth a few years later, has also arrived ahead of time. And according to the current situation, Thanos will even give up the idea of collecting gems after this time. There is no doubt that the most critical place in this timeline change is on Earth, so the original story was disrupted. Continued to develop like this, Thanos can't snap his fingers anymore, and the gems don't know where they will go. In those sacred timelines, many damned people can't die, but those who deserve to live well. Even in their observations, Thanos can even continue to live for hundreds of years. This makes him meow a little nonsense. You know, he should have had his head chopped off by Thor. All the accidents should be caused by someone, but we can't see the information of this person at all, and even, anything about him will be blocked. This is outrageous. It's like a bad guy is doing bad things, but wherever he goes, the surveillance is broken. Moreover, anyone who is close to him will disappear from their observations. So far, what Wanda, what Tony, these very important characters in the 616 universe have disappeared from the south of the timeline. They are not dead, but the information is blocked by something. This is a phenomenon that they have not seen for so many years of work. It can only be described as hell. At first we thought that the timeline had leapfrogged, so we even asked Captain Marvel to go to Earth to snatch Thanos' gem, but now the timeline fluctuates even more violently. A black agent said helplessly. He was the so-called dead informant who sent Corolla the news. Timeline leapfrogging, in the time rule, is a special but common phenomenon that also occurs. In layman's terms, it is what should have happened, ahead of time, or delayed. But the result is the same. It's like someone is destined to die, or you're destined to hit the jackpot. But he didn't win the lottery at the supposed time, but advanced or postponed for a period. The result is the same, just like the fate in the dark. No matter how much he resists, there will be a certain end in the end. Originally seeing Thanos go to the Earth, they thought it was such a phenomenon because Thanos was going to Earth to fight those Avengers teams. Because the current Avengers combat power is still too weak, in order to balance their combat power, they also got Carol over ahead of time. After all, Carol is also destined to fight against me. However, when Carol arrived on the Earth, they found that the few times they could see on the Earth disappeared completely. That's right. Now they have lost almost all news of Earth in the timeline. It can be seen that the percentage representing the fog is still rising. We have to send an agent to investigate the situation. The sacred timeline cannot be messed up. Sent. This is the information brought back by the agent. As he spoke, the black detective took out a player. After seeing the contents inside, all the agents present were stunned. What the hell? Exclamation mark. More than 2,000 warships surrounding the Dark Order? Isn't this nonsense? In the 616 universe, battles at the starship level are basically rare because all cosmic forces are actually quite poor. Thanos' Dark Order can already be called the strongest force, and even the Supernova Legion has to avoid it. However, such is the fleet army. You're telling me there's suddenly someone who's on par with Thanos and looks even better? It's like the same two poor students who take the bottom 1 and 2nd in the exam every day. Suddenly, during the college entrance examination, the troubled brother told you that he got a full score in the exam and was admitted by King Boy. Isn't this nonsense? We know all about 616. It's impossible for the fleet to hide something we don't know about. The timeline was only changed 2 months ago. It's impossible for someone to assemble such a fleet within 2 months. For a while, everyone was silent. You said, is it possible? This person is not from 616? When this guess was made, it resonated with many people. You mean, someone from another parallel universe came to 616 to interfere with the sacred timeline? It shouldn't be. The operation of other universes is normal. There are not many people with this kind of ability, and they are all observed by us. The headache for the agents is that it is actually not a simple matter to be able to travel through parallel universes. Every 10 universes may only have a few people with this ability, and those with this ability are also under their monitoring. Even their various behaviors of traveling to other parallel universes originally followed the timeline. It's like this universe didn't have him in the first place, but in the timeline, that person will cross over at some point for some reason. Crossing is a given behavior. Even if he destroys a few worlds, this is actually something that will happen originally in time, and it is the original destiny. Now, other worlds are normal. There is no exception. Only 616 has this kind of thing. It doesn't make sense. What these agents don't know is that the timeline they thought and the fate they thought were still within the framework of the Marvel Universe and within the wall. No one would have thought that Qin Yun actually came from outside the wall. No matter what, the sacred timeline cannot be destroyed. Speaking of this, the black detective looked serious. The current 20% black mist state has far exceeded the normal range of change, and has entered an uncontrollable state. So, we have to take some measures. Thinking of this, several people looked at each other. One of the obese female agents said, "I apply for the implementation of Plan Number 7. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of several people were a little complicated, but no one refuted immediately, but they all bowed their heads in deep thought. Plan Number 7 is an emergency plan prepared by the Time Administration in the face of some major events out of control. I have hardly used it a few times, but it is very powerful. That is, forcibly change the timeline back. Seems pretty simple. It is indeed quite simple. The method they use is very simple. When the timeline of a world is out of control, they will bring infinite gems to that world, and use gems to complete everything, to reshape what should have happened or to eliminate some disobedient people. That's right. Infinite gems. The Bureau, the least valuable, is the gems, and even in some stages, they are all packed in sacks. These infinite gems, out of the small universe originally, are actually useless, just a few solid stones that contain a lot of energy. However, when infinite gems appear in the universe, they can instantly become the most powerful thing in the universe. Rule. The rule originally is actually something embedded in the universe, which will neither decrease nor increase. The gem originally didn't have that much power. It was just a key. If the multi-universe is likened to countless portals, infinite gems are countless corresponding keys. Definitely, not native keys, maybe not so next day, but they are also infinite gems after all. Even if they come from other parallel universes, they can also invoke the authority and power of the big universe to a certain extent. In the case of the original gemstones, when one appears, it means that half of the authority is taken away. It is impossible to restart the universe with a snap of the fingers, but at least one person can become the most powerful existence in that world. The so-called unevenness, 2 parts are convex and 1 part is concave. But it can be opened by forceful insertion. In this way, the Time Management Bureau has actually dealt with many difficult things. Even those gods were actually captured by him. They wiped out a lot. This is also one of the confidence of the Time Administration. I'll go. I've been to 616 a few times, so I'm familiar with it. The black agent stood up and volunteered. Good. This time your task is 1, to find the culprit who changed the timeline. Destroy him, and use the power of the gem to put everything back in place. The black detective waved his hand. Don't worry, it's not the first time I've done this kind of thing 2.7 times. Isn't it just to restore the timeline? I'm good at it. As he spoke, he casually opened a side drawer and rummaged through a pile of documents. I saw many fragmentary gems just placed in it so casually. If those people in the universe saw this scene, they would definitely be stunned. The ultimate power pursued by countless people, the end of dreams, infinite gems, are just piled up randomly, and there are even many more. After he picked a few, he found that the 6 different ones were not all in one. I'm short of a purple one, someone give me one. Speaking of this, the fat female detective on the side flipped through her hair and pulled a hairpin. On the hairpin, there are 3 precious stones inlaid impressively. One of them was purple. Then go. I'm just about to change this purple one into a green one. I always think green looks better. This hairpin is made of wood, and infinite gems are inlaid on it, so it's just for beauty. However, the people around seem to be familiar with this scene. An unknown number of parallel worlds have been destroyed in the entire universe, and almost all the gems of those worlds have been collected by them. After too much, it can only be their toy. Then I will set off first, waiting for my good news. He randomly put 6 gemstones of different styles into his pocket. The black detective walked towards a certain room without looking back. He is going to do something he has done countless times, but this time, what he does not know is who he will face. Chapter 115 Battle! Invincible Mecha. At the moment, on Earth, the chaos caused by Carol continues. Qin Yun watched everyone calm down because of what happened just now, then glanced around indifferently, then looked at Carol and said, "Hey, the dot over there, hand over the things." "Don't make me say it a second time." For Carol's uninvited behavior and forcibly grabbing things, Qin Yun didn't take action directly, which is already a good temper. If it weren't for the fact that Carol is also a human being, and indeed not a bad person, Qin Yun would have started with Thanos. Hearing Qin Yun's angry threat, Carol held the power gem in his hand and looked it over. She has roughly understood that Qin Yun should indeed be from Earth, and indeed resisted Thanos' army. But the power gem, do you really want to give it to him? No. You don't know how powerful this thing is. It's one of the most dangerous items in the universe. The power gem can't be spread out so casually. Carol clenched her fists with a dignified look. This answer almost made Qin Yun laugh. Qin Yun's face was black. "Carol, I said it, don't make me say it a second time. Give me my things." Qin Yun stretched out his hand. Even those who don't know him well can see that Qin Yun's anger has reached the extreme at the moment. "Sorry, it's too dangerous. There are countless people in this universe who want to get it. I must protect it." King Meow. What are you? Qin Yun, who has always relied on the power of word of mouth to run wild in the world, has no words to organize at this moment. Thousands of words can only be gathered into one sentence. What are you? What Carol means is that the power gem is powerful and dangerous, so she needs to protect it. This damn Meow feels too good about herself. Why does she think she can protect the power gem? Or even say, is she worthy? The gem of power is mine. Don't be thick-skinned there. What kind of onion are you? You need your protection. Qin Yun was so angry that he wanted to smash the floor. Although you protect the earth, I don't know you. I can't hand over the power gems to you. Once the infinite gems are collected by those who want to, this universe will be in crisis with huge amounts of crisis. In order to ensure that the power of the gem is not abused, I need to hide it so that no one can get it. Carol still explained seriously, putting himself in the position of protecting the safety of the world. Qin Yun felt that this product was simply unreasonable. When the power stone was in Thanos' hands, why didn't you grab it? As soon as you got into my hands, you came out and pretended to be a good person. Even if you are indeed a good person, in his life, what Qin Yun hates the most is self-righteous people. Carol is the epitome of self-righteousness. Okay, Carol, right, Captain Marvel. You are fine. Qin Yun narrowed his eyes. He was no longer ready to reason with Carol. Special Forces. While speaking, the Special Forces that had been on standby outside the Earth's orbit for a long time received Qin Yun's order and quickly began to descend. 500 logistics special forces equipped with JC-001-shaped mechas rushed towards them at an extremely fast speed. JC-001 uses strong interaction materials throughout the body, and after the driver has been genetically modified, each of them has a physical quality that surpasses that of Captain America. Therefore, it can withstand a great overload. Everyone only saw countless streamers flashing by, and within a dozen seconds, they had traveled thousands of kilometers and arrived at the scene on the ground. Seeing these mechs, Carol became vigilant. Even if she is a mutant who doesn't know the technology of these mechas, she can still see the difference of the mechas. These meshes have almost the same speed as before she entered hyperspace. She has traveled across the universe for so many years, and she has never seen such a mechanical unit. Moreover, when the mesh broke through the atmosphere, there was no smoke reaction. You must know that when traveling through the atmosphere at an extremely fast speed, any substance will rub against the air, producing light and heat. And these meshes do not have these phenomena at all, as if they are independent from this world. This is because the strong interaction force material used by the mecha, when the strong interaction force is not broken, the surface of the material is firmly nailed to death, and hardly reacts with any substance. At absolute zero, the size of JC001 is also very large, each of which has reached nearly 100 meters, and 500 units are neatly surrounded by them, which is full of oppression. I can feel that you are not a bad person. Everyone's purpose is for the peace of this world. I advise you not to let these things go to waste. Unexpectedly, Carol was extremely confident. Even when faced with the siege of 500 JC1s, her first reaction was not wanting to do anything, because she didn't want to destroy them. Hearing this, Qin Yun rolled his eyes. Is Carol really him? People want to give her two big mouths. If this kind of self-righteous woman goes to boxing on the internet, there will be no men for a long time, right? To say that her combat power is definitely very high, it is not impossible to single out Thanos' fleet. However, the special service team that Qin Yun spent so much time creating is not comparable to the junk ships in this world. When Thanos saw that Qin Yun was going to have sex with Carol, he didn't say a word, but stood aside and watched happily. Infighting among human beings is what Mishi wants to see most. He doesn't like Carol and Qin Yun, and it's good news for him if they die. While speaking, most of the mechas were distributed around, surrounding the battlefield, as if not letting anyone escape. Several of them stood up and rushed towards Carol without any hesitation. The speed of the mecha is very fast, thanks to the power provided by its powerful antimatter reactor inside. There is also the extremely high nerve reaction speed of the driver. When the mecha moves, it is almost invisible to the naked eye. It even broke through the speed of sound within a few tenths of a second, just like teleporting. Moreover, after breaking through the speed of sound, because of the antimatter reactor and the blessing of strong interaction materials, it didn't even make any sound. There was no sonic boom, and it was a quiet horse. Carol perceived an attack, and his whole body began to emit light instantly. As she activated her own power, she turned into a streamer and began to shuttle in the sky. The quiet, outrageous JC001 is the exact opposite of Carol. After Carol launched his power, he was full of momentum and very dazzling. The speed is also extremely fast. So, in the eyes of everyone, the streamer that Carol transformed into began colliding with something in the air. In just a few seconds, hundreds of pages have been in contact with each other. Countless energies spurt out from the collision, constantly exploding. Because the speed was so fast, ordinary people on the ground couldn't see what was happening at all. The shadow of the special forces could not be captured at all, and the brilliance behind Carol turned into a series of after images. For a while, all the people who were paying attention to all this were all dumbfounded watching the battle scene. Nick rubbed his eyes constantly. Too fast. This level of battle is completely beyond the reach of ordinary people. How fast are they? At least hundreds of mechs. Maybe more than that. The technicians were also in a cold sweat. Even with the most high-end high-speed cameras, there is no way to capture a clear picture of their battle. This has exceeded their imagination. How can the strength of a single soldier be so strong? Even if it is the most powerful missile in their hands, it is absolutely impossible to have such a fast speed. Moreover, the missile can only move in one direction at high speed, and the battle between Carol and the mecha was even carried out under the condition of high-speed maneuvering. Simply outrageous. Can have this kind of speed, and can withstand overload. Take out any one of the two parties, and rush straight down from the Earth's orbit, even enough to penetrate the Earth, wear one side in and the other out. Outrageous. The people watching the battle were shocked, and Carol, one of the protagonists of the battle, was also full of shock, because she found that she had nothing to do with these apparently mass-produced standard mechas. Although she can fight with these meshes, but the attack of the energy in the carrier's body hits these mechas, it's even no different from tickling. It literally dropped her jaw. You know, since she became Captain Marvel and possessed this divine power, nothing can take one punch from her, and if there is, then two punches. The mysterious power brought her a powerful physique, terrifying speed and unparalleled attack power. When she was messing around in the universe, even if she encountered the fleets of those civilizations, she could hit the ship from bow to stern with a single punch without thinking. She is like an indestructible sharp blade that can tear up everything in front of her. However, this time, she discovered that she couldn't harm this mesh at all. Every attack seems to be hit on the foam. There is no force point. This feeling, like a shield. With rich combat experience, she quickly analyzed that there was a shield on the surface of the mecha. Facing the shield, she is not helpless. After all, there is an upper limit to the shield. There is a limit to the output of energy. There is nothing Li Dazhunfei can't solve, and the output of energy happens to be her advantage. However, when she summoned up all her strength, concentrated all her output on her fists, and finally broke the shield of one of the mechas. She hadn't had time to be happy. It touched the body of the mecha. But what happened next was different from what she had imagined. I thought that the mecha would be destroyed by her energy just like the enemies I defeated. However, the touch it received was extremely cold and stiff. Before, no matter what kind of attack, even a top-notch weapon like vibranium, would still shatter like glass under full output. The mecha didn't respond, and it was the first time that 503 Carol felt the feedback of being hit on a stone. How can it be so hard? Carol even felt some pain in his fist. Might as well hit the shield. Qin Yun watched this scene coldly. It is expected that the shield will be broken, but the strongest defense of the mesh is the body under the shield. Strong interaction force. As one of the basic forces of matter, once a strong interaction force material is formed, if you want to break it, unless you bombard the surface with light-speed particles and destroy the strong interaction force structure, it can be said to be almost indestructible. As for miracles like Carol, that's not impossible, but the required energy level is at least counted by fixed star. Short time. It may be possible to break through the strong interaction force by consuming a few fixed star energy level attack power in a short period of time. However, no matter how awesome Carol is, can he still have this kind of output? Seeing Carol deflated, Qin Yun's bad mood eased a lot. This also confirms that JC001's approach is correct. However, before Qin Yun had time to be happy, Carol gritted his teeth and touched the power gem into his fist. Then, a powerful purple energy began to emerge from Carol's fist. She chose to borrow the power of the power gem. Seeing this scene, Qin Yun's expression changed. The power gem is one of the powers and authorities of this universe. With the help of the gem, Carol might really perform miracles and forcibly break the strong interaction force of the mecha. Is this what you said to protect the power gem from being abused? You started using it yourself? Qin Yun directly opened his mouth to mock. It's so high-sounding. Don't you want to use it yourself? I'm using it to protect it, Carol said firmly, exuding the breath of justice all over her body. Okay, you're fine. Qin Yun gritted his teeth. It's been a long time since someone has been so angry. He really didn't expect that this so-called righteous person could bring him such a big trouble. After today's incident is over, labor and management must set up a superhero management department, and in the future, people with special abilities will be controlled by him. People's ideas are the most difficult to change. After many people have power, they will feel that their ideas are right. There are definitely not a few people like Carol. Sooner or later, open an ideological and moral class to treat them all. At this moment, in the sky, the purple energy of the power gem almost covered Carol's whole body. Chapter 116 God-level Bystander. Change the world. Chapter 116 God-level Bystander. Carol was also a little uncomfortable being supported by this powerful force, but she was originally one of the bearers of Infinite Gem's authority, so she could still bear it. Seeing that Carol was about to make a big move, when he was sharing a high ground with the special forces, suddenly, however, Carol found that the gem in his hand began to dim. If the output power of the power gem was 100% before, now it is only 50% or even lower. What made Carol even more horrified was that her original strength was also rapidly dissipating. Soon, it was almost reduced to half of the original level. What have you done? Carol was shocked. She had never experienced anything like this. Since she gained power until now, the energy in her body is almost omnipotent and endless. There has never been attenuation, and it will become more and more convenient and stronger because of her use of power. But now, Carol can clearly feel that his own power seems to be forcibly divided in half by something. It was an emptiness like never before. Not even just herself, even the power gem in her hand, the most powerful infinite gems in the universe, which is said to be able to do everything, also fell into a weak state at this time. Qin Yun, seeing this scene and Carol's questioning, Qin Yun also looked puzzled, because he really wanted to do something, but he didn't do anything. He just sent a message to Ancient One to ask him to come to support him. But it is reasonable that Ancient One is still in another world and has not yet arrived on the road. It is not possible that Ancient One is already strong enough to radiate power to different universes. Just when everyone was still wondering, a man also wearing a black suit appeared on the field at some point. Hey, who are you? Even if you borrow the power of gems, you can't see everything about you. The person who came was obviously an agent of the Space-Time Management Bureau. What? How is it possible? Before Qin Yun could speak, Thanos, who had been watching the show, suddenly shouted in surprise, because he saw something extraordinary in this man. I saw a strange instrument in his hand, which looked like some kind of tablet computer. On the tablet computer, there are 6 sparkling gemstones inlaid impressively. That thing was so recognizable. Without a doubt, it's infinite gems. 6 gems neatly arranged. Thanos looked directly at Qin Yun. You lied to me again. Your people have already collected all the gems. You are still acting here. For a split second, Thanos thought a lot. He can clearly perceive the fluctuations from the tablet. It is definitely infinite gems, but according to the original information, there should only be 3 gems on the Earth, right? Now it seems that all of this is Qin Yun's track. I still underestimated you. You have collected all 5 gems, The only thing you need is the power gem. So, I am throwing myself into the trap. The agent of the Time Management Bureau is dressed too much like the people on Qin Yun's side. They are all in black clothes and black suits. If you say they have nothing to do with each other, believe it or not. This man must be Qin Yun's subordinate. In other words, Qin Yun has already collected all 5 gems. Only this one in his hand is missing. I have done so many things, just for this last lesson. He actually came to Earth so stupidly to send it to him. At this moment, Thanos only felt that the malice in this world was too great. After being in the universe for so many years, this is the first time he has been treated like a monkey like this. So, Carol is also with Qin Yun? Is the gem in her hand a fake? However, facing Thanos' question, Qin Yun just rolled his eyes. Idiot. If I had 5 gems, would I still have to play such a scene with you? Qin Yun ignored Thanos, who had fallen into self-doubt, but turned his attention to the surprise time management agent. Are you from the Time Administration? Hearing Qin Yun tell his background, the other party was not surprised at all, because when he came to this world and invoked the authority of the 6 gems, he still didn't find any trace left by Qin Yun. This is already obvious. Qin Yun must not be from this universe. Why? If the universe is likened to a computer, the 6 gems gathered together are the highest authority of this computer. Under this authority, all the secrets in the universe will be invisible, and the world is recorded. I can't find Qin Yun's record, or Qin Yun's power has surpassed the level universe, but this is basically impossible. Or, Qin Yun is not from this universe at all. To be precise, it is the Time Variation Administration. The other party corrected Qin Yun's address, and then continued. Since you know my identity, you have been in contact with us. Which timeline are you a criminal who escaped from? Those who can cause such a big commotion, from the perspective of time management, have a high probability of being time criminals. That is, people who have left the original timeline. It's just that what he doesn't know is which timelines of the worlds Qin Yun has escaped from. Hearing this, Qin Yun laughed. Criminal. In your definition, anyone who is not under your control is a criminal. Maintaining the great and sacred timeline is the most important thing, and destroyers are criminals. The agent of the Time Management Bureau said seriously. Ridiculous. What sacred timeline is just an established story? You all want to control everyone's destiny and make the whole world run according to your ideas. No matter who it is, life and death are all in your control. It's nothing more than a bunch of sanctimonious hypocrites who enjoy controlling everything else. For the mission and practice of the Time Management Bureau, Qin Yun is quite contemptuous. This is also a difference in philosophy. The so-called maintenance of the timeline is also the maintenance of fate. But what is fate? Is it the futility that no matter what you do, you can't change the ending in the end? Or is it that some people follow the so-called fate, forcibly describe the laws of all things, and enjoy the pleasure of controlling everything? This so-called fate, the so-called timeline, in Qin Yun's view, has nothing to follow. Every existence of life should have the opportunity to choose, instead of being born as a foil for others or a supporting role in something. The drama of life should be decided by the master of life himself. Facing Qin Yun's ridicule, the agent of the Time Management Bureau frowned, and said very seriously, the great timeline is indestructible. Once it is changed, it will cause countless unpredictable disasters and eventually lead to destruction. So, whatever you try to do, you will be judged. The moment the agent finished speaking harshly, Qin Yun's system, which hadn't made a sound for a long time, sounded an alert. Time-limited special task, conflict of ideas. Conflict of ideas. Different organizations have different missions and ideas. The mission of the Men in Black is to maintain the rise and fall of human beings, allowing races to occupy a place in the heavens and worlds and continue. Time management is to maintain the sacred timeline, keep everything under control. However, the concept is not static, and may be able to integrate or change each other. Option 1, agree with the other party's philosophy, and make the maintenance of destiny time a new clause for the Man in Black. Reward, get the timeline authority. No matter in any world, you will have the ability to see through the long river of time. You can see the original ending, but you can't change it. You will know everything, have the ability to swim in a long river of time. No secret can cover your eyes. Option 2, my fate is up to me. Everyone has the right to choose their own destiny, instead of being arranged by others, changing the concept of the Time Management Bureau, or destroying each other. Reward, bystanders, you will with the ability to switch between spectators and participants at will. Participants, you will become a part that can change time and participate in it. Bystanders, jump out of the 3 realms, not in the 5 elements. Facing the system task selection that popped up, Qin Yun didn't have the slightest hesitation. I choose to. The rewards of the 2 options are both god-level abilities with very bugs. Not to mention time authority, this thing can even be regarded as omnipotent authority. You can see everything in the timeline in all universes, and you can learn all the knowledge of this world. That is to say, after possessing this ability, Qin Yun can even see at a glance what will happen in a certain world tens of millions of years later, and control the ultimate law of operation. If you choose option 1, Qin Yun will now go to the three-body world, and even see everything about those high-level civilizations like those returning to zero. This is very frightening. Qin Yun can use this ability to see everything in a short period of time to raise the technical strength of the man in black to the pinnacle of technology. It's the same in the extraordinary world. He can instantly know all the magic and the ultimate meaning of all superpowers. But what's the point? What's the point of being able to become a creation god-level existence even within a few months? The men in black will also become less pure, become a slave to time. For example, the original human beings in the Trisolaran world will eventually perish. Qin Yun changed them into their current appearance. If Qin Yun chooses option 1, he will save all the people he saved, and let them return to the original track. That is to say, the damn thing has to die. Isn't Mom an idiot? Maintenance time? Maintain a JB definitely is to control your own choices, not to obey others' arrangements. As for option 2, ability is much worse. Switch between spectators and participants. The so-called participants, in fact, have not changed much, just like now, traveling through time and doing some things. But the spectator is different. When Qin Yun chooses to switch to the spectator form, he will completely become a transparent person. No longer in the 3 realms, out of the 5 elements. Although he can still be observed, nothing will affect him. Even if it is a super galaxy explosion, even if the universe is dead, all rules, all physical phenomena, super energy fluctuations. Qin Yun is just a shadow, observing everything. To be honest, this ability is also very powerful. Life-saving ability is top-notch. Moreover, with this ability, there will be no place to restrict Qin Yun in the future. Even inside the black hole, he can walk in it barefoot. Congratulations to the host. Firm your heart and complete the time-limited task selection. Acquired ability, spectator. Systematic hints and Qin Yun's choices are all done in the brain. It passed quickly. In reality, it is 2 or 3 seconds. But such a short 2 or 3 seconds is enough time for the agents of the administration to do something. I saw him pick up the tablet and click on it a few times. He is not a superhero, so even if he has 6 infinite gems in his hand, he cannot fully use the power of the gems. However, as the organization with the most infinite gems, the Time Administration has long since developed a method for using infinite gems with special equipment. This tablet is such a prop, crafted from an extremely rare material that can withstand the massive impact of the gems activation. Several programs are also set inside. One-click start can handle most scenarios. Press the button with the Time Authority agent. Everyone felt that the surrounding world began to change instantly. The original blue sky and white clouds, Starfleet, almost disappeared in the blink of an eye. It was as if everyone present teleported in an instant. Instead, it was a pure white mysterious hall. There are no buildings around, only the endless pure white floor at a glance. Here, it is more like a mysterious space. My power. When the surrounding environment changed, Thanos was the first to notice something was wrong. Because his powerful power from the eternal race almost disappeared with the change of space. There was a feeling of weakness in the body. Now he has almost become an ordinary person with good physical fitness. Not to mention the subordinates around Thanos. Ebony Moore even waved his hands unbelievingly, trying to cast spells, but nothing happened at all, just like a fool. This feeling of losing all power terrifies Thanos. Carol also noticed something was wrong. Even she became an ordinary person in an instant. She who was floating in the air also fell to the ground. The agents of the Time Management Bureau looked at all this with satisfaction, but when they subconsciously glanced at Qin Yun, he was dumbfounded. Impossible. Praise. I saw that Qin Yun was still floating steadily, as if all this hadn't affected him. A whole new world. Chapter 117. Qin Yun's real identity is Latitude. Mephista. How can you still maintain power in hyperspace? The agent stared at Qin Yun continuously, as if wanting to know what Qin Yun's situation is now. Hyperspace, as the most commonly used means of time management, can only be used after collecting all 6 infinite gems. It can pull some selected personnel to another latitude. Within this latitude, there will be no law. That's right, even if it's gravitation. This is almost a clean and pure space, similar to Ancient One's mirror image magic, but much higher level than mirror image magic. In this space, even the basic elements of life survival are provided by manipulators, like oxygen, or other basic laws. To use the simplest analogy, if the agent adjusts the basic law applied to this person in the program, it will not take effect, and even the target will not be able to maintain the basic form. All the particles will instantly become a bunch of particles and radiate out because of the loss of the rule and stress relief. It's certainly a powerful tool. In this case, the program controller in the hyperspace can almost be said to be a god. Whoever he wants will die, and whoever he wants will live. This is also one of the powerful manifestations of infinite gems in the universe. However, Qin Yun is still able to maintain the levitation state. It even maintains its own suspended posture. It's simply impossible. Don't say it's levitation. Didn't you see other people fighting and getting unstable? Qin Yun felt the repulsive force around him. Here, It's a bit interesting. Within this space range, Qin Yun found that almost all the power from Marvel dissipated. It cannot be said to dissipate, it should be said to have turned into a stone. Origin magic power, Ancient One's magic power, etc. The power that was originally working smoothly, all turned into disobedient dead things at this moment. It's like coming to a world where the rules are 100% suppressed. To be honest, Qin Yun has actually experienced this feeling countless times, even every day. You must know that this was the case at the very beginning. The laws of different worlds are not universal, and power will be suppressed at different levels in different worlds. It can only be said that the 21 suppression of the power law of the Marvel world has almost reached the extreme here. However, other forces were not so seriously affected. If it is said that the suppression power representing Marvel is 100%, then, only about 30% represent other worlds. Qin Yun also had a little understanding. In this environment, he even felt the essence of the power in his body at a deeper level, and the originally vague meaning of Latitude actually felt like the door was being pried open. Qin Yun couldn't hold back and said, "Is this the power of infinite gems? Suppressive power? No, it should be this state of coexistence of non-existence and presence. Has it been fully stretched now? Can it be tighter?" As he spoke, Qin Yun seemed a little dissatisfied. "It's too loose now. Make it tighter." This space sees ... or the space of originally, for Qin Yun's current stage who has comprehended the mysteries of Latitude for a long time but can't get started. What a godsend. Almost all impurities can be thrown away, those rules that interfere with the line of sight, and look directly at the space originally. What is there? What is not? In this so-called hyperspace, there is no law of all things, and everything has the characteristic of nothingness. But since it is space, they still exist in it, and contain certain definitions. Qin Yun even feels that if this feeling goes deeper, he can directly see through the ultimate meaning of Latitude. I heard Qin Yun's dissatisfied complaints. The agent of the Time Management Bureau was even more dumbfounded. This is the first time he has heard such a request. What is it called? Too loose. Make it tighter? Exclamation mark. Isn't this f***ing nonsense? You look at other people, the few around you. If it is not him who wants to ask something, just move your fingers and touch their definition of existence. Everyone will be wiped out in an instant, turning into elementary particles and disappearing. You, who the hell are you? How can you resist the infinite rule? He felt a tinge of fear. After being an agent of the Time Administration for so many years, I have seen too many vast worlds. He still has infinite gems in hand, but he has never encountered such an existence as Qin Yun. Me? CBBT, is nothing. I'm just a normal human being. Men in Black Organization 6th Division, Agent Q. Qin Yun calmly introduced his identity. This is no surprise. Infinite gems can control the basic laws of the Marvel Universe, but they cannot control other worlds. They can only suppress them. Being able to suppress the power from other worlds in his body to 30% is already considered the limit. The man in black? Wait. The man in the black cloud? The black detective was taken aback when he heard the name, but when he tried to think about it, it was blank again. I wish I'd heard the name, but I can't remember anything at all. Just when he was a little distressed, Qin Yun looked at the detective in surprise. He has heard of the name of the Men in Black organization in the Marvel world. Does anyone really know the existence of the Man in Black? Just when two people are in a situation where they can't understand each other, $1 at. On the other side, the group of people because of the strength couldn't sit still. What the hell is this place? What are you going to do? Thanos picked up his long knife and pointed at Qin Yun and Time Agent. Fight. I'm never afraid of anyone worthy of being the Emperor of the Universe. Even though Thanos had just revealed his secret of being a goddess licking dogs, at this moment of losing his strength, he was still able to stand upright and speak. Perhaps, in his heart, except for the goddess of death, no one is important, even his own life. This is the ultimate meaning of dog licking. Thanos looked calm, but on the other side, Carol couldn't calm down at all. Damn ... you evil ones. Before he finished speaking, he only felt a black shadow flash in front of his eyes. The palm is also empty. It was Qin Yun who took advantage of Carol's loss of power and snatched back the power gem first. Holding the power gem with only half of the usual radiance, Qin Yun smiled in satisfaction. No matter what's yours is yours after all. Even if there is a time agent standing there holding 6 gems. But Qin Yun is not jealous at all. What he cares about is reason. This gem should belong to him, and he got it from a serious trade. It's mine and I can give it to you, but you can't take it away. Thinking of this, Qin Yun smiled and waved at Agent Time. My brother, I have to thank you for helping me collect the debt, otherwise it will take a little effort to get it back. With the blessing of the power gem, Carol can even reach the peak of the level single universe when he explodes with all his strength. For Qin Yun, without Ancient One playing, it is almost difficult to fight against, let alone grab something. But as soon as the time agent took action, everyone else became ordinary people. Can this restore the scene? No. You can't take it away. At this moment, Carol completely lost the previous domineering, and could only watch Qin Yun take away the power gem. However, in the face of her shouting, Qin Yun only got a big mouth. Snapped. The mouth wrapped in the physical power of pure genes carried the anger that Qin Yun had accumulated for a long time. Carol was instantly sent flying. But because of the law of nothingness in this space, Carol started to circle after going out for a little bit. Because there is no place to vent his energy. Momentum is not converted into thrust. Even that little movement distance is because the relative coordinates with Qin Yun have changed. After turning around countless times, Carol, who had almost lost his eyesight, slowly stopped. The entire right side of the face was swollen, and even blood came out. Simply out of shape. This slap completely blinded Carol. How many years has she been pain-free? I've said it all. Don't be self-righteous. The world doesn't revolve around you. Qin Yun snorted coldly. Still doing that thing. You have a bit of power and you can still make people care about you. After all this, what sense of existence do you still have there? You are simply a model of American education. Even if you are mixed into the universe, you still have a disgusting self-centered look. Just like you, who don't understand human words, always feel that you are awesome and you can represent everything. In our place, it won't survive 3 episodes. This slap Qin Yun is also very cool. From the appearance of Carol, a strong American individualism style hits the face. The surprised character made Qin Yun's stomach queasy. The men in black have always been the interests of collective civilization, with the purpose of group strength. When encountering such a self-righteous person, there is a natural resistance. No matter what her starting point is, whether she is a good person or a bad person. In Qin Yun's view, if she can't understand human language, just treat her as not a human being. You know, even a former playboy like Tony, who is known for his bad personality, is not as self-conscious as Surprise. Enough. Seeing the tragedy of Captain Marvel, the time agent finally couldn't bear it anymore. He tapped quickly on the tablet to write it down. Surprisingly, his wounds began to heal quickly, and he quickly distanced himself from Qin Yun. Why, you know her very well. Do you want to stand up for her? Qin Yun pouted. Carol holds a great place in the sacred timeline. She has a lot to do in the future. Although I don't know how you resisted the power of infinite gems, and I don't know who you are. But no matter what your identity is, how powerful you are, anyone who wants to destroy the sacred timeline is our enemy. I will not allow this to happen. The time agent said word by word. At the same time, Qin Yun found that the tablet in his hand also began to emit intense light. Qin Yun narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, when the level of the face is getting higher and higher, the method of reasoning seems to be less and less effective. Qin Yun once thought that he could use his 3-inch tongue to wander around the world. But now it seems it's still a fist. It's easier to talk. However, facing an agent with 6 complete infinite gems, how should Qin Yun speak with his fists? The 6 gems represent the rules of the universe. Those who own the gems can almost burst out the power of the level single universe. Qin Yun is now not far from this level. But is there really nothing we can do? Qin Yun smiled. Weapons are indeed very important things. You can master infinite gems, which is really remarkable in the universe, and you can even say that you can walk sideways. However, when it comes to powerful weapons, it also depends on who is using them. Qin Yun understands very well that gemstones are indeed invincible in the Marvel universe, but also have weaknesses. The Master, originally, is also one of the biggest weaknesses. At this time, the agent is a basic physical quality of ordinary people. Even if he uses gems, he also uses foreign objects, the tablet. It must be impossible to carry much energy, and the main means of gems is the rule. If he didn't pull Qin Yun closer to this space, and started to do it directly, such as cracking Qin Yun's own elemental composition to decompose it, Qin Yun really has nothing to do. But now, as long as the rule cannot take effect on itself. Thinking of this, Qin Yun slowly closed his eyes. Then, the time agent felt that the tablet began to vibrate crazily. He looked confused, and then glanced at the prompt on the tablet. Control object breaks limit break warning. Limit breaking? Exclamation mark. The time agent looked at Qin Yun in disbelief. The so-called broken line means that the rule of infinite gems is completely invalid for a certain object at a certain moment. He has hardly seen this hint, only heard about it from other agents. That's something that only happens with probability when infinite gems enters the latitude of Mephista's latitude. Because the latitude Mephista has its own latitude, that world is completely constructed by the latitude Mephista itself, and the rules are also different from the main universe. So, unless it is using the corresponding infinite gems of the universe in which Mephista itself was born in the latitude, infinite gems from other worlds will lose their master key effect. To put it bluntly, the master key is easy to use in the main universe, but the space of latitude Mephista is encrypted. This is also the only situation where they will encounter difficulties when traveling through the multi-universe with infinite gems from each world. Latitude Mephista. Could Qin Yun's real identity be a latitude Mephista? Chapter 118, Lord of Dimensions, All-Out War. Chapter 118, Lord of Dimensions, All-Out War. No, this is absolutely impossible. He is obviously just an ordinary human being. The time agent widened his eyes in astonishment. Forcibly deny your own thoughts. Then, A warning sounded from the tablet in his hand, but remind him of this fact all the time. Qin Yun didn't hear the time agent's almost crazy cry. He closed his eyes, but what was in front of him was not the darkness of nothingness. Colored rays swimming in front of him. It seems to be alive. Qin Yun subconsciously stretched out his hand to grab it, but the light slipped away from his hand. The light condensed into a spot of light and stayed in front of Qin Yun. Suddenly, a dazzling light erupted from the light spot, and then countless brilliant light spots appeared around it. The scene just now was like a cosmic explosion. Huge amounts of energy formed starlight surrounding Qin Yun. Space begins to change from a one-dimensional line to a two-dimensional plane. Then there are three-dimensional, and then to four-dimensional, five-dimensional, constantly extending and changing. The scene in front of him seemed to be a world inside a kaleidoscope. Qin Yun felt that he was falling, but also felt that he was rising. He suddenly had a feeling, and he stretched out his hand. Suddenly everything in front of him stopped, and his body leaned forward slightly, as if he broke the mirror and traveled to the world of suffocation. After a long time. Is this the mystery of the dimension? He took a deep breath. The corners of his mouth raised slightly. I finally grasped the mystery of the dimension. He slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, what's this? In the white space, a white light suddenly bloomed with you as the center. Everyone present was so stimulated by the light that they couldn't open their eyes. After a while, they gradually got used to the light. However, the next moment, everyone's eyes widened in shock. In front of Qin Yun, countless colored lines appeared. His fingers deftly fiddled with these lines, as if kneading some figure. What's this? What is he doing? Why me? I feel the fear. Dimensional energy breaks the limit. Warning, warning. Dimensional energy breaks the limit. The notebook in the time agent's hand constantly issued a warning. He was completely dumbfounded. Dimensional energy breaks the limit. How could this be possible? He had never heard of such a thing. No, Dimension Mephista can do it. The expression on his face became terrified, and the hand holding the tablet computer couldn't help shaking. He is opening up a new dimension. Thinking of this, the time agent's face turned pale. What do you mean? What new dimensional space? Thanos froze when he heard the time agent's voice. Dimension Mephista, that is the existence that can create space and manipulate the dimensions of the universe. This human being has such a calendar area. Ding. Integrate magic power. Ding. Integrate chaos magic power. Ding. The integrate host is known. So physics is known. Ding. Integrate gene rule. The prompt sound of the system constantly echoed in Qin Yun's mind. The ability possessed by him is actually in the synchronous integrate. These forces are intertwined, and these abilities are gradually integrated in his consciousness space. Boom. It exploded, and then Qin Yun discovered that a latitude space of several hundred square meters appeared in his consciousness space. A small space has been opened up. Compared with the real world, the small space dimension in his consciousness space is indeed very small. But he who owns the dimensional space can barely be called the master of the dimension. Successfully embarked on the first step towards the level of the god of creation. However, such dimensional energy is still inferior to Ancient One. He remembered that the latitude of Ancient One was at least as big as a moon, and his, at best, was a small villa. But as long as enough time, surpassing Ancient One is not a problem. Qin Yun also discovered his own drawback, that is, the total amount of energy is too small. It seems that I want to think of a way to strengthen the total amount of energy. What happened to him? His aura. No, why can't I feel his aura? The time agent was astonished to find that he could not perceive Qin Yun. Obviously Qin Yun was standing there, but he was more like an existence of nothingness. And the time agent found that the tablet computer in his hand seemed to be down. There is no response. He couldn't help but relax. This machine has never happened like this. What the hell was this human doing just now? Thanos exclaimed. Beside him, Ebony Maw stood there with a terrified face. Even when he was questioned by the most respected master, he forgot to answer because he was too scared. On Earth, when did such a strong person appear? Carol also panicked. She originally thought that Qin Yun was just an ordinary person, even though he had a weapon that surpassed the current technology of the Earth. It made Nick feel very troublesome, and had to use a pager to get her back to Earth. Originally thought it was just someone who was more difficult to pay than Thanos, but now she felt a kind of fear of being too powerful, beyond her acceptable level. She even felt that this power far surpassed infinite gems. Ding. The target energy body exceeds the limit of the law. It cannot be suppressed. It cannot be suppressed. Sure enough, even the combination of 5 energy gems cannot suppress success. The time agent took a deep breath, and he felt a chill down his spine. A long-lost feeling called fear, emerging from his head, extending from top to bottom to the whole body. Run. The time agent suddenly had this idea. He took out the instrument and wanted to open the dimension door and leave. Even the energy gems have no effect on Qin Yun. That means that any force in this universe can no longer affect him. He had to run, and if he didn't, he felt like he was going to die here. However, when he was about to escape, but I found that I couldn't open the door of the dimension I left. Not far away, Qin Yun looked at him with a smile on his lips. Now this area, without his permission, Now even a bug cannot leave here. This is because Qin Yun does not belong to this world at all. After becoming a Latitude Mephista, he can use his rule to radiate the whole body. This radiation is more akin to a field, with the powerful radiation of the dimension will also increase the range. Now it can only maintain a radius of a few meters. Just right, the time agent is within his range. The time agent also seemed to realize something. He recovered from the shock, and stepped back quickly. He operated the tablet computer in his hand and pointed it at Qin Yun. Sudden, a black shadow flashed before his eyes. When I came back to my senses, I found that my hands were empty. Is this what your time administration uses to control infinite gems? The time agent was taken aback, and looked up at Qin Yun. I saw that Qin Yun was holding the notebook that belonged to him in his hand, as if he was operating something. It's a pity. Your original strength is too weak to exert the full energy of the combined infinite gems. You are bold. This is the property of the Time Variation Authority. The time agent wanted to grab it. Qin Yun turned his head and gave him a faint look. With just one glance, the time agent found that his body was unable to move. TSK, I just said that your power is too weak. Even though infinite gems has powerful authority in the universe, you can only rely on external objects to control it. Any change of person, even Thanos, can make everyone feel fear. You let me go. You will pay for your actions. The time agent jumped anxiously. But Qin Yun didn't have the heart to talk to him at all. He manipulates the content on the tablet. It has to be said that the Time Variation Administration has existed for such a long time, and its technological level is indeed advanced. At least it's around level 5. But this is not difficult for Qin Yun. With just a few steps, the encryption system on the tablet was directly broken. Direct access to infinite gems. The energy in the upper dimension is so abundant. His ability can perfectly perceive the energy contained in infinite gems. No wonder, after the 6 gemstones are integrated, they can change time, space and cause and effect. As long as the body is strong enough, using these 6 gems can even destroy the entire universe. If the dimensional energy inside is borrowed by me, can it expand my own dimension? Just now Qin Yun was thinking about expanding his energy. Qin Yun was thinking about whether to borrow infinite gems. At this moment, the Earth is in chaos. Have aliens really invaded? What the hell is going on with those fleets outside the Earth? The representatives of various countries at the headquarters of the United Nations are already in a mess. This can't be another conspiracy by the United States. Just relying on the virtues of the United States, he has this technology, and he has already caused chaos all over the world. The leaders of the 2 small countries were whispering. Not far away, the face of the U.S. Secretary of State turned extremely livid. Counterattack, must counterattack, ... asking for flowers. Someone shouted loudly, but not many people responded to him. How to fight back? Then Goober counterattacked. That was an alien spaceship. With the current level of technology on the Earth, if all the nuclear bombs hit together, they might not be able to deal with others. No matter what, since others have already threatened us, we can't back down. At this moment, the representative of the United States stood up. Now is a crisis for all mankind. We must unite at this moment. Our representative proposes that all the Army, Navy and Air Force of the country should be under our command and enter a state of first-level alert. In the conference hall, everyone looked at the American representative in astonishment. What does the representative of the United States mean by this proposal? He wants to control the world's military? With the current scientific and technological power of the Earth, it is really possible to deal with that group of aliens. The little Japanese not far away rolled his eyes, not knowing what else he was thinking. Alien, this may be our chance. Yoxi, if the aliens really invade, if we can't defeat us, we will surrender. Inside the Avengers headquarters, the other fleet is the Man in Black. Qin suddenly heard that Thanos and Carol are also missing. Nick stood up from his seat in shock. Opposite the communicator in front of him were Natasha Romanoff and Tony. On the outer layer of the Earth, in the Trisolaran fleet, Qin Yun suddenly disappeared. Now in charge of the command is 404 and the commander-in-chief of the Trisolaran fleet. The moment Qin Yun suddenly disappeared, they also panicked. ... 0. However, the Man in Black was well trained after all, and quickly calmed down. Yes, a person came suddenly just now, claiming to be from the Time Variation Administration. He took out a computer inlaid with 5 gems, and operated it like that. Agent Q disappeared with Thanos and Carol. Natasha Romanoff frowned. With the appearance of Carol, Natasha Romanoff knew that she must have something to do with Nick. She hopes that Nick can contact Carol to inquire about the current situation. Nick looked sad. The communicator in his hand could only transmit the signal to Carol. There is simply no way to ask for specific information. Damn it. There was a Man in Black before, and now there's something about the Time Mutation Administration. Nick slammed his fist on the table. The emergence of uncontrollable information made him very angry. Then Thanos disappears. Will his fleet evacuate? Nick doesn't want to see yet. The 2 sides really fight. He has seen the means of those aliens before. If the Avengers hadn't taken action in the Battle of New York before, the entire United States would have been wiped out by aliens. And the aliens coming now are stronger than before. Why are these aliens staring at the Earth? The situation doesn't look good. Natasha Romanoff sighed helplessly. On the ship, She looked at the fellow men in black who were filled with righteous indignation, and the Trisolarans who had been actively preparing for war. The boss' disappearance must be their fault. Then fight. These aliens dared to invade the Earth, then let them come and go. The duty of the man in black is to give the most severe punishment to all cosmic beings who dare to wage war. The men in black clamored for war. Natasha Romanoff is now worried about Qin Yun. She can see that Qin Yun is the backbone of the men in black. If he is not here, the organization in black, I'm afraid it will get out of control. At the same time, the Dark Order fleet also discovers that Thanos is missing. What to do? The king is gone. It's the ghosts of those Earthlings. It must be them. Yes, the man in black appeared just now, and Wang disappeared. War with the Earthlings. Everyone in the Black Order's fleet has bloodshot eyes. Each and everyone's eyes are full of fighting spirit. They blamed the disappearance of Thanos on the means of the man in black. A few seconds later, all the weapons of the Dark Order fleet were deployed. At the same time, all the ships of the Trisolaran fleet issued warning sounds. This group of lunatics, since they want to fight, let's go to war. All fleet, attack freely, fire. With an order from the commander of the Trisolaran warship, the Trisolaran fleet launched an attack first. Countless lasers are fired from the muzzles of various calibers. Boom 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 boom. The outer space of the Earth vibrated. Wave after wave of shockwaves impacted from outer space towards the surface of the Earth. The fleet was destroyed in flames. People on the Earth feel that the sky seems to be collapsing. The flames of various attacks can blind people even if they are separated by tens of thousands of kilometers. Chapter 119 Two Choices for the Dark Order. Chapter 119 Two Choices for the Dark Order. Aliens have invaded. What's happening outside? It's war. This is definitely not something we can resist. Inside the United Nations building, representatives of various countries were in a mess. In front of the UN screen, countless flames bloomed in the sky. The faces of the representatives of various countries in the seats became extremely ugly, and their faces were pale and bloodless. It's not like the aliens are going to take it down. Can we resist it? We can't resist such a powerful firepower. The United States, which was full of confidence just now, is now sitting the dumbfounded. They can't see the universe, and they don't know what the real and specific situation is like. But such a violent explosion from above is enough to prove the brutality of this battle. In outer space, the Trisolarans took the lead in seizing the opportunity, and with intensive weapon attacks, the Dark Sect was defeated steadily. No, it's impossible. How could people on Earth have such weapons? In the Dark Order fleet, General Ren slammed his fist on the podium. Warning, combat power loss of 20%! Warning, warning. Fleet loss is serious. Fleet loss is serious. The warning sounds in the fleet are endless. On the bridge of the flagship 327, all the members of the Dark Order looked extremely ugly. The firepower of the Trisolaran fleet guarding the Earth in front is really beyond their imagination, making them fly away. They looked at each other in blank dismay, and many of them wanted to retreat. In this consumption, I am afraid that their fleet will be wiped out. At that time, this expedition is doomed to be a failure. But Thanos wasn't there, and neither was Ebony Maw. The entire Dark Order fleet is tantamount to a group of dragons without a leader. For them now, it is a dilemma. As for the three-body man and the man in black, even if Qin Yun was not there, under the command of 404, they can still grasp the absolute advantage. Boom! Huge amounts of roaring sounds constantly echoed around the outer reaches of the Earth. At this time, suddenly a strong ray of light bloomed in the two fleets. What's this? Seeing the white light, 404 couldn't help frowning. Soon, a joyful expression appeared on his face. It's the boss. Everyone in the fleet was shocked. They all looked towards the white light. However, the light was too dazzling, and most people were so stimulated that they couldn't open their eyes. It took a while to slow down, and they saw the familiar figure. It's the boss. The men in black in the fleet were pleasantly surprised. Seeing the familiar figure, they all jumped up for joy. Boss is back. I knew it would never leave a group. Thanos and Carol don't seem to be there. Could it be that the boss just went to fight with them elsewhere and defeated them all? Someone suddenly raised his mouth, and everyone came to their senses after hearing the words. Yes, just now my boss suddenly disappeared with Thanos and the others. Now the boss comes out alone, but the other people are nowhere to be seen. Isn't that defeating them? Where is our king? Just when Qin Yun's figure appeared, no matter whether it was the Dark Order or the Trisolaran fleet, both sides ceased fire. Corvus Clay, I've sent a question to Qin Yun through the fleet's communication. Qin Yun took a deep breath and looked at the front lightly. Using the Time Agent's Infinite Gems tablet, he left that special space. As for the others, why would he bother himself to let them out? From today onwards, the Dark Order has only two choices. Qin Yun looked at them with burning eyes, operating something on the tablet computer. The members of the Dark Order waited for Qin Yun angrily. This human being has such a big breath. They were a little flustered again. This human being appeared. What about their king? And where did their military advisors go? What do you mean? Corvus Clay, I've questioned again. Qin Yun sneered. From now on, the Dark Sect no longer exists. You can choose to surrender to the man in black, or you can choose to destroy them all. Qin Yun put down the tablet in his hand. Warning. Infinite Gems energy is being absorbed. Warning. Warning. Absorbing infinite gems will be considered a violation. Warning, warning. At this moment, a red light flashed on the tablet computer in Qin Yun's hand, and the 5 infinite gems inlaid on the tablet computer light up their respective colors at the same time. No one noticed except Qin Yun. Qin Yun's hand holding the tablet is absorbing the light gathered by 5 colors. These rays of light are the energy bodies above infinite gems and are being absorbed by Qin Yun. The boss is too domineering. But we can eliminate the members of the dark sect without the boss coming forward. Looking at the scene in front of him, 404 breathed a sigh of relief. Because the system has a certain connection with Qin Yun, he can clearly perceive Qin Yun's state. At this moment, although Qin Yun stood there, he didn't do anything. However, according to the 404 perception, some kind of change seems to be taking place in Qin. Then shall we go to war? Natasha Romanoff asked suspiciously. To be honest, our loss is not small. Tony has been paying attention to the changes on the battlefield since just now. The Trisolaran fleet said that Jean has a lot of advantages. Occupying the advantage and changing the battlefield, the Dark Order was defeated steadily. But the fighting strength of the Dark Order is not weak. After the battle just now, the Trisolaran fleet also lost 5%. Maybe the man in black and the 3-body man don't care, but Tony is distressed. These are top-notch technologies, completely surpass the current Earth technology by hundreds of times. If there is such a level of technology on the Earth, there are such battleships with super combat effectiveness. What else to be afraid of Thanos? Tony has had a great interest in the Trisolaran fleet from the very beginning. Wait until this thing is over if you can. He wanted to ask Qin Yun to let him follow the Trisolaran fleet for a while. This kind of technology really made him envious. I think the boss, he will definitely not have such reckless behavior. After Tony thought about it, he felt that Qin Yun must have other means. Maybe he threatened the people of the Dark Order just to persuade them to surrender. After all, in Tony's view, these warships piloted by the Trisolarans are destroying one and missing one. Looking at it here, he feels distressed, and he thinks that Qin Yun himself must also feel distressed. I don't think so. Natasha Romanoff shook her head. Although she still can't see what kind of person Qin Yun is, but the Qin Yun she knew was definitely the kind of person who must get revenge. It was absolutely impossible for Qin Yun to let go of the provocation that the dark sect had made to him just now. You're delusional. Corvus Glaive is really rage. The rest of Thanos' men were also outraged. Their dark sect had almost no opponents in this universe before. Only Odin and the others made Thanos dare not do it easily. Now that they came to this remote planet, someone dared to threaten them like this. As for why Thanos didn't show up, from Corvus Glaive's point of view, it's likely that he's only temporarily trapped. Their king will definitely show up. Order all the fleets to point their firepower at that Earthling. I will make him die. Corvus Glaive rages order. The Supergiant and Proxima Centauri behind him couldn't help feeling a little worried. This Earthling named Qin Yun raised a mystery. They have investigated the data of the Earth before. There is absolutely no information about this human being. He seemed to appear out of thin air, just like the fleet he controlled. There was no sign of it at all before. Such a powerful technology and fleet were absolutely impossible to appear on Earth. But now it actually appeared in front of them. And it also made them encounter an unprecedented crisis. If the battle just now continues, everyone can see that they must be the ones who will be eliminated. Not good. Let the boss come back. Everyone in the Men in Black camp was taken aback. Qin Yun is also standing in the cosmic space, and has become a living target of the dark sect. However, Qin Yun still stood there calmly, smiling indifferently. At the same time, inside the Men in Black headquarters of Earth, the dimensional portal suddenly flickered brightly. A figure flew out from the dimensional portal. It was Ancient One who came. Where are people? Ancient One stood where he was, looking at the empty headquarters of the Men in Black. The people who used to be stationed here are gone. After she left from the basement, she discovered the other Men in Black, and their expressions are unusually dignified. What happens? Ancient One asked an agent to inquire. The detective looked back and was taken aback when he saw Ancient One, and it took him a while to recover. It's Agent G. What happened to 4.7? Where's Agent Q? Ancient One did not feel the breath of Qin Yun in the headquarters. This made her feel a little uneasy. Before the detective in front of him could answer, Yin Yi's complexion suddenly turned bad. She turned her head suddenly, looking at the general monitoring screen in the headquarters. I saw that the screen was corresponding to the scene of the outer space of the Earth. It was Qin Yun who was confronting the dark sect, Thanos. When he saw the fleet of the Dark Order, the shadow of Thanos popped up in Yin Yi's mind. She didn't care about Thanos, but she saw Qin Yun, but found that she couldn't find Qin Yun's breath. This is an impossible thing, as long as it is a creature in this dimension. As long as Ancient One is willing, she can know where the creatures are, even past and future. But now she feels that Qin Yun is like a ball of air. He obviously exists, but he can only see, but cannot touch or perceive. What happened? Why did Qin Yun have such a change? Ancient One was extremely shocked, and this feeling made her realize that something must have changed in Qin Yun. No, this is the power of infinite gems. She was startled suddenly, as if thinking of something, and the thought of this thing made her startled. Chapter 120. Sure enough, you are still too mysterious. Qin Yun, Is this crazy? When feeling the changes in Qin Yun, Ancient One rounded his eyes. She could clearly feel that the aura on Qin Yun's body became stronger. There are also 5 infinite gems that are nerfing power. When did Qin Yun collect 5 infinite gems? This is what shocked Ancient One the most. Qin Yun actually collected 5 infinite gems. Before the Men in Black, it seemed that there was no such action at all. Why have so many things happened to this Earth just a few days after I left? Ancient One couldn't help being a little confused. She clasped her hands together and started her magic. She was not on Earth during this time, so she wanted to use magic to find out what happened during this time. Thanos, Carol, they have all come to Earth. This is not right. According to the timeline, Meph should still be a few years away, and Carol came to Earth after Thanos came to Earth and Avengers failed. The current timeline is too different from what Ancient One had previously planned. Is this also the change that happened because of the appearance of Qin Yun? Ancient One frowned slightly. She is deep in thought. 21 But soon, Ancient One realized one thing, and it seems that now is not the time to be entangled in this matter. Ancient One turned to look at the big screen. Earth in outer space. After Qin Yun intercepted the energy of infinite gems, his dimensional space was slowly expanding. Originally only a few hundred square meters of space, gradually expanded to nearly 1,000 square meters of space, and this only absorbs less than 1/10,000th of the energy in infinite gems. If all the energy in infinite gems can be absorbed, at that time, the dimensional field he can display will have a qualitative leap. But Qin Yun also had a faint feeling. If all the energy of these infinite gems is absorbed by him, then it is very possible that the scope of his dimensional field, if it is deployed, is very likely to expand to the entire universe. However, faint Qin Yun also felt it. Now that I am absorbing infinite gems, it seems that it is not as smooth as it was at the beginning. This made Qin Yun a little worried. After all, the energy contained in these infinite gems is indeed too mysterious. If he remembers correctly, hundreds of billions of years ago, infinite gems from before all recorded time, they were once a single unit, a solitary entity. They are a sentient being with endless power. It is everything, and everything is it. This existence is infinite and eternal, because it is lonelier than anything that has ever existed. All that is already a part of it, nothing else in its life. A more lonely existence than imagined. It chose to end itself, but with such power, it is not so easy to dissipate. From its ashes, the present reality rises in its many forms. This divine core of existence takes the form of 6 infinite gems. They are the ultimate in power, the darkest secret of all universes. All infinite gems in parallel universe number 93,060 are from Nemesis. In this parallel universe there is a 7th infinite gems named Ego Gem. When the Ego Gem is put together with the other 6 infinite gems, it becomes a whole, which is the Nemesis. The resurrected Nemesis intends to destroy the 93,060 universe. In the end, he was defeated by the joint efforts of the Avengers and the Extreme Forces, and finally the Self-Gem was destroyed. Nemesis can no longer be resurrected, but these regiments have nothing to do with the 5,616 universe. Each gem can give the user omnipotent control over some aspect, including power, time, space, soul, reality and heart. If someone has 6 gems at the same time, he will know everything. This is why Thanos was able to wipe out half the population of the universe with 6 infinite gems. Also, within the Marvel universe, there are quite a few people once used infinite gems to change the timeline of this universe. There was even a combined mode of Thor and Iron Man. Qin Yun, stop. Just when Qin Yun was about to continue absorbing, Qin Yun is working on energy absorbing. Suddenly, a soft shout came from his ear. Immediately, a golden light flashed in front of him. Qin Yun immediately frowned. Someone dares to attack me. Qin Yun thought that someone was going to attack him. A cloud of anger suddenly rose in his heart. But soon, Qin Yun realized it. This breath of energy seems very familiar. It's Ancient One. After realizing that it was Ancient One, Qin Yun immediately dissipated his aura. And at this moment, a golden light hovered around Qin Yun's body. Soon, Qin Yun found that he had lost contact with infinite gems. At this time, a golden light emerged, and the magician's portal opened. In this way, Ancient One came to Qin Yun. It's you. You cut me off from infinite gems? Go when you see Ancient One come up. Qin Yun immediately understood what was going on. Are you crazy? This is infinite gems. If you think about it. Wait a minute. Ancient One gasped suddenly, and his eyes widened. She looked at Qin Yun in disbelief. My heart skipped a beat. How could this be possible? She could feel that, standing at such a close distance, she felt that Qin Yun's aura was so ethereal. It's as if this time and space doesn't exist. 533. Is it possible that you have already reached that point? Ancient One was immediately horrified. It has only been a few days since the last time we parted. Qin Yun has already come into contact with this field. Qin Yun smiled and spread his hands. All of this is not thanks to the time anomaly administration. Opportunities sometimes come by such a coincidence. Look at the way Qin Yun smiles. Ancient One didn't know what to say for a while. She thought she should get used to it. But Qin Yun can bring him new surprises every time. Just like this time, this seemingly ordinary man. Now he has stepped onto the path of becoming a creation god. You know, although this road is not easy to walk, But too many people have never even entered the threshold. Even those people in the Tanshin group have just entered the threshold. Even Ancient One himself, if not for the appearance of Qin Yun and the man in black. She herself will linger for a long time because of this. No, or in other words, even if she dies, she may not be able to reach this field at elementary level. Sure enough, you are too mysterious. Ancient One looked at Qin Yun and suddenly said a word. Qin Yun smiled helplessly. I definitely have to keep this mystery, otherwise how can I lead the man in black? Chapter 121 Ready to go. How easy is it to successfully lead the men in black to rule the entire multi-universe? Now is just the beginning. He will also successfully acquire the Dark Legion. Let Thanos, Ebony Maw and others work under his own hands and directly join the men in black. Ancient One Magician, our distance is getting closer. Qin Yun smiled faintly, and said to Ancient One Magician. Ancient One Magician nodded with a very bad expression. She had to admit the fact that the distance between them had been drawn into infinity. Given time, Qin Yun will definitely be able to break through to the creation god in a short time. He has now touched the threshold of the creator god. Back then, she had worked so hard to take that step successfully. And what about Qin Yun? How long did it take? In the eyes of Ancient One Magician, the speed at which Qin Yun improved his strength was simply astonishing. The unbelievable speed of improvement made everyone dare not underestimate Qin Yun anymore. Don't think so much, Ancient One Magician, don't stop me, I want to absorb the energy of infinite gems. Qin Yun frowned slightly, and said to Ancient One Magician. He just absorbed infinite gems and became addicted, and managed to establish a connection with great difficulty to be able to absorb infinite gems. The well-behaved Ancient One Magician came, and indiscriminately cut off the connection between infinite gems and himself. This made Qin Yun really annoyed. Ancient One Magician sighed helplessly, since there is no way to stop it. Let Qin Yun continue to absorb the energy of infinite gems. See what kind of existence Qin Yun will reach after successfully absorbing the energy of infinite gems. A golden light flashed in Ancient One Magician's hand, and a golden light shrouded Qin Yun's body again. Different from before, this time the golden light re-established the connection between Qin Yun and infinite gems. This taste really makes me feel comfortable. Let me absorb all the energy and use it for me. Qin Yun muttered to himself, his whole body and mind relaxed at this moment. The energy of infinite gems flowed into Qin Yun's body one after another through the tablet computer in his hand. It made Qin Yun feel extremely comfortable. Although it was not very fast, it surprised him. The energy in infinite gems is too huge. Let yourself absorb all the energy in infinite gems now. It is completely impossible to do it in a short period of time. It seems that I can only hold the infinite gems next, and say later. Should I absorb a little 24 hours a day? Or ask the system if I can't finish it. See how you can speed up the speed at which you absorb infinite gems energy. Qin Yun smiled in his heart. At the moment he already had the answer in his heart. He narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at the Dark Legion in the distance. Fleets of fleets had already aimed their weapons at him. As long as Corvus Glaive gives the order, he will be under fire. Although the artillery fire didn't affect him very much, it was more or less painful when it hit him. He didn't want to experience that feeling, that kind of mosquito buzzing around his ears. It would make his head dizzy. Dark Legion, have you considered whether to surrender to me, or let you cease to exist? Qin Yun's voice was transmitted to the ears of the Dark Legion. Everyone looked at Qin Yun in the outer space of the earth and felt a sense of suffocation. General, what should we do? Standing behind Corvus Glaive, Superagent and Proxima Centaur asked anxiously. When they searched again for information about whether there is Qin Yun in front of them on the earth, they still didn't gain anything. This person seemed to appear out of thin air. He lived on the earth without any information remaining. It is enough to see how terrifying Qin Yun is. If a person lives on his own planet, he will leave traces all the time, and there will never be any cobweb traces. But Qin Yun did it. Superagent and Proxima Centauri don't know what Qin Yun's identity is, but they really feel the pressure. Facing the Trisolaran fleet, the Trisolarans only lost 5%, but their Dark Legion lost a full 20%. Facing such an existence, the two of them couldn't help but feel a little fear in their hearts. Corvus Glaive seemed to feel the emotions of the two behind him. He turned his head, his eyes were full of murderous intent. What? Are you too scared? If you say you're afraid, then I'll send the two of you on your way. Corvus Glaive showed a ferocious smile. Killing his own subordinates was the last thing he wanted to do. But if at such a critical juncture, the morale of the army is affected, then you must choose to kill without mercy. For the Dark Legion, for their king, they must choose to fight to the end. Unless Thanos can appear in their sight, commanding the entire army again. Superagent and Proxima shook their heads hastily, for fear that Corvus Glaive would kill them both here with a knife. My lord, we don't mean that. We are willing to fight to the death for our king. Superagent and Proxima spoke in unison, and then half-kneeled in front of Corvus Glaive to express their sincerity. Okay, our king will be back soon. It won't be long. Let me command the fleet for a short time now. All fleets, all aim at him for me. All launch. Corvus Glaive gave a loud shout, and issued an order on the main fleet, and everyone in the Dark Legion roared angrily. All the weapons installed on the fleet are ready to go. Not good, boss. Retreat quickly. Boss, The Dark Legion is about to attack, so be careful. Quickly let Ancient One Magician take action and protect the boss. Boss must not make any mistakes, otherwise, what will we people in black do? Money. At the moment, everyone in the Men in Black camp was extremely anxious. They really couldn't believe that the Dark Army really dared to open fire now. However, Qin Yun is like a live target of the Dark Legion in the cosmic space. There is absolutely no cover that can resist the attack of the Dark Legion. It's over, let the Trisolaran fleet attack. Damn it, I want the Dark Legion to go and never return. I must. Three-body fleet, protect the boss quickly, and don't let the boss have any troubles. Everyone in the Men in Black camp was extremely anxious. However, the command of the Trisolaran fleet was all in Qin Yun's hands, and if Qin Yun didn't issue an order, they would have nothing to do. It can only be on the earth, watching dry anxiously. At the moment, Tony was measuring the attack power pool of the Dark Legion through JARVIS measure. Wait a moment, sir, it will be ready soon. Chapter 122 Terrible Offensive. Afterwards, JARVIS actually emitted a series of red lights. Sir, the power is so great that I can't figure it out. Forcibly calculating may cause the system to crash. The words of JARVIS surprised Tony. A power that even JARVIS cannot calculate. What a terrifying lethality. Can Qin Yun really withstand the attack of the Dark Army? Seeing Qin Yun standing there comfortably, with his hands behind his back, he didn't respond at all. Get ready for battle, JARVIS. We may have to face the Dark Legion later. Tony squinted his eyes, and JARVIS understood instantly. The mecha on Tony's body instantly entered combat mode. As long as anyone gets close to Tony's murderous person, the mecha can react quickly and launch an attack. Ha, a little sleepy. Qin Yun couldn't help yawning, and Corvus Glaive's teeth itched angrily on the main fleet of the Dark Legion. Looking at Qin Yun's relaxed look, is it possible that the Dark Legion's offensive is so contemptible? I'll make you look better later. The offensive of the Dark Legion exploded at the moment, accompanied by a bang. Laser beams landed on Qin Yun's body. The speed of the attack was so fast that people didn't even have 690 to react. At the moment, everyone in the Men in Black base camp raised their hearts to their throats. Before they could react, the attack of the Dark Army fleet hit Qin Yun. Before that, Qin Yun also had the Trisolaran fleet to contribute to solving many fleets of the Dark Legion. However, when the Dark Legion launched an offensive this time, the Trisolaran fleet did not receive any orders at all. Still standing on the periphery of the Earth, firmly protecting the Earth. Don't let any attack from the Dark Legion affect the Earth. The Trisolaran fleet formed a light blue shield in front of them. However, all the attacks of the Dark Legion hit Qin Yun's body, and no other attacks fell on the Earth. It's over, it's over. What will the boss do this time? He didn't resist. All of a sudden, could it be that the boss has the heart of death? What are you talking about? Cursing the boss? The boss will definitely not die. I also believe in the boss. The boss will generally not do things beyond the scope of his ability. He will definitely be able to do it. Trust the boss. Even so, everyone in the base camp of the Men in Black was still very worried about Qin Yun. The Dark Legion's offensive was too fast and fierce. Before Qin Yun could make a defense, the attack was already oncoming. They were worried one by one, fearing that something might happen to Qin Yun. Will the leader of their Men in Black die today? JARVIS, can you confirm Qin Yun's vital signs? Tony spoke, and JARVIS responded immediately. Sir, no, I can't sense Qin Yun's vital signs. Tony's eyes widened when he heard that. JARVIS could not feel Qin Yun's vital signs. Did Qin Yun really die under the attack of the Dark Army? He didn't dare to step forward to confirm, for fear that the attack of the Dark Army would touch him. The attacks of the fleets are no joke. Even if he has nanotechnology in front of them, it may be just a joke. If only Carol was here. Tony frowned slightly. Carol must have a way to help Qin Yun. However, both Carol and Thanos are gone. Who knows where they went and when they will come back? Damn it, when is Carol coming back? Tony muttered, but no one could answer him. The Ancient One Magician was already far away from the battlefield. She stood in front of the Trisolaran fleet, squinting her eyes at the center of the universe. She couldn't sense Qin Yun's existence before, and now under the attack of the Dark Army, she couldn't sense it even more. She wasn't worried whether Qin Yun would die under such indiscriminate bombardment. What she was most worried about was that the infinite gems would explode in Qin Yun's hands. She doesn't know whether Qin Yun can withstand such huge amounts of CBCF lethality, but she has a vague feeling in her heart that infinite gems is a bit unbearable. Although infinite gems brings many abilities to people, it may not be able to resist the powerful lethality, but it is still unknown. If infinite gems explodes, maybe the whole universe will be reduced to dust. She couldn't imagine such a situation. According to what she saw in other different spaces, when Thanos held infinite gems and wiped out half of the creatures in the universe, infinite gems had not been destroyed yet. It is enough to prove how huge the energy of infinite gems is. If the infinite gems exploded, the universe would surely be wiped out. The Ancient One Magician was extremely anxious. She frowned, and a bold idea appeared in her heart. She wanted to probe closely to see whether Qin Yun was dead or alive. If Qin Yun was dead, she would find a way to take the infinite gems away. There must be no accidents. She is responsible for the creatures on the entire earth. It's so bold, Ancient One. Do you know what mother you are going to do next? Ancient One magician said to herself in her heart. She fell into a dilemma, to be in danger, or to escape from crisis. The sense of responsibility in her heart condemns and motivates herself all the time. She slowly stretched out her hand, drawing a golden light in her hand, and a door appeared in front of her. Ancient One magician has made a decision to risk himself. She can't be a bystander, her responsibilities don't allow her to do so. The Ancient One magician opened the gate of Otherworld, which means that she appears in the range of the attack, but it does not mean that she will suffer the damage. She's in the Otherworld. The Ancient One magician gritted his teeth, felt a shudder in his heart, and walked into the door with strides. Qin Yun, I hope you are okay. I can still take you out of crisis. If you die, don't blame me. Ancient One magician muttered to himself. In an instant, in the attack center, a door appeared, and Tongra walked out from the door. At this moment, she seemed to be a god. Tony's eyes widened. He never expected that Ancient One magician would make such a bold decision. In case in Otherworld, the attack will still affect. Ancient One will definitely die. Tony broke out in a cold sweat. He had to admire the nobility of Ancient One magician. In this case, you will still choose to risk yourself. Ancient One magician, don't be surprised. Now, Qin Yun's situation, Carol doesn't know where it is. If you have an accident, then what kind of situation will the Earth face? Sooner or later, the Earth will be conquered. Tony shouted in his heart, but the Ancient One magician couldn't hear his words at all. Chapter 123 Unscathed Qin Yun. After the Ancient One magician walked out of the door, a golden hood emerged from his body. Although she might not be affected by the attack, she still chose to use this method to protect herself in order to be safe. What? Ancient One magician looked at the center of the attack. Her eyes widened in surprise. She couldn't believe what she saw. I saw that in the center of the attack launched by the Dark Army, there was a milky white sphere inside, and inside the sphere was Qin Yun. Qin Yun at the moment closed his eyes and rested his mind as if he was feeling the pressure brought by the attack. Ancient One magician, why are you here? Hey, you are not affected by their attacks? Qin Yun looked at the looming body of the Ancient One magician, and immediately understood what was going on. Qin Yun smiled lightly. Ancient One magician, you are really smart. You just thought of this way to enter the Otherworld by yourself, to successfully avoid the impact of the attack, right? I have to say, you are really bold. Come on, come in. You'll be fine. Qin Yun stretched out her hand slowly. Ancient One magician didn't have any reason to refuse. She stretched out her hand and touched Qin Yun's hand. A strong gravitational force hit her body. In the next second, Ancient One magician's body transformed back, and she stood firmly beside Qin Yun. It seems that firework is playing next to it. Boom boom boom. Qin Yun, what kind of method is this? Are you going to hide here all the time? Let the Trisolaran fleet attack. That's the best way. The Ancient One magician frowned and asked sharply. Qin Yun shook his head slowly. No. The Trisolaran fleet doesn't need to take action. I want to take the Dark Legion into my pocket. If the Trisolaran fleet launches an attack, then how much of the Dark Legion is left? Don't you consider this kind of cost? Qin Yun would not do business at a loss, and now he has the Trisolaran fleet in his hands, plus the Dark Legion. The power of the Man in Black will rise to another level. It will be one step closer to dominating the universe, not to mention the stronger the people under him, the stronger he will be. They are complementary to each other. You are too whimsical. The people under Thanos are loyal to him. How could they choose to submit to you? Don't wait until the end. It's a waste of time to fetch water from a bamboo basket, and you're shooting yourself in the foot with a stone. Let's solve it quickly. Many people outside are worried about your safety. The Ancient One magician frowned and said, in her opinion, Qin Yun's idea is really too bold. It's a bit overreaching. If everyone thinks like Qin Yun, then the Earth would have ceased to exist. Thanos' Dark Legion is no joke, and the powerful Trisolaran fleet is bombarded, although the loss ratio is 20% to 5%. However, it can also prove that the Dark Legion is not an ordinary person, and their loyalty to Thanos is quite deep. Want to make them quit and follow Qin Yun? It's too whimsical. Is it a fool's dream? No. To bring the Dark Legion into the bag, Thanos has to come. I'm just for Thanos, otherwise, I wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. Qin Yun scratched his head and said solemnly, he really wanted to bring the Dark Army into his pocket. But it doesn't mean that Thanos will be killed. Isn't it the same to include Thanos in the bag? When the time comes, the Dark Legion belongs to Thanos as well as his own. Isn't it the same thing? When Ancient One magician heard these words, he was at a loss for a while. He was very angry. Take the Dark Legion first, and then Thanos? It's really ridiculous. Come on, Carol and Thanos should be in the same space now. Aren't you worried that Carol will kill Thanos? Ancient One magician asked Qin Yun curiously. Carol's strength should not be underestimated, although Thanos' strength is equally strong. But they let go of their hands and feet and fought for 300 rounds. Who knows the result? Carol protects the safety of every planet. Can she do it without 2 brushes? It doesn't make sense to reason with a woman. Talking so much to you means I'm talking in vain. Ancient One magician, Just look at it. You have to do everything to get the answer. Qin Yun nodded slightly. He already had an idea in his heart. If he followed the Ancient One magician's idea, under the sun, it is estimated that there is nothing to do. Asking for flowers. Everything has to follow the rules and rely on the rules. It's too ridiculous. He is a person who doesn't like to play cards according to routines. He wants to dominate the universe and establish his own rules. Although dominating the universe is not a simple matter, it depends on human effort. The Ancient One magician patted his forehead helplessly, thinking he would check to see if Qin Yun was dead. I didn't expect that I would chat with Qin Yun here during the attack of the Dark Army. Hurry up and don't waste time. You don't want to go out. I still want to go out. There are so many people watching outside. At the same time, the people outside watched the Ancient One magician enter the attacking range of the Dark Army, and they became anxious one by one. Just as Qin Yun and Ancient One magician were talking about each other, a full 5 minutes passed to them. Every minute of the 5 minutes feels like a year. It's over. Did Yaina also die in it? It shouldn't be. Ancient One magician is so powerful. Is there really no way? Tony felt tired from the bottom of his heart. If he knew this, when Ancient One magician had that idea, he should have pulled Ancient One magician. The loss of one Qin Yun to the earth is already a great loss. If another Ancient One magician is lost, then the earth will never have a peaceful life. Will the earth really be destroyed under his nose? At the moment, the headquarters of the men in black on the earth, one by one put their hands together and began to pray for Qin Yun. No matter what god he is, just worship him once. What if there might be miraculous effects? God bless, boss. There must be no accidents. Otherwise, what should we do, boss? You must live. Amen. Amen. Damn God, it's time for you to manifest. Bless the boss. No, what did Ancient One magician do? Hasn't she rescued the boss yet? Ancient One magician is such a waste. Don't talk nonsense. Be careful that the Ancient One magician comes out to kill you. It's not like you don't know the strength of a magician. The two agents on the side were mumbling, and heard their companions say that the Ancient One magician is a waste. He couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. What if the Ancient One magician came back alive and sensed these words? What would he do? Chapter 124 Surrender or Perish. The agent who said that was cursing. Come on, if the Ancient One magician can come out alive, so can the boss. Whatever the Ancient One magician can do, the boss can do it. The boss is God in my mind. In their hearts, no matter how powerful the Ancient One magician is, he will never be as powerful as Qin Yun. The belief they hold in their hearts. Just as everyone was staring at the battle outside the universe, a golden flash appeared. Qin Yun put his hands behind his back, waved his hands lightly, and the protective shields wrapped around him and Ancient One magician grew bigger and bigger. Gradually a huge amounts of circle is formed. What? Corvus Clave, who was on the main fleet of the Dark Legion, saw the huge amounts of the protective cover, and the attack of their Dark Legion fell on the protective cover, completely tickling. They haven't seen what kind of protective shields they have seen during the May 47th, but there are very few of them that are still intact under multiple main guns. And Qin Yun's protective shield has grown from a small circle to such a reason. They couldn't help wondering how the protective shield was formed. Could it be that there is some treasure on Qin Yun's body or something of high latitude? Corvus Clave wasn't sure. Although he is well informed, he has never seen anything that can build such a large protective shield and is extremely tough. Damn. What is the origin of this human being, and why can he resist such a powerful offensive from us without any reaction? How is this possible? Is it stronger than our king? Corvus Clave had just had this idea, and immediately dismissed it in his heart. And he shook his head slowly. Boom. He punched the commander in front of him and shouted loudly, "All stop attacking! All stop attacking!" The sound resounded throughout the fleet of the Dark Legion, and the attack of the fleet disappeared instantly, leaving only traces in the universe. Other than that, nothing has changed. It seems that they already know how powerful you are, Qin Yun. You gave me another surprise. Ancient One magician said lightly. She was not helpful at all. Qin Yun will bring her unexpected changes every time. And Qin Yun's strength is also improving by leaps and bounds time after time. It made her very curious. The Dark Legion stopped attacking. Haha, the boss and the Ancient One magician are still alive. I really didn't expect the boss is really alive. Damn it, if the Dark Legion hurts the boss, the Trisolaran fleet will immediately go up and wipe them all out. HMPH, the Dark Legion must have been conquered by the boss's strength. Don't look at who is the leader of our men in black. In the base camp of the men in black, there was laughter and laughter. They all raised their hearts to their throats before. Now, seeing Qin Yun's intact appearance, the big stone in their hearts was finally let go. As for what happened to the Ancient One magician, they didn't care. In their eyes, Ancient One magician is just a dispensable person. As for Qin Yun, he is the leader of the men in black. He must not have any bad news, otherwise, the men in black will not be able to accept the bad news. Tony squinted his eyes. He thought that both Ancient One magician and Qin Yun might perish, and the Dark Legion will involve the offensive on the earth. But nothing happened as he imagined. Jarvis, can you measure the resistance level of the shield round Qin Yun? Tony anxiously asked Jarvis. The protective shield that appeared around Qin Yun can resist the attack of the Dark Army. What a terrible defense method it is. If he can learn and analyze one or two of them, Tony Stark's industry will also be raised to a higher level. Sir, wait a moment. Start calculating. Buzz, sir. The calculation failed. There is no way to measure it. The protective shield is a kind of energy manifestation, not a special defense method. I can only know so much. Jarvis' answer made Tony understand. Whether the protective cover is not a protective cover is entirely due to Qin Yun showing his energy outside his body surface, and it is not a defensive thing. This is enough to prove how terrifying Qin Yun's strength is. Tony, who was in the mesh, couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat, and a playful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seems that the Earth is saved this time. So don't take Thanos or something into consideration at all. Is the existence of Qin Yun good or bad for the Earth? How should the organization of the Men in Black be defined? Tony's thinking is infinitely magnified. He clearly knows what the Earth needs. Just need a few special abilities to protect the Earth. Not everyone has this ability. Once a person has the ability to protect the Earth, it is difficult to guarantee whether he will use this power to do something to destroy the Earth. After forming Avengers, he has seen a lot of such things. Therefore, his and Captain America's concepts differ in this respect. In Captain America's opinion, more people with these abilities should be cultivated. But Tony doesn't think so, as long as he is strong and knows what he should do. However, the emergence of the Men in Black organization now makes Tony feel that there are endless people who can cause harm to the Earth. There are too many species outside the universe, and all the people who come to the Earth are terrifying existences. First Trisolaran, then Thanos' Dark Legion. The Earth, which was originally safe and sound, seems to have violated the Scifi in the past few years, and has been targeted by foreign enemies who do not know how many people. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel dizzy. He fixed his eyes and saw that Qin Yun's contented look showed how much contempt he had for the Dark Legion. If he stood in Qin Yun's position, at the moment would have already been reduced to dust in the universe, without any traces. Dark Legion, I convey to you again. 4.91 is all dead, and the other is for me to use. Give you a minute to think about it. Don't waste too much time. The countdown begins. Qin Yun's voice resounded in the fleet of the Dark Legion, and the soldiers of the Dark Legion were panicked. Many people are starting to mutter, what kind of person is Qin Yun, and why he has such a strong tone. But it was unscathed under the attack of 2,000 fleets. Even Thanos, the creator god, could hardly do it. What kind of existence is this? General, what should we do? General, can you contact the king? Some soldiers hurriedly asked Corvus Glaive. General Deadknife frowned slightly. The disappearance of Ebony Maw and Thanos for no reason has a great impact on the Dark Legion. Chapter 125 Thanos vs Captain Marvel. One head of Corvus Glaive was bigger than two, and suddenly his pupils shrank, and a familiar figure appeared in front of the Dark Legion's fleet. Every piece of the burly body is made like steel. It is Thanos. Our king is back. Corvus Glaive breathed a sigh of relief slowly, letting go of the big stone in his heart. The king is back. You can't surrender like the people on Earth. Let our king lead us to conquer. Kill them all, without leaving any trace. Kill. When Thanos appeared, everyone in the Dark Legion was like a shot in the arm, and their hearts were very stable. One by one, we must conquer the Earth. Thanos is out. What about Carol? The Ancient One magician looked curiously at Thanos, who was wearing armor and wielding a double-edged sword. Suddenly, a person with colorful luster flashed, and a punch slammed into Thanos' face. Thanos was slightly taken aback, put the double-edged knife on his chest, and blocked the punch abruptly. 21 It's Carol. It's Carol. She finally came out. Where did she go before? At the moment, Nick from Earth S.H.I.E.L.D wiped the sweat from his brow, having been unable to reach Carol with his communication equipment. I don't know what's going on. Seeing Carol's appearance, he felt extra relieved. Captain Marvel. Carol, the Universe Police. Her appearance swept away Nick's haze. Who is better, Carol or Thanos? Who knows? If they fight, I think they will be in trouble again. Natasha Romanoff frowned. She thought that Qin Yun was about to take the Dark Legion into his pocket. But the sudden appearance of Thanos and Captain Marvel made the situation even more confusing. It's okay, just watch the good show. Whoever will win, it will definitely be very enjoyable. Thor behind him held a glass of beer, took a deep breath, and burped. For him, whether it's Captain Marvel or Thanos, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. As long as he saw a hearty battle, he felt that everything was worth it. So he specially found someone to get beer and fried chicken, and planned to watch a good show. Captain American on the side smiled faintly, put his hands on his chest, and shrugged indifferently. A good show is about to be staged. At the same time, Qin Yun from outside the universe glanced at Carol with dissatisfaction. Damn it, when will this Carol come out and make trouble? There's also the Time Management Bureau. I thought it would be able to drag on for a little longer and take back Thanos' Dark Legion. Why did they come out so soon? Where did that man go? He doesn't have any good feelings for the people of the Time Management Bureau, which is completely contrary to the concept of the Man in Black. It's just that I don't know when I will meet someone from the Time Administration next time. He has no comment on Carol and Thanos' actions. Since we want to fight, let's wait for them to finish the fight. This Carol really has such a deep-rooted concept that he really thinks he is omnipotent. Although she is very strong, she should still be close to Thanos. Although Thanos is just a licking dog of the goddess of death, Thanos still has real strength. As one of the creator gods, how could Thanos have no means? It's just that Qin Yun was very upset that Carol came out to make trouble. Qin Yun, it's interesting that your ideas are about to be destroyed again. The Ancient One magician beside Qin Yun showed a playful smile. She wanted to see Qin Yun's reaction, but Qin Yun stood by her side without doing anything, which surprised her a lot. HMPH, let's wait for both of them to suffer. I don't know what kind of confidence Carol has. Every time he comes out, he makes trouble. I really don't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth. Qin Yun spoke unhurriedly, his eyes fixed on Carol and Thanos in the distance. Thanos resisted Carol's punch abruptly, only feeling a slight numbness in his arms, and he looked at Carol in front of him in surprise. The power is good, but it's a pity. It's useless to me. As the eternal family of the Titan Star, his physical strength has reached a terrifying level. It's been a long time, and he hasn't been allowed to let go of his hands completely, and the appearance of Carol in front of him just gave him a good opportunity. Whether it's useful to you or not, let's talk about it after you hit it. If you want to get your hands on the earth, you have to see if I agree with it. Carol yelled, frowning, and swung out another punch. In the universe, this punch exudes colorful dishes, and the space is slightly condensed. She just wants to hit. Everyone who dares to touch the earth must be taught a lesson. Good. Thanos laughed loudly, and shouted sharply. The double blades in his hand seemed to be alive. He slashed forward and collided with Carol's fist. Boom. Thanos shrugged, took a few steps back, and waved his hand. Dark Legion, listen to my orders. Retreat. Leave me some space. I'm going to have a big fight. Thanos laughed and said, and Corvus Glaive in the Dark Legion immediately commanded the Legion. Ebony Maw also appeared next to him, and Ebony Maw squinted his eyes, watching the battle between Carol and Thanos, and couldn't help muttering, "Our king, won't you forget what we are going to do? Don't delay the business because of the battle." Ebony Maw clearly understands what is the purpose of this journey beyond the earth. Now that the power gem has been taken away by someone, I can't help but worry about whether we can face such a situation. Secondly, he looked at the Ancient One magician and Qin Yun in the distance, and he couldn't guarantee that the two of them would make a move. In his view, they are all fighting to defend the Earth, and they belong to the same camp. It would be bad if they shot at Thanos. Ebony Maw dared not take the risk. He snapped. Retreat a certain distance, and be able to support the distance to the king in time, and at the same time will not be affected by the fatigue of the battle. Corvus Glaive instantly understood what Ebony Maw meant. Retreat, retreat, retreat. The huge Dark Legion withdrew in an instant, and they were far away from Thanos, but as long as the Dark Legion fleet accelerated, they could appear beside Thanos in an instant. Are you worried about that human being attacking the king? Corvus Glaive looked back at Ebony Maw, who nodded. I can't guarantee it. But for our king, we must be prepared for defense. You know what our purpose is. If our king dies, we will die too. You should know the result. As the military advisor next to Thanos, he must clearly understand the situation and make the most correct judgment. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this and join my Patreon if you want to support me. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.